Everybody says, who does he think he is? I just told you who I thought I was, a god.
I got locked up, I watched Lone Survivor, and I was like, I'm definitely snitching, right?
And I don't think anybody's done this before. Like, college student turned mainstream rapper.
Rappers can be quite interesting, but for some reason, they always seem to outdo everyone's expectations. Hi, I'm Rashad Fashir, and this is rap's craziest stories. If you were a rapper and your idol told you they wanted to sign you and bring you to the top, you would probably say yes. It would probably even be a dream come true. However, it turns out signing to a rapper is actually one of the worst things you can do. And on the flip side, signing other rappers can be just as horrible as well. So if it's so horrible, why is it such a common practice? Who has done it? And how did it end up going so poorly for all parties involved? My name is Rashad Fashir, and this is rappers whose record labels failed. The first rapper on this list is the infamous Kanye West, or Ye, as he goes by now. Once upon a time, Kanye's record label, Good Music, was at the top of the artist-rapper-led sphere. As much as people didn't believe he could do it, for a short period of time, Kanye birthed superstars. Kid Cudi, Big Sean, John Legend, Pusha T, and even producers like Hit Boy and a young Travis Scott. But today, Kanye West's Good Music is actually not even a real label anymore. So why did this happen and how? And I know you may have your hunches, but it's actually a lot more complicated than it may seem. But before we dive into its downfall, how did Kanye's Good Music even come into fruition? Good Music was launched right after Kanye blew up with his debut album as a joint venture between Kanye and Sony Music, who, fun fact, he wasn't even signed to. Its first singer was actually John Legend, who stayed for a total of 12 years and became a huge signee, going on to have a massively successful career. 2 months after signing, Legend dropped his debut album, selling 100K and earning 3 Grammys. This was huge for Good Music as it showed that Kanye had what it took to identify talent and bring them to the mainstream stage. So clearly, Good Music was off to a great start. And for years, they were able to pump out high-selling albums commercially and maintain their reputation as a force in the industry. However, this is not the Good Music that fans think of today, as Good Music was yet to have its real shine. You see, the 2000s era may have had commercial success, but the 2010s era of Good Music was what solidified the label, as not only real players in the game, but one of the most influential labels out there. And by the time the early 2010s hit, Kanye had begun to sign a number of artists who were unknown at the time, but would go on to have quite successful careers in the industry. Rappers like Big Sean, Kid Cudi, and Pusha T would become the new age rappers of Kanye. Big Sean got signed off of a freestyle, Kid Cudi would get signed after meeting Kanye at a store, and both of these artists would shoot up in the music industry. Kid Cudi became one of the largest hip-hop acts of the 2010s. Day and Night became Good Music's biggest hit, peaking at number 3 on Billboard. His debut project, Man on the Moon, was also huge, reaching top 5 on Billboard and earned 3 Grammy nominations. Later, Pusha T would also get signed as well and have a successful career of his own. On top of that, Good Music artists would collaborate with one another, and all sell pretty well. So it was pretty clear that Kanye had built a solid roster. What's more, Kanye's record label was different due to the fact that they were able to find artists that were able to sell very well commercially, but also have albums that held critical acclaim, a rare feat that only artists such as Playboi Carti have been able to come close to in today's day and age. So with all of this early success, you would think that Kanye was ecstatic about Good Music. However, that was far from the case. To Kanye, developing and managing all of these artists' careers was a burden that he did not want, and had actually expressed his frustration with the job a couple years back. In an interview with Billboard where he said, "Running a record label was the biggest mistake I ever made. I never asked to be a label owner. Sony offered it to me, and I took it. But I can't be there when people are calling me to the studio to hear some music or approve clothes for a video. No disrespect to anybody. My focus is on graduation. I've got a hard enough time calling radio programmers and getting them to play Can't Tell Me Nothing, a song that's connecting with people but only at 1,400 spins." So Kanye made it clear that his solo career was more important to him, and that personally he wasn't even at where he wanted to be, which is true, he wasn't. But despite all of that, Kanye somehow found a way for it to work. And I guess he decided if he was going to help these artists out, it might as well be in a way that benefited him too. So from 2010 to 2012, Kanye made moves that would solidify Good Music as one of the largest artist-run record labels, but also in a way that boosted his career as well. And when he dropped My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, it featured almost every good artist, helping give them a spotlight while he'd benefit from their talent as well. Then, he really put the label on his back on the project Cruel Summer, the Good Music compilation album. It debuted at number 1 on the hip-hop charts, selling 205,000 first week, and it looked like Kanye was ready to take the label to the top. That year, 2012, was really the peak of the decade for Good Music. John Legend was still huge, Pusha T was going up, Big Sean was going up, 2 Chainz was going crazy, Kid Cudi was looking great. Kanye had planted the seeds for multiple artists to become stars, and they were all ready for liftoff. Some had already taken off. That year, I guess Kanye was feeling a little selfless as well. He put put out a lot of remixes with Good Music members and even signed Travis Scott to Good Music as a producer with a publishing deal. So it seemed like the label had everything set. And if it had just played its cards right, it could have been the next Cash Money, especially when you take into account how every artist from the past decade basically idolized Kanye, meaning it was not only a slam dunk on the music side, but on the business side as well. It really looked like Good Music was about to become one of the most timeless and recognized record labels of the decade. But just when everything looked like it was going perfectly, tragedy struck for Good Music. All of a sudden, everything started to stagnate and then came crashing down, beginning with Kid Cudi, Good Music's most successful signee. In 2013, Kid Cudi had no Kanye features or any Good Music features. Fans were confused. Why not, right? Well, it turned out that it wasn't Kid Cudi's fault. Kanye just didn't want to work with him, and he was frustrated with that. That year, Kanye dropped Yeezus, and the Good Music artists were left to fend for themselves, all scattered, and Cudi was one of them. This would only be the start to the on and off decade-long feud that Kanye and Cudi would go through. So after a year of not being able to patch things up, and I'm sure even more disagreements from the years prior, Kid Cudi, arguably Good Music's artist with the most potential, suddenly announced he was no longer a part of Good Music, saying, "Kanye and I were talking on the phone the other day, and apparently had given him the green light to do his own thing." Of course, Kanye wasn't pleased.
You know how many people wish they could be signed to Good Music, get their life changed? Had an opportunity? Never forget that. I'm so hurt. I feel so disrespected. Kid Cudi, we two black men in a racist world. I wore the skinny jeans first. I got called names before you, bruh. I'm out here fighting for y'all. Creators, artists, independent thinkers. Don't never mention my name.
And that's where things fell off. Right after that, Hit Boy, another one of the biggest signees, left the label, and he'd go on to become one of the most accomplished producers of the 21st century. After that, the label hit a huge rut, and from 2012 to 2016, we're practically at a standstill. But Good Music was still very much a thing. Not every artist had left, and in 2016, Kanye decided that it was time for him to usher in a new era of good music, just like he had done previously so many years before. So that year, he did just that. He dropped Life of Pablo, signed artists like Designer, and his friendship with Kid Cudi rekindled. Furthermore, there were rumors that Tyga and Migos were going to sign to the label, but nothing ever happened. However, 2 years later, in 2018, it seemed like Good Music was really about to have a resurgence. Designer, Valet, Jack West, and more were going nuts, and Kanye had a couple of other artists he seemed to have been developing to shock the world. That year, Kanye announced multiple Good Music album releases: Pusha T's album Daytona, a solo Kanye project, Kid See Ghosts, and the Tiana Taylor album. 5 albums all slated to release in a row, all in the span of 2 months. We hadn't seen Good Music this active in years, and to fans of Kanye, it looked like they were about to go on another run, but it didn't. Instead, something much different happened. Because in 2019, there were no albums from any of Kanye's artists, which was fine. They had just dropped a bunch in the year prior. But what was weird was their new artists weren't dropping. No Designer album, no Valet album, or an 070 Shake album, 2 years after they had all been signed, and even years for some. This was destroying their careers and just a lot of wasted potential. It was clear Kanye was neglecting his artists. In the first half of his career, he'd put them on projects, have them write for him, like Cudi did for 808s and Heartbreaks, give them features, etc. But these new artists were more so just for Kanye to use than help. However, Kanye realized this, so he decided that he would make Pusha T the president of Good Music, meaning that from then on, Pusha would be helping the artists out. So it seemed like Kanye had swallowed his ego and made the right move for his artists. Hats off to him. Except, if you know Kanye, he would never do that. And that never really ended up happening. Even after making Pusha T the president, Kanye's ego still made him pull the strings from behind the scenes.
A lot was going on at the time with him. And he was like, hey man, I actually think I can do this better. And I was like, all right. You know, I'm ready to come out though. I'm like fuming inside. And so I'm like, you know, he's like, I think I can do it better.
For example, he forced every artist to make each album 7 tracks long in 2018 when they were dropping back to back, which was just unnecessary. And what's interesting is Kanye's control from behind the scenes was kept a secret at the time. And Kanye's behavior would soon begin to enrage many of his artists, starting off with Designer. You see, Life of Pablo featured Designer, but apparently Designer was only signed for that album, and after Kanye had fulfilled his use, Designer was disposed of. Keep in mind that Designer was not some random artist. He had 2 not platinum, but diamond songs, something even Beyonce or superstars like Justin Bieber don't have, and the fact that Kanye did more for someone he met at a store and randomly heard a freestyle from shows how much he didn't care about his artists at that point of his career. This was also when another good music vet left as well, John Legend, after more than a decade with the label. So at this point, what Kanye was doing was actually pretty messed up. No matter how big of a fan you are of him, it's wrong. The Designer situation was especially sad. He was super hyped to be signed by Kanye, had uncapped potential, and what Kanye did to his career really affected him for life. When Designer first blew up, there was a ruthless 11 label war going on over who would sign Designer. Following the success of his smash hit Panda, labels were offering him the moon and more. Boatloads of money, promises of a huge career, everything, of course. But all it took was one short phone call from Kanye West and Designer forgot about all of that. He described the moment he got signed like this.
Everything kind of like blacked out. Once I heard him saying he called, I ain't gonna lie, like, I'm like, word? Cause I'm so moving in like, the moment, I'm like, yo, I just been through like 11 labels. It's late at night too, so I'm like, yo, I bet.
And to be honest, I can't really blame him. Imagine Kanye says he wants to sign you. Most artists would melt. And Designer was no different. Travis Scott, Drake, Lil Wayne, most artists would sign in a heartbeat, especially when they're a huge inspiration for a lot of the new rappers that have come up. Designer was one of them. But it's actually nothing new, and has happened to rappers who've become really successful themselves, such as Tyga, who didn't even look at the contract when he signed to Lil Wayne.
He's recording Carter 3, so I'm just in the sauce right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then we did Bedrock, and it was like, you know, you gotta sign. You want to get on? He's like, this gonna be the single. I was like, all right, cool. So I signed. I didn't even think about it. I didn't think twice.
So when Kanye first signed Designer, he was super happy to be around Kanye.
Man, son, Kanye, man, he's a trip. You dig? He took me around. First, I was going to the studio. Then I was on my way to the airport. It was crazy, just the feeling, just the adrenaline. It was just crazy, man. Me and Kanye and his ghost in front of TMZ. It was crazy.
And was under the impression that Kanye was going to mentor him.
Took the Kanye on beside work just on Brother Tips and just hooking it up. You know what I'm saying? My man about to make the beats. He's back in the music of making beats and everything for people. So a lot of artists in the game, or, you know, his artist is going to have some of his beats to jump on my album. It's just going to be crazy. Yay, working. Everybody doing good. The family doing good. He good.
But eventually, things started going horribly. Kanye gave Designer a couple of pretty cool opportunities, like featuring him on Champions, which was a pretty big deal. But I'll keep it a buck. After that, Kanye essentially cut him off. And just like that, Designer had to fend for himself. When Kanye took Designer on tour, Designer's father was in a coma. He explained that he didn't want anything from Kanye or to use him for success, but just someone to talk to. No one would help.
Because the reason why I left, was it's because, you know, I was going through like a little mental thing. I was coming up out of high school. My pops just went in a coma. You know what I'm saying? So.
And it was at that moment that Designer realized Kanye was a psycho. He took to Instagram to say that he got all his success himself.
Nobody that's doing this shit for me, bro. Nobody that's doing this shit for me. I signed to Kanye West, the biggest nigga.
And although the world thinks Kanye is a genius, he was the one who actually brought good music as a label.
To me, nigga, I brought good music back, nigga. And everybody know that, nigga. So what y'all talking about? I fell off.
Back. Designer then expressed that he wished things weren't how they were and he'd like to leave the label, tweeting, "Free me from this label." And it got so bad, he started to take to the public to try and garner support to get out of his deal. In 2021, he dropped a song called Letter to Ye, trying to explain his feelings. I doubt Kanye cared though. And it was clear to everyone that Kanye had mishandled Designer. But Designer wasn't the only artist who had been done dirty. Later on, Tiana Taylor left the label, and even went as far to say that she might retire because of how badly she was treated by good music, stating, "I'm going to feel underappreciated if I'm putting 100% in and my label is giving me, 10% of that? I put in a lot of work. I felt like the label wasn't hearing me and seeing me. I feel underappreciated. It's not that I'm retiring permanently, it's more like I don't want to move another inch for the company." So she had it. In 2020, she further dogged on the label saying, "I can go in front, I'm feeling super underappreciated as an artist receiving little or no real music from the machine, constantly getting the shorter end of the stick and being overlooked." So she had just confirmed what everyone was thinking at the time. So after all of this would come out and people would look at Kanye saying, "Hey man, what's going on?" You would think Kanye would say, "Hey, none of that is true." But instead, to everyone's surprise, he actually agreed and said he'd wanted to get rid of his label for a while.
Good music now. And Scooter ain't gonna be no, I'm still putting my name on it. I need to get rid of good music because I'm great. And guess what? Good is the enemy of great. I'm doing giving Wanna Love You to Tiana. What the I'm doing? doing giving that Daytona album to Pusha? What the fuck I'm doing, bro? That shit, that shit was 3 dark fantasies that I gave away. Cop shot the kid, Nas rapping all goddamn offbeat on it, don't even want to shoot a video. Then shoot the video, don't even tell me. These motherfuckers don't appreciate me. All these motherfuckers is trying to use me. I'm the greatest artist living, and I can do everything.
So Kanye just admitted to thinking he was way better than everyone on the label, which I'm not gonna lie, he's not wrong, and explained from his point of view, he was just giving them handouts for his career, which he was done with. So it was in his best interest to derail the careers of those signed to him. That might be a bit overdramatic, but it's true. And the worst part is his fan base is so large and so strong that everyone just laughed it off and agreed with him, rather than thinking of the repercussions of what would happen to the artists' careers. Furthermore, Kanye's other artist, 070 Shake, flopped and stayed in the same position she was. Prior to that, people were saying she could be Kanye's greatest protege, but nothing ever happened. So in 2020, the label is winding down, and in 2021, the only artists that were left were Kanye, Pusha T, Big Sean, and 070 Shake. In September of 2020, Kanye said he would give back 50% of the share of the masters he owned. The artists were actually super happy, but he never actually gave them back. Then, after all the controversy that ensued with Kanye in his own personal life, which I'm sure you know about, but I won't speak about, Pusha T and 070 Shake left the label. Push personally had this to say about Kanye's behavior. Stuff is being said today that is beyond disappointing. It's nothing to dance around, this is wrong, period. Announcing he would be distancing himself from Kanye and saying he would no longer be the president of good music. It got so bad that 070 Shake even said, to be honest, good music is not a thing. Nobody works for good music, meaning there was no one left at the record label. It was just Kanye. However, one artist stayed loyal throughout the entire period, and that was Big Sean, who was the last artist left. He had been treated the worst out of everyone, but since he owed Kanye so much, he decided to stay loyal. However, rather than being rewarded by Kanye, something much worse happened. And this is what being a doormat will get you in life. After over a decade of loyalty, Kanye absolutely spazzed out on Big Sean for no reason whatsoever. On a podcast, Kanye burnt his final bridge and disrespected Big Sean worse than anyone else on the label, saying,
"When I die, on my tombstone, it's gonna say, I deserve to be here because I signed Big Sean."
This was crazy, especially when you factor in how loyal Big Sean was to Kanye. And Big Sean's response will just make you feel a lot of pity. He tried to laugh it off at first.
At first, I thought it was hilarious. Right. I thought the shit was funny.
But then he was insulted. He was good music's most loyal and high-achieving artist that had stayed on the label the entire way through.
Right. Then I took it personal. Right, cool. I took it personal because I'm the only artist who's put out 5 albums under Good Music. Cudi left a long time ago, business-wise. You know what I'm saying? And they still clicked up and linked up, right? So I'm the only artist who put out 5 albums under Good Music. I'm the only one who put out back-to-back-to-back #1s, platinum albums, double platinum albums.
At least until then. He then explained that when he first signed his deal, it was one of the worst deals ever signed.
When I heard what he was talking about, it didn't make sense, bro, because, you know, my manager saw my record deal and said, this is a shitty record deal.
He then explained that once he spent tons of money himself to find out where the money that was owed to him had gone.
This man, I had to spend my own money auditing my label because millions of dollars are missing, and you can tell when millions of dollars are missing. Of course. Right? Yes.
And after it was all said and done, it turned out Kanye had it all along. He just didn't pay Sean. Keep in mind, he was a billionaire at this point.
You should be. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on my label, thinking Universal owed me this money, and the money had been paid to Good Music.
So he explained he left and he had to get a larger cut of his music, and that he missed what it was like when it was just one big family in Good Music. They did reunite and are cool now, but only because of how professional Big Sean is. So that brings us to today, where as of 2024, there are no other artists left on Good Music. And I'm not gonna lie, after this video, it's just sad how much potential was lost due to naive artists signing to the artists they idolized, from Kid Cudi to designer. It's pretty much impossible to equally help massive superstars and supporting artists, so maybe it just doesn't work. Is it really their fault? It's hard to say. But at the end of the day, you have to take responsibility for everything that happens to you. So I'll leave the judging up to you guys. But I think the key takeaways are that signing to a rapper with other focuses, such as Kanye in politics, fashion, his family, that's one of the largest artists in the world, never even wanted a label, and isn't even a great person, isn't a great idea. The next rapper on this list is none other than Travis Scott. Travis Scott is one of the biggest artists in the world today. However, he's failed miserably at assembling a solid label and has done through a series of poor decisions. And today, Cactus Jack is in shambles. But of course, before we talk about the fall, we need to ask, how did Cactus Jack even come to fruition in the first place? Cactus Jack was created by Travis Scott back in 2017, right before he was going to drop his now legendary album Astroworld. And after the announcement of his new label, Travis seemed to be really excited. In an interview, he explained it was actually just to help his fellow artists, saying his main focus was getting new artists in the game without major labels taking advantage of it. Wow, very noble, Mr. Scott. And who better to help out than poor old SmokePurrp, right? Purrp was seen in the studio with Travis, got himself a feature, a music video, and Travis Scott even executive produced for his first album, Dead Star. But one day, out of the blue, Travis just ditched him, which was very confusing. And after he ditched him, leaked that Alamo Records, Purrp's label, had paid Travis to give Purrp some exposure, and it was a publicity stunt for Purrp and a cash grab for Travis, which wasn't a great look for Travis and definitely a cheap stain on his legacy. So the whole helping fellow artist thing went straight out the window, and the label wasn't off to a great start. So Travis needed a new signee to create a good foundation for the record label. Just a few months later, Travis would sign the hottest up-and-coming rapper at the time, Sheck Wes. At the time, it was someone Travis really believed in. Mo Bamba was blowing up, and Sheck Wes was a budding young star. And in the beginning, it was largely a huge success, except it wasn't due to Travis. For several months, Sheck Wes's career potential seemed limitless due to Mo Bamba just blowing up and blowing up. Then he teased his album Mudboy, which was announced to release in 2018, right before Astroworld, and fans were hyped. Afterwards, Travis would make one more move, but at the time he'd keep them under wraps. No one knew, but Travis had signed another artist by the name of Don Toliver. However, he was unknown at the time. And when Sheck Wes dropped his album, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't amazing either. It only sold 25K and went number 17 on the Billboard charts, which wasn't amazing considering the wild success of Mo Bamba. So far, everything has gotten off to a rough start until a new star came around, Don Toliver. But remember, for marketing reasons, Don's signing was kept a secret. And when Travis Scott dropped Astroworld, he put Don as a feature with hidden vocals on the song Can't Say that had fans in shock, wondering who this unknown feature was. Furthermore, Sheck would also be featured on No Bystanders, and his music and energy had been getting a lot of positive feedback, so it looked like Travis had assembled a solid roster around him. The following year, in 2019, things would be even better. Don Toliver had a breakout year, capitalizing on his hype from Astroworld, releasing single after single. His debut album hit number 7 on Billboard, very solid for a debut artist, and many of the songs would blow up later. Songs like No Idea and After Party each have over 500 million streams on Spotify. And Don became the guy that made it seem like, okay, Travis knows what he's doing. He marketed him well, he genuinely made good music, and it really looked like he was going to be a force commercially as well. And he did, overtaking Sheck Wes and becoming the main character in Cactus Jack. However, while Don Toliver was blowing up, Sheck Wes was struggling to even stay relevant. Yes, he was already a big name, but his releases were very random and he struggled to create a solid fan base. And by 2019, it was safe to say that Sheck had fallen off, solely because he took his foot off the gas and a couple of other mistakes he made. But all hope was not lost for the label, as at the end of the year, Travis announced that Cactus Jack would have their first collab mixtape. In January of 2020, it dropped. Jack Boys featured Don Toliver, Sheck Wes, Pop Smoke, Rosalia, Lil Baby, Quavo, Offset, and Young Thug. It performed well both musically and commercially, selling 154K first week, which was a huge W. So things weren't looking too bad after all. Although Sheck and Don didn't have the potential Travis did when he was young, they were almost like role players, but for Travis's team, and it worked perfectly. And in 2021, they would add to the roster. In January of that year, a new artist would be added to the Cactus Jack lineup, and he was a product of the new wave SoundCloud age, an artist named SoFago, who when signed, looked like a perfect addition for the label. SoFago was a budding young star, still a teenager, and had what seemed like endless potential, especially after 2 songs, Knock Knock and Adding, went viral on TikTok and reached hundreds of millions of streams. If you were on TikTok, SoFago was inescapable. So signing SoFago was a no-brainer. Except that was the easy part. Now it was up to Travis to develop him. And so it began. SoFago was being touted as Travis's new protege. It almost looked like a perfect fairy tale storyline. Things were looking great on SoFago's side as well, as he was every industry head's prediction to become the next big star to come out of SoundCloud, which had everyone wondering who he was. And when Travis signed him, fans were like, it's happening. Except Travis made a bunch of errors with SoFago. First of all, signing Travis should have been a huge win and boost, but instead SoFago fumbled his entire career. Let me explain. At the time, Faygo fans were super eager to hear his debut studio album, Pink Hearts. After all, in the 2 years prior to that, Faygo had released 10 projects, so it wasn't a crazy expectation for fans to expect a new album. But instead, they got something else. A Trippie Redd feature. Woohoo! Then, Faygo dropped a single, which snippet made more noise than the full release itself for how he played with the mic, and so Faygo's career seemed to be stalling. However, his momentum wasn't going anywhere. Knock Knock was still going up on TikTok, and he even appeared on Don Toliver's album. Furthermore, it wouldn't have been that bad. I mean, there's nothing wrong with taking your time as long as it's not a millennia. However, so Faygo's competition was taking off. Yeat, who was just a rising star at the time, was going crazy, dropping hit after hit. Another artist, Ken Carson, Playboi Carti signee, was taking off as well. Faygo was nowhere to be seen. Leading up to Faygo's Pink Hearts, the conversation that Yeat was a bigger artist than him began to form, and at the time, Faygo was much larger. But pretty soon, fans started to turn on Faygo and agree. Eventually, Destroy Lonely, another Playboi Carti artist, who Faygo was also miles ahead of earlier, would overtake him as well. So not only were things not looking good for Faygo, his competition had caught up, and the pressure was on. So Manscaped just sent me their latest grooming and hygiene bundle featuring the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra Electric Trimmer. Just look at that. So it features a waterproof, cordless, and a skin-safe trimmer blade that cuts through hair with ease. That'll give you that sleek, bare finish, taking care of all unwanted hair. Another thing that I really like as well is the battery can last up to 60 minutes. And unlike other trimmers, the battery doesn't wane off as it's about to die, like a lot of other trimmers do. But what I like most about this trimmer is its portability. You can really bring it anywhere with you, and that's really good, especially if you like to travel. On top of that, Manscaped sent me their entire bundle, which includes a free gift, aftershave, a smoother, and some boxers, as well as a bag, which will really come in handy. So thank you to Manscaped once again for sponsoring this video. Make sure you head over to manscaped.com and get your hands on the perfect package 5.0 Ultra today. If you want a discount, which I'm sure you do, use my promo code RISHAV, all caps, RISHAV, for 20% off plus free international shipping and a free gift. Thanks, Manscaped. However, before he got the chance to prove himself, one of the biggest tragedies in concert history occurred.
And at the thing is, like, you know, people pass out, you know, people, you know, things happen at concerts, but something like that, it's just like.
In November of 2021, Travis was at his annual Astroworld Festival where there was a crowd crush injuring 30 and 10. The audience tried to get Travis to stop the show after things were getting wild, but he didn't. In 2015, Travis pleaded guilty to reckless endangerment after he told fans to climb barricades at his shows. That same year, Travis ordered fans at his show to give a fan in the crowd the beats. So the evidence began pointing in the direction that Travis Scott wasn't the nicest person. As a result, Travis's reputation took a huge hit and has never really recovered. And so not only did this mean that Travis Scott's career was impacted, so Faygo's career was also put on the back burner, as well as all of Cactus Jack. But Travis Scott was the most hated man in the world at the time, so he had other problems to deal with. At this point, it seemed like the cons had outweighed the pros of signing to Travis. Travis was the one that kept the bus going, and when he went down, the others came down with him, no matter how innocent they were. Apparently, Cactus Jack artists were even barred from speaking to the press at the time. This would of course affect Don Toliver's career as well as Sheck Wes's, but it affected So Faygo's the most because he was the newest artist who still hadn't dropped his debut studio album. The wait for So Faygo's album was long, but it shouldn't have been this long, and it wouldn't have been if Travis's Astroworld tragedy had not happened. After that, no one under Cactus Jack could release music due to what had happened for months. Utopia, Travis's next album, was planned to drop very soon, and just like Astroworld had done for Don Toliver, could have given Faygo a lot of promotion for his album, but that wasn't possible now. Then, Yeat sold 35,000 first week, and things got even worse, because it showed everyone what an artist from the underground like Faygo had the potential to do. So the spotlight was now on Faygo to perform, and remember when I told you that Faygo kept telling his fans his album Pink Hearts was coming? Well, years later, no one was waiting. On November 11, 2022, So Faygo dropped Pink Hearts, and it was underwhelming to say the least. Faygo's fans weren't even happy with it. It featured DJ Khaled, Lil Uzi, Don Toliver, and Ken Carson, but there was one person missing, Travis Scott, which everyone was really confused about. Moreover, Pink Hearts wouldn't even hit the Billboard 200, which is crazy for an artist with hundreds of millions of streams, and an embarrassment for Cactus Jack. It didn't even sell 8,000 units. In other words, he went double plastic. After all the Nike commercials, Jimmy Kimmel performances, performing at LeBron James' son's birthday party, and Apple Music promotion, Faygo flopped. Furthermore, Faygo flopping was now a stain on Travis's image, so he didn't really show any love to him publicly and still hasn't, likely trying to hide him. And to be honest, the flop wouldn't have been that bad if Faygo was able to pick himself up and keep going. But rather than taking it on the chin, Faygo's ego was bruised and he blamed the fans, posting this: "Rather cut out all the fake ass supporting fans and rock with the people who really mess with me." The fans thought to themselves, surely he'll be on Travis Scott's Utopia, right? Since Faygo alluded to being on it.
I can't tell you that. I can't tell you that. You know I can't tell you that.
After all, that's how Travis pushed Don Toliver and Sheck West, and after being responsible for Faygo's album delaying due to the Astroworld controversy, you'd think that Travis Scott would make up for it by giving him a feature on Utopia, right? Nope, Faygo was nowhere to be seen on the album. So Faygo being on Utopia, the big break Faygo fans were waiting for, didn't happen. But then fans thought maybe he'll take Faygo on the Utopia tour, just maybe, to give him some exposure. Nope, not even that. Instead, he chose an artist named Tizo Touchdown, who wasn't even signed to Travis and was a nobody a couple years ago compared to Faygo. He is pretty hard though. But what's really a bummer to me was the fact that Faygo was never really given a fair shake. Though there were unfortunate circumstances, during those years, Faygo's fans left and moved to other artists, and he's never seen the same popularity since. After that, Faygo toured with Nav, but fans had fallen out with the idea of Faygo becoming the next big thing of SoundCloud. To them, he was a bust. Faygo's next project also failed the chart as well, but he could still come back. He's only 20 and has been building his foundation for years. He just needs to be pushed onto the next level. And hey, Travis Scott still had Don Toliver, right? That year, Don dropped a track called Do It Right, and surprisingly, it gained millions of views in hours after being released on YouTube. So fans were thinking, okay, this guy is really doing something. However, it was leaked that Don Toliver was paying for views. This was because Atlantic Records was botting their artists allegedly, but it didn't matter. To the public, it was an L for Cactus Jack and Travis, who they thought was the one botting views. And it was really obvious they were botted. After that, Don Toliver's most recent album sold 17,000, which after all the success he received was a flop. And remember Sheck West? Well, the same can be said for him as well, except he didn't even get the chance to drop music. In 2020, Sheck was taped up on some gun charges in New York. According to the report, Sheck was pulled over for having excessively tinted windows. Officers reportedly searched the vehicle and found a loaded firearm. He was charged with 2 felonies and was facing time in prison. So if you couldn't tell by now, Sheck West was doing anything but dropping music. So much so that in 2022, he decided to become a professional basketball player. I'm not even joking. And it was even announced that he was eligible for the NBA draft. However, he went undrafted. As it turned out, it was all promotion for a single #binballing, which ended up flopping. But that turned out to be the least of Sheck's worries, because that year, he was also met with some pretty serious abuse and essay allegations by Justine Skye. She took to social media to say, "I literally have footage of you jumping over the fence of my crib to attack me, Sheck. Your lies are even more disrespectful." Sheck then promptly dropped a statement saying, "I've chosen to remain silent until now out of respect for actual victims of the A-word," and then denied the claims, but they caught him in 4K.
Justine.
Even a restraining order was filed against him. Then things didn't get better when former classmates of Sheck West came out and said he had a history of that type of behavior. And after the evidence that came forth, it was not a good look for both Sheck and Travis, who supported him. Furthermore, in 2023, Sheck could have made a comeback with Utopia and was so close, but Travis Scott cut his verse from Fiend, which became a massive hit featuring Playboi Carti and was even performed at the Grammys. So it's almost like Travis doesn't even want his artists to shine. He even attempted to take the spotlight off of them to put the spotlight on the signing of an Instagram model. At this point, after all the mishaps, the failed signings, and the declining stock of Cactus Jack artists, Travis would stop signing artists altogether until he figured out how to revive his artists' careers. Well, in 2022, there was yet another weird incident that happened surrounding Cactus Jack when Malu Trevejo signed to Cactus Jack. Malu blew up on TikTok, and in October of 2021, Malu posted a TikTok saying,
"Can't believe I finally found out I got signed to my favorite motherfucking artist, and I can't wait for you guys to hear all my motherfucking songs. It was a little birthday. I love you guys."
And on Instagram, writing, "Birthday girl, I'm so happy dreams came true and got signed to Cactus Jack." By the way, for most fans, she was just considered an Instagram model, not really a musician. And this was the tipping point for those fans, especially the ones of Cactus Jack. They were so astonished by the signing that at first they didn't even believe it was real. But eventually, they found out it was true. Then Malu explained 3 weeks later that she was leaving, which was odd. Why would an artist who is practically a nobody want to leave your label when you're one of the largest artists in the world and it was her dream to all her life? According to fans, it was because Travis got cold feet and blacked out, but Malu insisted it was all love. However, it didn't end amicably. A couple weeks later, Malu seemed really upset after hopping on Instagram Live, threatening to expose Travis if he didn't let her go from her contract, writing, like, "Why are you trying to hold me when you denied everything? Let me go now." Which meant Travis Scott was blocking her from releasing music. It seemed like there was a lot going on behind the scenes, but Malu was eventually released from the contract, and this was just another negative stain on Cactus Jack. So one common theme between the artist and Cactus Jack is that Travis Scott rarely puts in any thought into who signs to Cactus Jack. There's no common theme, just random artists, which would be cool if they worked out. But of course, that hasn't happened. But hey, at least he got Don Toliver, Sheck West, Sofego, and himself front seats to a Dior fashion show in 2022. So that must have been nice, right? Okay, so today Cactus Jack is kind of in shambles. There's no real direction, and it doesn't seem like there'll be one for a while. Sheck West released a song with a FaZe Clan member. In 2023, it got so bad that Travis Scott unfollowed Sofego. You get the idea. So why did they fail? Travis failed because he didn't know or doesn't know how to direct the careers of anyone on his label. Not much thought would be put into the marketing schemes of the newly signed artists. For example, Travis Scott's cosign wasn't really enough to give Sofego a boost. In fact, it really did nothing. Unlike someone like Playboi Carti, who never even publicly mentioned his artists, but still devised a plan for them to blow up and gain their own cult fan bases. But no one would mess up as bad as the final rapper on this list. That being the CEO himself, Rich the Kid, who has his own record label, Rich Forever. But before we talk about the label's demise, we have to talk about the man who started it all, right? Rich the Kid began dropping music in 2013, dropping mixtapes and collaboration projects with the Migos, Conan, and even songs with Playboi Carti. And this really put him on the map. But that's not enough, because before we look at why Rich Forever failed, we also have to look at why it was started. Rich the Kid came up with the Migos, dropping a couple of collab tapes together, and even moved in with them when he was broke. However, the downside to all of this was that he was always seen as a sidekick, which he hated. He was even known as the fourth member of the Migos. So to skirt the label of a sidekick, Rich created his own label, literally, which should make it clear that this was an ego-driven move, because it wasn't really to help others, but more so to bolster his own reputation as a main character rather than a sidekick, and have others as his own sidekick. So using that logic, he would never really let others in his label surpass him, because that's exactly what he started the label for in the first place. Moreover, starting a label before you've even become successful is unheard of, and Rich the Kid was a little crazy for even trying it in the first place. But in June of 2016, after really wanting to establish his own brand and identity, Rich Forever was signed to 300 Entertainment off of the massive success of the album Trap Talk, or mixtape I should say. He'd follow up, dropping Rich Forever 2, that received features from Lil Uzi, Lil Yachty, Young Thug, Jaden Smith, and even Playboi Carti. And from right at that moment, Rich made it clear he was coming for the throne. That year, Rich would sign his first artist, and to be honest, this was a killer signing. It's like Rich had a great eye for talent, as to be honest, Famous Dex was more talented and a better rapper than Rich. At the time, he was buzzing, and linking up with Rich the Kid was supposed to take him to the top. And for a short while, it looked like that's where things were heading. However, there were still concerns that Rich Forever would detract from Rich the Kid's solo career, which at the time was very promising. Remember, in 2017, Rich the Kid was at the top of his game. People really believed he was going to be something. So much so that even some legends in hip-hop decided to co-sign him, like Kendrick Lamar, who never gives features to SoundCloud rappers. On top of that, 3 months after signing Dex, Rich signed the Brooklyn rapper known as Jay Critch, who was practically a nobody at the time. However, as I said earlier, Rich had an incredible eye for talent and somehow just predicted Jay's success, and with that, he had enough talent to solidify the label. However, there were always signs that Rich Forever may not last the test of time. They always had little arguments. For example, in 2017, they had a playful beef.
Man, that shit Rich the Kid got on, that shit ain't nothing. That shit weak.
The video?
That video, yeah, that shit weak. Rich, you can't dress like me.
That same year, Dex tried to get out of his deal with Rich, taking to Instagram Live to say that he didn't have any problems with Rich, but he wasn't happy with his label situation. However, these minor disagreements were patched up, and the next year, Rich Forever would make some serious dents in the rap industry. The trio had chemistry unlike any other rap group fans had ever seen. Let me explain. Each artist in the trio had their own lane, and they all complemented each other differently. Rich was from Atlanta, Dex was from Chicago, and Jay was from New York. Dex was going on a monster run on SoundCloud, and Rich too, going on to release a number of collab tapes and singles that would just be hit after hit after hit. It seemed like the trio had the world in their hands, at least the rap world. However, many were still concerned that Rich Forever would detract from Rich the Kid's career, as well as stunt the growth of other artists' careers, because how could Rich focus on both, right? Well, Rich decided to prove everyone wrong, and in the beginning, it looked like he was about to defy the odds. Famous Dex dropped Dex Meets Dexter, which went gold, and singles like Japan and Pick It Up did astronomical numbers. However, fans thought, could Rich do those type of numbers? It looked like it. He proceeded to drop his debut album, The World Is Yours, debuting at number 2 on the Billboard charts and selling 59K first week. The hit song, Plug Walk, hit number 13 on Billboard, and Dex's singles were climbing up too, hitting number 28 on Billboard. So two artists had breakout mainstream hits, a successful rollout of each album, and a bright future ahead of themselves, at least so it seemed. But what's very clear and very interesting is in the beginning, Rich the Kid really put on for Famous Dex and Jay Critch. He opted to put out label mixtapes rather than his own, and he really built their careers before he had a solo hit of his own and went crazy himself. At one point, Famous Dex was even bigger than Rich the Kid, so most people thought, this guy is really selfless, huh? However, as time would go on, things would change quite drastically. That year, in 2018, Dex randomly took to Instagram Live to explain that Rich the Kid was not the selfless rapper everyone thought of him to be.
Was watching me live and comment on my shit, hey babe brother and all this, and be wanna see a nigga downfall. My mama grade, the same niggas you be with don't wanna see you come up. That's why I don't nobody, bro. I'm signing 300 on my son, and I'm Dexter. I created my own wave.
Dex explained that Rich wanted to see him fall off, and that he didn't need Rich. Later, he told everyone he was actually independent, saying,
oh, I'm just so happy I'm a free man. I ain't saying to nobody. Yes.
Nice try, Dex. And it was kind of sad to see him attempt to lie to everyone to make himself feel better. At the time, things were looking pretty bad between Rich and Dex. However, very soon, the two patched things up and the relationship was good again, as they were promoting another collab tape and it looked like Rich Forever was about to go on another run in the industry. However, rather than focus on music, Rich the Kid would go on one of the most embarrassing runs a rapper has been through in the past decade. How so? Well, during 2018, after seeing so much success, Rich the Kid was still trying to sign more rappers to his label, which is fair. However, for some odd reason, he thought that he'd be able to sign Lil Uzi Vert, or at least pretended to, back when Lil Uzi was beefing with his label. Rich chimed in, tweeting, "That's why you should have signed to Rich Forever." Uzi, justifiably offended, wrote, "Boy, I'm not signing for 20 racks." Rich then went on the Cruise show and said he wouldn't sign Uzi for personal reasons, acting like he could have signed Uzi when Uzi was way bigger than him. This was totally uncalled for and random, as Uzi and Rich actually used to be friends. So of course, this would spawn a beef between the two. Uzi responded to Rich's interview by posting a picture of him and a crab and tagging Rich as the crab. Rich then fired back by dropping a song called Dead Friends where he dissed Uzi. The track was very disrespectful.
Uzi is a artist who signed away all his rights to his label.
You and that little Uzi Vert, man, you said he's your son?
And Rich even hired an Uzi lookalike to be given the beats in a music video. Uzi then dropped Rich Forever, which was way better. But until then, Rich was honestly holding his own. However, remember how Rich paid an Uzi lookalike to get the beats? Well, Uzi wasn't a poser, he was the real thing. And eventually, he stand on business when he caught Rich in Philly. Uzi confronted Rich, who was scared and ran into a Starbucks, hiding behind the counter. Uzi called for him to come out, politely, but he refused. After that, he was forced to squash the beef, and Uzi dropped Eternal Take, selling 250K first week. More than all of Rich the Kid's first week sales to this day combined. This really hurt Rich Forever's image, I mean badly. First, your own artist, who's huge, says he wants off your label, even lies that he's off it. Then Lil Uzi publicly embarrasses you. Moreover, in 2018, fans felt like the trio was drifting apart. They weren't really around each other, and music wasn't being put out like it once was. And it turned out, once again, this was none other than the boss man himself, Rich the Kid's fault. Remember, the Rich Forever label was created with 300 Entertainment as the parent company, the same one Young Thug is signed to. However, it didn't take long for cracks to start forming in Rich and the label's relationship. They'd get into a ton of arguments, which honestly were definitely Rich's fault, and Rich would publicly diss 300 Entertainment, which is a stellar way to handle a disagreement with someone who's in control of your career. Except, luckily for Rich, he was able to get away. He got out of his deal with 300 Entertainment, which would have been great, except he'd leave Famous Dex behind with them. This This was horrible for multiple reasons. Number one, Rich had just abandoned Famous Dex. Furthermore, with him gone and the label knowing that if Dex did well, Rich would make money off of him, didn't exactly incentivize them to push Famous Dex's career. And what would you know? Dex would express his frustration with the label rolling out his album. Dex is a super nice guy, so this would have never happened if he was just signed directly underneath the label. So he'd feel ashamed that he had just dropped a Billboard charting single and had been left stranded with a label that wanted to see him fall off. So he tried to lie that he was independent, once again. But in reality, he was still signed. And I really do feel bad for him. Until now, Famous Dex had been relatively quiet and was actually supporting Rich no matter what. He was really a ride or die. But I guess this was the tipping point, as he would go on Instagram Live and air Rich out, saying,
I'm not rich forever. I am signed to 300. It's your kid's selfish ass is trying to sell Rich Forever 4. You're not trying to get me and Jay Chris shit.
He basically claimed that Rich was greedy and didn't do anything for him or Jay Critch, which when taking a look at Jay Critch's track record made sense. So if the people who signed to you are saying you're a bad person and the people who signed you are saying you suck, you might just not be a great person. What's funny is even the people he used to be signed to, Quality Control, that they didn't like him either and actually bragged they were still making money off of it. But hey, at least Rich the Kid was a smart guy and savvy businessman, right? Well, it turns out he was quite the opposite and he'd find himself drowned in legal trouble. It started when he was paid $100K by Fashion Nova to mention them in a song. All he had to do was say one line, but he didn't, and was sued for $130,000 in damages, which he had to pay. But that's small, right? What's $130K for Rich the Kid, the CEO himself? Well, afterwards, Rich's old management group, Blueprint Management, sued him after he didn't pay them their share of his earnings, which amounted to $3.5 million. And once again, Rich was court ordered by a judge to pay it, this time with significant interest. Ouch. Then a jeweler said he owed him $200,000. A month later, another judge ruled that Rich had to pay $300K to the landlord that he rented a mansion from back in 2018 for more damages. It seemed like Rich owed everyone and their mom an exorbitant amount of money, which just meant that he was showing that he had a lot more money than he had and couldn't keep up with any of his expenses. What did this mean for his label though, right? Well, when the CEO of your label is losing millions in legal fees, it might not be the smartest idea to stay on your label. And Jay Critch understood that. So after seeing all the messes that Rich had gotten himself into, he decided he was out. So in 2021, Jay Critch announced he was leaving Rich Forever for good, along with a diss saying, "I'm not Rich Forever, that shit been a dub." On Instagram, Rich clapped back saying, "Loyalty over royalty." According to Rich, Jay had went behind his back and snaked him over $100K, cutting a new deal that cut him out of the picture, and claimed that he made Jay Critch. "I signed Jay when I had a 2-bedroom apartment. I flew him out when I had $5K to my name. I signed him, gave him a platform, and made him who he is today. I got him a new deal to get out of this bad one. He then tried to snake me and go behind my back for a little bag. He then said, I haven't made $1 off of you. I put you on tour with Future your first year of being signed. I put you on and you have no loyalty," and called Jay ungrateful. Jay clapped back and said, "Some of these rappers are just like lawyers at the labels. Don't trust them, snakes. If y'all want new music, go tell them free Critch, ho ass." Followed by, "Toss you out. You trying to control my deal with my lawyer? I'm a grown man. I can run my own deals, silly. And you not like that. Chill." It looked like it was about to be a big beef, but they squashed it, and it looks like Rich has come to terms with Jay leaving his label. But beefing with your label/group mates only matters if you guys are doing well, and Rich Forever was not doing well. Starting off with the once star of the label, Famous Dex. Ever since Rich abandoned him, Dex would never recover and would go through multiple legal issues himself: domestic, robbery of a watch, running from the police, and substance abuse issues that still plague him to this day. By then, all three of their careers were doing pretty badly. Jay Critch had fallen off the map by 2021, and Rich the Kid's career was barely holding on by a thread. When Rich Forever 4 dropped, it was clear that the label was no longer what it was, that the project was just no good. But Rich the Kid was not going to give up without a fight, and it looked like the boss man was making some serious moves to make a comeback, which he had to fight tooth and nail to even make happen. So I guess I gotta commend that. Previously, to get out of his 300 Entertainment deal, he had to pay $800,000 and announced he was independent. However, that obviously wasn't going to work for him, so he decided to sign a deal with Republic Records, his third label in 3 years. Knowing he didn't have too many chances left, Rich decided to pull together everything he had and dropped his third studio album, Boss Man, with features from Post Malone, Nicki Minaj, and Future. It sold 20K in the first week. This was a huge flop, and Rich was dropped from his label once again. At that point, Famous Dex had completely fallen off, spent a year in jail, went to rehab, dropped a bunch of bad music, dissed Rich the Kid, made up with Rich the Kid, and when he was done with all of that, he was at the lowest point he had ever been. At one point, it was so bad that he thought he was trending on Apple Music The whole time, he didn't realize it, but he had just looked at his latest searches. Rich seemed to have hit rock bottom too, and from there, things just seemed to be over. However, Rich Forever had a little bit of gas left in the tank, and in 2023, they began posting snippets together, dropping a song called Big Dog on Lyrical Lemonade, which reached over 2 million views and had a great reception from fans who thought maybe, just maybe, Rich Forever could make a comeback. However, before fans could even get their hopes up, Famous Dex himself would say that Rich Forever was a thing of the past. Right after the song on Lyrical Lemonade was posted, Famous Dex came out against Rich the Kid and explained he was no longer Rich Forever.
I ain't trying to kick it with nobody. I'm just not Rich Forever no more. I'm independent. Grow up! I don't hang around the same people I hang around no more.
The thing is, this time, he was being for real and just explained that he was too loyal to Rich and just wanted to be treated right. It was pretty clear to me and everyone else that Rich the Kid was a selfish and greedy person. The thing is, these aren't just assumptions I'm making either. Famous Dex came out and said it himself, word for word. Rich was selfish, and that's why no one around him hung out with him anymore. All they did was try and stay down with him, but he never reciprocated. Furthermore, what's really messed up is that Rich would use Famous Dex's goodwill he had built with Cole Bennett to get his own Lyrical Lemonade video. If you didn't know, Rich the Kid asked Cole for a video for one of his albums, and Cole said no, as he had already done one earlier that year with him. Rich then accused him of being a culture vulture and said tons of other disrespectful stuff and destroyed his relationship with him. Dex, however, was the first person to get Cole's videos to blow up, so Cole was indebted to him forever, which is why Dex is always booked at Lyrical Lemonade's festival and he still gets videos, and they're good friends. Knowing this, Rich used him to get another song on the channel for Rich Forever. So the whole time, while fans were like, damn, this is hard, the trio is back, it was really just Rich manipulating Dex, nothing else. Dex explained he had been tricked. Basically said Rich Forever is over and done with, he was separating himself from all of them, and how could he blame him after all the times Rich had used them? But he did say he would always love Rich the Kid. He just couldn't be a part of his label anymore. By the way, he wasn't lying this time. And lastly, Dex took to Instagram Live where he explained,
go look at all them videos with the go yard. Nigga. I had a gun on me, nigga. Almost risking my life, nigga, on my son, nigga, ready will kill anybody for you.
He was heartbroken after realizing years later that Rich never wanted the best for him. It was all a front. It was all a show. And as someone who was really rocking with him, it just made me feel bad. Dex explained that at one point he was willing to do anything for Rich, but after seeing that Rich didn't actually want the best for him, he was heartbroken. So that brings us to today, where Rich the Kid's record label, Rich Forever, is stagnant, and the days where they were once newcomers to the industry with endless potential are long gone. The lesson here is pretty simple, and there's actually one for Rich and one for the artist. For Rich, it's only focused on one thing. Rich's mistake was he tried to build his career along with his label, whereas if he had just focused on his career, he may actually have been successful. The other lesson is to not assign to a not so smart person. Rich the Kid is quite possibly one of the dumbest rappers I've ever come across, at least business wise. I really like some of his old music. The amount of times he's been sued for hundreds of thousands or even millions is insane, and he loses every single time. Really ironic considering his name is Rich the Kid. So as an artist, you have to be wary of how much business knowledge the rapper you're signed to has, even if they call themselves a CEO. Scratch that, especially if they call themselves a CEO. So overall, signing to a rapper is like the ultimate cosign. Their initial goal is to take you in and show you the path that it takes to be successful. However, rarely is this how we see it go down. It is true that you can get a huge boost of clout by attaching your name to an established star. However, as you've seen, it comes with its issues. The shadow can be too large to outrun, you could be placed in a box, your career could be ruined, they could just not care about you. And for another artist to give an artist a shot and see that artist become bigger than the artist themselves could be tough for a lot of people. So let me know, is signing to a rapper the right move, or is it not? These days, the image you have as an artist and entertainer can make or break your career. It's everything. Many rappers realize this and decide that the only way they're gonna make it is by fabricating their image in order to succeed. However, to pull it off, they have to keep this a secret, as fans hate fake images, and when they find out, those same fans often turn on the rappers themselves, leading to the question, who are these rappers? How did they pull it off for so long? And how were they caught? I'm Rashad Fashir, and this is rappers who fake their images. The first rapper on this list who's been notorious for faking their image is none other than Lil Mabu, a teenage rapper who since 2021 has amassed millions of followers across all platforms and over 100 million streams on both Spotify and YouTube alone, all while being independent, and with some very notable cosigns in rap, such as from PNB Rock, K-Flock, Lil Durk, Bavia Foreign, and many others. So how did this innocent looking white kid become one of New York Drill's biggest rappers? Well, to understand that, we have to go to the very beginning. Lil Mabu was was just a teenage rap fan like millions of others in the world. But today, Mabu regularly goes viral for looking and behaving like a drill rapper. But what if I told you this was all by design? What many don't know is that Mabu actually founded a marketing company at 15 and would help rappers blow up with social media. Mabu's company would successfully boost artists like Lil Keed and 42 Doug's careers, expanding their audience by using a plethora of social media marketing, such as short-form video content and viral memes. Sound familiar? And Mabu would be quite successful running his marketing agency. However, he wouldn't want to stay behind the scenes forever. So around this time, while Mabu was promoting these larger artists, Mabu was also experimenting with his own music. He'd casually upload songs to SoundCloud. However, this didn't work out, as his music wasn't great and he just didn't have the image for it that was required to blow up in the rap scene. So after multiple failed attempts to try and make it by being himself, Mabu decided he would come out and try something different. This was in 2021, the year after 2020, where the hard-hitting style of production and flows of drill rap had conquered New York. So Mabu decided that he would try his hand at it, and to his surprise, his first drill song, Move It, caught a decent amount of attention, getting 100,000 views, which is more than pretty good. However, things didn't work out how he thought they would. He quickly realized that the song wasn't good enough to catch people's attention. Yeah, he might have gotten some views, but it wasn't good enough to blow up off of the merit of the music alone. So after realizing that a white kid couldn't just rap on a drill beat and skyrocket to success, he decided to take a page out of his old marketing playbook and turn it up a notch. 4 months later, he dropped his new song, Demon Time. This time, his voice was a lot deeper, and there was a video shot in the streets of New York featuring Lil Mabu dancing while surrounded by goons. It worked, and comments on the video really liked the song. They didn't mind he was a white kid because it was clear he was just having fun, and they encouraged him to keep going. And Mabu did just that. In his next video, King of the World, he did the same thing, paying people to act tough behind him and pretend like they were his goons. It was pretty successful, and today, King of the World sits at 1.7 million views. However, it didn't get as many views as his song Demon Time did. So Mabu quickly realized that clearly one simple gimmick wasn't enough to blow up. He needed more steam behind his career. So he may not have found the formula to his mainstream success, but he did find one ingredient, a fabricated gangster image to catch people's eyes. So he'd once again take another page out of his old marketing playbook and use short form content, aka TikTok, to try and boost his career. He realized he couldn't compete with the actual rappers who were living that life. So Mabu, like many white rappers, used the skin color to his advantage, but not how you'd think a white rapper would. He'd promote his early music by posting TikToks and videos of him mentioning his skin color, but he'd make fun of himself. And by doing this, it was hard for others to do the same thing. And once again, it worked. He'd get millions of views to short form, but once again, it didn't work quite the way he wanted. You see, Mabu's silly image may have gotten him some views, but Mabu knew to really succeed, he needed to be taken seriously. So he went back to the drawing board, and this time, he didn't have anything from his old playbook to take out of. He was out of pages. So what did he come up with? Mabu decided that if he couldn't actually be a gangster, he would hang out with and make as many songs as he could with real gangsters to boost his credibility and get him more exposure. And that's exactly what he did. The first rapper Mabu enlisted to help bolster his gangster image was none other than the barbershop demon K-Flock, who's currently sitting in Rikers, facing life in prison. So clearly he's not an innocent dude. Mabu would pay K-Flock to hang out in the studio with them, as he was already respected and established in the New York drill scene. As you can see, Mabu's trying his best to play the part of a drill demon, and most drill fans' reaction at the time was, who is this white kid? Fast forward a couple weeks, and K-Flock was arrested on some pretty serious charges, and this is where most fans believe that Mabu crossed the line. You see, even after involving himself with the drill rapper, Mabu felt like his antics weren't enough to get the amount of attention he deserved, so he decided to take things a step further by directly involving himself in New York drill rap street beef, a very dangerous game.
These drill rap videos are causing young people to lose their lives.
How did he do it? Flock had an enemy, or what some people call an op, D-Thang, and a week after K-Flock's arrest, Mabu decided to betray K-Flock and previewed a song with his op, D-Thang. This move was met with a ton of backlash. As ironic as it sounds, values are very important to deadly gang members, so Mabu tried to play it off, telling D-Thang he ruined the song. Then, D-Thang got arrested on RICO charges too, and pretty soon everyone forgot about it. But regardless of everyone's opinion on Mabu, he had found a way to grab people's attention for real this time. Now he just needed it to work. So Mabu decided to try again, this time with Sha E.K., another one of K-Flock's ops, and a respected drill rapper from New York. Except rather than turning it down, Mabu decided to go as hard as he possibly could, and he would release a song with Sha E.K. called Everyone K. Except it wasn't your average paid feature. Mabu had intentionally put himself in the middle of a serious beef. The song was a diss toward one of Sha E.K.'s enemies or ops, Use G's, and despite not being gangster at all, Mabu was even talking trash to Use in the song, saying things like, "You just broke in the hood, so you better get comfy," since he knew he could hide behind a wall of gangsters who he was using for his image. And from then on, Mabu using street rappers for credibility would become a common theme in his music. He realized that all he needed was others to back him and he would be good. Right after dropping the diss on USG's, Mabu dropped his debut album, and the promotion worked. It was filled with features from established drill rappers who, funnily enough, all had beef with each other, but I guess none of them were willing to turn down Mabu's money. By then, Mabu had secured features from almost every popular and up-and-coming drill rapper in New York, and he was starting to become a household name in the drill scene. 2 weeks later, he dropped his next video featuring Dusty Locane, another respected New York rapper, with the song No Snitching. And this time, Mabu received the virality he was looking for when he first started. No Snitching went viral on all platforms. Firstly, the song was pretty good, but it was mainly because Mabu was really starting to act the part of a drill rapper. In the music, he was holding a blade with a laser, and the lyric, "I could never snitch, that's on my kids," which he'd obviously do, but it didn't matter, went viral. Mabu's goal was to get people talking and sharing his videos, and this is exactly what people were doing. His plan was working. But Mabu was smart. He understood that historically in rap, especially in recent times, gimmick rappers were able to see copious amounts of success, but after using the same trick multiple times, the public would get tired of them and they'd fall off, because no one wants to see a one-trick pony more than a couple of times. And Mabu understood this. He didn't want to become a one-trick pony and fall off, so he decided to alter his formula and still pay for features, but use a different sound. The next rapper Mabu decided to enlist for a feature was none other than D Osama, the problematic teenage New York drill rapper. With both rappers around the same age and having similar fan bases, they were bound to make some noise together. They dropped the song Throw with a video that caught everyone's attention, except this time, for half of the song, Mabu was singing melodically, not rapping like an aggressive drill rapper. However, to cancel this out, he decided to make the music video about getting run up on at a corner store. This turned out to be a genius marketing move. The song went super viral, and today it sits at close to 50 million plays on Spotify. It did so well that it actually got the attention of Lil Durk, and he allowed them to open up in front of 10,000 people. So the Mabu experiment was working more than ever. He couldn't stop going viral, and things were looking good. But that was still what's considered his come up. 2023 was even crazier for Lil Mabu, and more importantly, his image. Right from the jump, in 2023, Mabu went viral once again. This time, it turned out to be the most well-received work by him in a long time. He started off the year strong, dropping Mathematical Disrespect, which would chart on Billboard, but the following month, he'd make his first major move of the year, releasing Trip to the Hood. This time, there were no features, just a bunch of people who he paid from the hood to act like goons for the music video. This was a risk, as Mabu had never promoted a solo hit of his this hard since the beginning of his career, but it turned out to be a success. Today, it's sitting at 20 million views, and with that success, Mabu solidified his name in the drill scene. So Mabu thought, why not try and drop another solo song, as he had proved he could release successful music alone. This time, Mabu may not have faked his image, but he faked a story. He took to Instagram Live and trolled his audience. According to him, parents and students from his school were reporting Mabu, claiming that he was a danger to the school and a distraction to the students. Mabu decided to feed into this and used Instagram Live as a promotion. So with the hype at an all-time high, he dropped his new song, Rich Scholar, that dropped the next day. It was massively successful. It hit 20 million views, went viral, the usual, and it looked like everything Mabu had wanted had come to fruition. Money, fame, girls, you name it. You'd expect him to be ecstatic and rejoice, right? However, after this video, Mabu took a break from releasing music and posting himself for a while. Why? Well, it was because just as he received all the success, a media platform, the New York Post, published a hit piece on Mabu. All the fake image stuff eventually caught up to him, and what they found was quite shocking. Everyone knew Lil Mabu wasn't really about that life, but after the article was published, fans of New York drill were shocked. It turned out that Matthew DeLuca, Lil Mabu's real name, wasn't a thug from the streets, if that wasn't obvious. He was the complete opposite. Growing up, he had it good. He attended a Manhattan private school that cost about $56,000 a year, and he was actually a model student. Furthermore, he grew up wealthy, growing up at his parents' 5-bed, 5-bath, 3,000 square foot condo on the Upper East Side. During school breaks or weekends, he often visited the Hamptons, where his family owns a 6,000 square foot mansion in Water Mill, and the two properties are worth upwards of $12 million. After hearing this, fans were appalled. Some were outraged, some were really surprised, but for the most part, everyone was just really shocked. But the hit piece had more information on Mabu. They claimed that Mabu's father, who had served a character in many of Mabu's music videos and still does, was a major music executive for a record label, which would explain Mabu's quick money and rise in fame. Mabu had hinted that he wasn't being totally honest in his songs, like in Mathematical Disrespect, where he said, "At least I get paid, because a lot of these rappers are capping for free," hinting that he was lying. But fans didn't think it was this bad. They just thought he was embellishing certain things. It turned out Mabu's family was loaded. So now, It was on Mabu to respond to that expose and save his reputation. And after taking a long break from the public eye, he did exactly that. Months later, Mabu put out a video where he was being vulnerable and talking about his life situation. He explained that
sacrifices I've made to get to this point at a young age. And you know, I was fresh out of high school with a song on Billboard, artists I look up to start becoming my friends, gaining notoriety. Cool. But at what cost?
Announced that he was going to college instead of signing a record label deal, which happened to be Emory University, a college with an annual tuition of $75,000. But he did address the hit piece partially, debunking the notion that his father was ever a big shot in the music industry, explaining that his father never got a chance to go to college, and that's why he was going himself. But if you think Lil Mabu was just about to let all this buzz around his name go to waste and not promote another song, you're bugging. Just 10 days later, Mabu released the music video for At What Cost, where he questions the ethics of what he did, exploiting other people's culture for his own success, saying, "Can't help but look around and say, this is where I belong, but at what cost?" The song didn't do that well, only getting a couple million views, which was bad for Mabu's standards at that point. So it was clear he needed some type of spark to get his popularity back up. So he decided to go all out again. And his next song and video would probably be his most ignorant and aggressive yet. This time, he enlisted the help of Christian Rock. This was textbook Mabu marketing, putting himself in the middle of a messy situation. At least this time, it wasn't street beef though. It was the beef that Christian Rock and Blueface were having after breaking up during Christian's birth of their child. If you have any type of social media, you've probably seen the insane story of Blueface and Christian. The two used to be a hip-hop power couple, having their entire lives on camera, until things quickly went south and they got into a pretty heated beef. Mabu knew this and realized it was going to be a great situation to throw himself into. At the time, Christian was constantly going viral. So with that, paired with Mabu's expertise, he thought they could easily make a hit song, and they did. They dropped the song at the end of 2023, and in just 3 months, the music video had racked up over 40 million views. It has over 100 million streams, and the song became ultra viral on TikTok. It was really just a 2-minute diss to Blueface. Mabu even promoted the song by acting like they were intimate, photoshopping Mabu's name over Blueface's name on her tattoos. So the song was a hit, and Mabu had successfully made a comeback. Maybe not popularity wise, but reputation wise. However, that wouldn't last very long. Afterwards, Christian Rock talked about Mabu and the entire situation, not really speaking about him in the best light. She took to Instagram Live and said,
"I f with bro, but I see his vision. I'm like, all right, let's go." But it was like, okay, hold up.
Furthermore, on the live stream, Christian explained that she was uncomfortable during the entire video shoot because Mabu was doing too much physically. She said that he'd implied that he wanted her to throw it back on him, but she'd be too uncomfortable since she didn't know him like that and he was a lot younger than her as well. So it was clear Mabu had just used Christian for virality and didn't care if it made her uncomfortable. But hey, at least his career was back on track. So after everything he'd been through, Mabu had successfully thrown himself back into the spotlight, but he still had to maintain his virality. And as viral artists' careers progress, it becomes harder and harder to create those viral moments. So Mabu would be up for a challenge. However, his next video would be his biggest debut to date. Mabu would invite Fabio Foreign to his dorm room, and together they'd make a song called Teach Me How to Drill. The song was crazy. Fabio even says the N-word for Mabu, and to say it went viral would be an understatement. The moment it released, it went crazy, going #1 trending on YouTube Music and getting 10 million views in 10 days. Furthermore, it began to go viral on TikTok as well, and the song is still blowing up to this day. So that brings us to today, where Mabu is the definition of a culture vulture, whether you think that's a bad thing or not. The culture he chose to insert himself into was drill rap, when he had nothing to do with the lifestyle beforehand. To me, drill music comes from pain, crime, death, and trauma, an art form that came from struggle. Lil Mabu, or Matthew DeLuca, has nothing to do with that, and it doesn't seem like Mabu will ever stop. His consistent ability to go viral is what fuels his relevancy, and because of that, many rappers recognize his ability to grab virality out of thin air, and that's why you see so many street rappers are happy to work with them. You can say Mabu uses the rappers for views, but they're doing the same thing with him, so they have an odd symbiotic relationship. Lastly, Mabu is only 18 years old, so as rap fans, we're going to be seeing his face for a long time. The next rapper who faked their image is none other than the infamous 6ix9ine, and it goes incredibly deep, so sit back, grab some popcorn, and enjoy. A lot of people know the story of how 6ix9ine snitched and how he used gang members to prop up an image, but what they don't tell you is that his entire identity was stolen from the very beginning. 6ix9ine's image is obviously the most memorable thing about him, his crazy tattoos, his hair, his loud jewelry, and clothing. All of it plays a role in his overall character, but he didn't just randomly achieve this wild image. What a lot of people don't know is that 6ix9ine's infamous image is from two individuals who would have their own successful rap careers later down the road, Zilla Kami and Sauce Mula, who now make up the hardcore rap group City Morgue. morgue. But at one point, both Zilla Kami and Sauce Moolah were very close with 6ix9ine. They all met through family, and when they first linked up, Zilla Kami would actually ghostwrite for 6ix9ine. Because 6ix9ine wasn't about that life, he needed Zilla Kami and Sauce Moolah to portray the image that he knew would get him attention. Sauce Moolah was a known blood, and 6ix9ine was just previously affiliated with Crip. Not actually, he was just faking it. So seeing that Sauce Moolah had the image that 6ix9ine wanted, he was a gang member, he had the face tattoos first, and had the aggressive delivery in his raps that people loved, 6ix9ine wanted to emulate it. Prior to that, 6ix9ine was rapping over boom bap. On top of that, he also dressed like a regular person. However, after meeting Sauce Moolah, he decided to dye his hair and wear rainbow grills as well as use Sauce Moolah's scream rap sound. So in other words, 6ix9ine's entire image and persona was crafted by stealing others' aesthetics early on. But because they were his quote-unquote friends, it was okay. So 6ix9ine was making noise locally, and him and his trio's future was looking bright. However, it wouldn't last for long. The early clout came to a halt when he was arrested for messing around with someone who wasn't 18. 6ix9ine was even seen in a photograph with her. He claimed he wasn't aware of the girl's age, but had to plead guilty so he wouldn't have to register as a sex offender. He spent a few months in Rikers Island jail and was eventually bailed out by Sauce Moolah and Zilla. However, due to the seriousness of the allegations against 6ix9ine and the fact that he stole a lot of their belongings, he fell out with the people who wrote all of his music and practically crafted his image. So much so that after they fell out, those same friends trademarked the name Tekashi 6ix9ine, forcing 6ix9ine to change his name to 6ix9ine, what we all know him as today. Though 6ix9ine did get the trademark back 2 years later, it's crazy to think that his old crew literally legally owned and were responsible for his entire image. But luckily for 6ix9ine, he was able to get away with all of this. Like I said, he changed his name and his old friends weren't interested in exposing him. So 6ix9ine would go on and become friends with Trippie Redd and have his first big hit, Poles 1469. However, Trippie didn't know this at the time, but the only reason they were messing with each other was because 6ix9ine was faking that he was blood, something that he had stolen from his old friends. Eventually, Trippie realized 6ix9ine was weird and not a real blood, and they fell out as well. But 6ix9ine was still relatively unknown. Sure, he had made some moves, gotten some attention and views with Trippie, but he wasn't really pulling in numbers like that, especially not solo. But everything changed for 6ix9ine on one fateful day when he released his next song, Gummo. The video portrayed him on the block with around 100 bloods, including himself with a red bandana. To most, he seemed like a real gangster who could rap. It shot him to the mainstream, and today the video has almost 500 million views on YouTube. But what a lot of people didn't realize is that 6ix9ine had completely fabricated the blood image, except this time it wasn't with Sauce Moolah and Zilla Kami, it was with some other bloods. And what's interesting is he also tried to fake being a Crip, but the Crips he was with were like, hold up, and told him to stick to music. However, 6ix9ine realized that his image was important, so rather than respect the boundary they set, he just switched gangs. So he realized he needed to be a gang member to legitimize his wild antics, and joined another gang, the 9 Trey Bloods, a blood set that originated in New York in the early 90s. And luckily for him, he met 2 members of the 9 Trey Bloods named Secco Billy and Snow Billy. They knew he wasn't a gangster, but they did see that he had a lot of potential to make it big in rap, and believed that they could get a cut once 6ix9ine blew up. So when 6ix9ine told him that he had a new song that he was going to shoot a music video for, and believed would become his first hit, Snow and Secco Billy would get all of their 9 Trey homies to show up to 6ix9ine's music video for his breakout hit, Gummo. And like I said before, the mainstream attention finally started to hit 6ix9ine. After the success, the 9 Trey Bloods were ecstatic, and 6ix9ine knew that they had to keep the partnership going. So they introduced 6ix9ine to their leader, Shotty, or at least of their set. Shotty was another respected 9 Trey Blood member, notorious for his involvement in crimes. He didn't get the nickname from the sky, he allegedly shot 5 people in just one day. So he and 6ix9ine cut a deal. 6ix9ine would use him and the rest of the 9 Trey Bloods to prop up his image as a gangster who was affiliated with Bloods and get protection from Shotty and the gang. In return, Shotty would become 6ix9ine's manager and get a cut of all of his earnings. After that, 6ix9ine would go on a series of hits. He was on fire and his success streak was undeniably, I won't say legendary, but pretty memorable. As for the 9 Trey Bloods, well, they didn't just have themselves a new member, they had a cash cow, taking a good percentage of 6ix9ine's earnings to not only fund their lifestyles, but their crimes. But they weren't just negotiating business deals and recording hits though. Treyway/9 Trey still had a heavy presence in the streets, and they would also have to keep up their end of the bargain and protect 6ix9ine. So they would have countless confrontations with 6ix9ine's enemies who they had to protect due to his insane amount of trolling, such as Chief Keef and more. And this is where the fake image would really come into play. 6ix9ine was the king of dodging and ducking. What do I mean? 6ix9ine would pretend like he was really like that and go into his ops hoods. For example, during a beef with what seemed like 6ix9ine versus Chicago, he infamously stepped onto O-Block turf to disrespect the soil. This was during his issues with Chief Keef, Lil Reese, FBG Duck, and pretty much all of Chicago's rap scene. However, after it was all said and done, a security guard for O Block posted the surveillance footage showing that it was actually 3 a.m. and that he only stuck around for less than a minute before getting back into the car and driving off. In a later interview, 6ix9ine did admit he was scared.
It's chilling.
Cause now we saw the surveillance video. He was there for like 30 seconds.
Nah, it was actually like for like 15.
Seconds.
I'm gonna sit there and entertain y'all, but I'm not gonna sit there and for y'all. That's not
But at the time, he was talking the talk and pretending to walk the walk. And this isn't the only time he'd pop out at a location either. He did it multiple times, like when he was beefing with LA street rappers. In 2018, 6ix9ine took to Instagram and posted a video of him flexing on his haters while outside in LA. However, he wasn't in LA at all. It was debunked by the media that he was in Houston, Texas, completely lying about being outside in LA. So he was just faking that he was about it and ready to slide, when in reality, he was just a scared little civilian. But since he still had the backing of the 9 Trey Bloods, no one could say anything as they were real gangsters. And as long as 6ix9ine and them were cool, he was cool. But as we all know, that couldn't and wouldn't last forever. The 9 Trey Bloods had been functioning since the 90s, but 6ix9ine helped put them in a new spotlight, with the feds watching very closely. The 9 Trey Bloods were menacing gangsters and didn't have the cleanest crimes. They'd be caught on camera multiple times, just outright committing crimes in broad daylight. So when the feds had enough evidence, on November 18th, 2018, 5 9 Trey Bloods, including 6ix9ine, were arrested and indicted on charges related to racketeering, weapons possession, and conspiracy to commit murder. This included Shotty and multiple people that held 6ix9ine down. It turned out the feds had been collecting evidence for quite some time, and 6ix9ine had expedited the process quite a bit. They decided to hit the 9 Trey Bloods with a RICO, and the 9 Trey trial would commence. This was a huge moment for 6ix9ine though. He had been LARPing as a real blood for a while now, so this was a moment for him to prove himself. So most people believed he would hold it down and solidify his reputation as a real gangster. Nope, rather than do what I just said, 6ix9ine pleaded not guilty to all charges and snitched on every member of Treyway, literally putting the most senior members in jail for the rest of their lives. The same ones that protected him and helped prop up his image. So long story short, 6ix9ine snitched and helped assist the process of taking down an established gang that has been around since the early 90s, or at least one of their most prominent sets. And not only did he get reduced charges, he caused everyone else to get much heavier charges and sentencing. But 6ix9ine knew all along that he needed snitch. His sentence was reduced to 2 years, and he was out even earlier because of the coronavirus, practically getting a get out of jail free card. At the time, this was a huge deal. Everyone was calling him a snitch, a rat, and his reputation was in shambles. The fake gangster image was done for, and to the fans and the public, it was time for 6ix9ine to pay the price. Except his success with music wouldn't come to an end. Following his release, 6ix9ine dropped Gooba, and it shook the world. The song hit #1 on Billboard, and the music video is now sitting at close to 900 million views. Then he dropped Trolls with Nicki Minaj, which also went #1 and has 500 million views on YouTube. Together, the songs raked up billions of streams and views, so it's safe to say he was bigger than ever. But no one can run away from karma forever. Remember how I said 6ix9ine would have to pay the price? He did. And remember how 6ix9ine infamously asked people to test him? They did. There are countless instances where 6ix9ine would boast and harass his enemies before and after his prison stay, saying he'll never be harmed. And surprisingly, he was right for a while. But of course, things caught up to him. One day, 6ix9ine was alone in an LA fitness gym working out. Don't ask me what he was doing all alone in an LA fitness gym working out, but he was. And he was ruthlessly given the beats. So after many years of 6ix9ine faking his image, things finally caught up to him and his haters would have the last laugh. From there, 6ix9ine had a meteoric fall off. He no longer had a fake image to prop up his career, and the music alone wasn't enough for him to stay relevant. Today, people are sick of his antics as well as his music, as it just isn't as special as it used to be, and he can't be taken seriously anymore. However, he's still big enough to play massive festivals overseas and pull in millions of dollars, so the whole faking your image thing didn't work out too poorly, right? The final artist with a wild fabricated image belongs to none other than Punchmade Dev, the internet's favorite scammer. Dev has made a ton of noise in 2023 and is infamous for scamming tutorials and strategies, but what if I told you that his image isn't what it seems? However, before we talk about how he climbed the scam rap hierarchy as a suburban kid from Kentucky, we have to talk about Punchmade Dev's rise. Far before Dev began making music, he started a YouTube channel at only 15 years old, where he'd actually conduct scams as well. His channel was mainly about 2K videos, a popular basketball video game, going under the moniker of Dev Take Flight. At the time, the 2K community was very popular, so many kids would do anything to have that type of status in the game. He capitalized on this and would tell people that he had advanced accounts with maxed out stats, but when they'd pay him for the accounts, he'd block them and take the money.
With all the badges and like 99 overall, like Legend 5 accounts. And then I would just post them on there and people would buy them, and then I just block him.
To promote these scams, he played in big tournaments and cheat to win, having viewers throw the game in his favor.
Well, I cheated to win, but I still won.
How did you cheat to win?
I had people like pull up and throw me games.
This is important because although it was minuscule compared to what he'd take part in the future, it showed that Dev didn't really have a conscience and was willing to do anything, literally anything, to make money at the expense of others. However, despite receiving this early success, Dev knew that 2K wouldn't be his main path to stardom or riches, so he decided to embark on his next journey, rapping. He dropped a meme rap song called Track Meet that somehow popped off. It wasn't a serious song, but it still proved to him that he had what it took. So with his new success, he took a new route and changed his YouTube channel's name to Opium Dev. He also realized that even though meme rap was cool, it wasn't what was gonna blow him up. So he took to a new, emerging, bubbling scam rap scene in Detroit that had blown up after digital scamming had increased in popularity over the past couple of years. Dev realized he had to insert himself in that scene, which he'd do multiple ways. For example, he'd pay for multiple features, such as with Babytron and Shitty Boys, some of the biggest scam rappers in the scene at the time, but he'd also insert himself by beefing with others. And Dev decided to go straight for the throne, beefing with the, at the time, king of scam rap himself, TJX6. And it wasn't a small beef either. At one point, Dev had a multiple year-long beef with TJX6, the biggest scam rap name out of Detroit. They'd go back and forth on Instagram Live. Dev even made a diss track towards TJ titled Scam Jesus 2. The two scammers even ran into each other in a mall and Dev tried to press him, but TJ was with his kids, so he took the high road. So what's the issue, right? Dev seems to check off the boxes. He was a bad person, had no morals, he scams people, and he raps. What's the issue? Where's the fake image here? Let me explain. It turns out Punchmade Dev wasn't exactly being so honest about who he was scamming, and that his entire persona was just a character to make money. In other words, he was no different from his 2K days. How do we know this? Well, Dev has a friend named Sache, who he'd been friends with since his 2K days, so it's safe to say that they were close friends and associates for years. However, they fell out due to issues involving money, and when they did, Sachi came down hard on Dev and decided to expose him. He began exposing Dev for his shady business tactics, explaining that
a lot of people don't know that I did create Punchmade, and I also created OBM. There wouldn't be a Punchmade Dev in general if I didn't exist.
He then said that Dev just copies rappers like TJX6 and Babytron and steals lyrics from them, explaining that Dev couldn't be himself and just copied others. He then provided some proof that Dev was just a horrible person.
See my story, I posted that Punchmade Dev stole BTB Savage's chain design. You could go ahead and put that on the screen as well.
He ended it off explaining that
Punchmade Dev, when I met him, he was a simple suburban white boy. He was just listening to Justin Bieber. This man, all of a sudden, when he grew up, bruh, he's all acting hard body and he's just cheating on his girl.
Dev just scams his fans and has no sympathy for any of his victims, but we already knew that. But wait, there's more. After Dev's old friend Sache exposed him, his other fellow scammer, Wappa, I know, really cool names guys, also decided to expose him. Dev keeps his past life pretty hidden, so Wappa would think it was pretty funny to post childhood photos of Dev, and out of respect for his privacy, I won't show them here. And this was a pretty big hit for Dev, as it was clear he was not a street guy, just a good boy. So Wappa was already clearly showing he was a great troll, but he took things a step further and decided to hunt for Dev. He announced that he wanted to meet up with Dev and settle their differences by giving him the beats. So Dev sent him an address and he was never there. He sent another address, but once again, he wasn't there. So it's safe to say, Dev isn't as tough as he acts. He scams his fans, beefs with other rappers, and hides behind his phone. So it's clear he's not living the street life he raps about. But hey, he does scam though, right? Nope. Dev's other friend also explained that Dev doesn't scam and that he simply scams his fans for a living. Yup, Dev doesn't actually do any of the scams. The actual scam are his followers and fans who think he's actually going to give them real methods for scamming. For example, one of Dev's most popular scams is the Cash App glitch, where Dev claims that he knows a secret glitch in Cash App that works as an infinite money glitch. However, Sache exposed Dev, claiming it was false, as well as showing that all of Punchmade Dev's group members in Punchmade flex the same stacks of money in each of their Instagram pictures, making it clear that they weren't actually getting money like that. It should have been obvious that this Cash App glitch was fake. Why would one of the biggest finance platforms in the world have this terrible flaw that would lose itself money? But sadly, many gullible fans deserve it. So Dev doesn't actually scam. His entire persona was made by an ex-friend who now hates his guts. But how is he making so much money? Well, it turns out that's not so original either. You see, back in the day, Dev's arch nemesis TJX6 had a massive exclusive Telegram chat where people would pay him for his knowledge of scam methods. You'd pay him and you'd get access. So Dev stole this and took it to another level. He created a shop on Telegram as well as a paid group chat for methods. This was a perfect ploy and it worked. Countless people joined his Telegram for the supposed glitch that can make you tens of thousands of dollars in minutes. Many people would send in videos saying they invested their last dollars and that they needed the glitch to work. For example, someone said that it would help their mom in the hospital who had bills to pay or get their family back on the feet. But of course, it was fake and Dev was the only one really scamming. His victims had tough luck. And this is actually insanely messed up. You really have to have no conscience to be able to pull this off. And to promote it, Dev dropped a song literally called Join My Telegram Chat. It has over 200,000 followers in it, and even only a small percentage paid him, Dev has likely made over $1 million. The guy Punchmade Dev stole this from, TJX6, agreed that Punchmade Dev stole his image. So essentially, TJX6, a black man from Detroit who really struggled, walked so a suburban kid from Kentucky like Dev could run. So you're probably thinking, yeah, this dude's entire persona was fake. But what's insane about Dev is literally everything about him is fake. There's absolutely nothing real associated with his image. For example, Dev was recently exposed for having fake Instagram followers. A social media guru named Unlocked, who can unban accounts, get accounts taken down, as well as give you fake followers, exposed Dev for paying for his services. When asked who he was, he explained the story.
Punchmade Dev has come to me multiple times because, okay, and he's bought, and for the record, that guy, he's bought fake followers from me multiple times, and he's like trying to like,
He said that Dev bought his services multiple times and actually charged people for the same service, but he would take the money and not give anything in return. Damn, this guy is just not a great dude. But it wasn't just his online presence that was faked. It was also his physical appearance or persona. Punchmade Dev is known for his jewelry, always sporting multiple chains around his neck, as well as his grills and other diamonds. But as we all know, the jewelry game is kind of tricky. Many of your favorite rappers' chains aren't real, and Punchmade Dev is not one of them, except I hope he's not your favorite rapper. For example, many former members of Punchmade Dev's group have come out and exposed Dev for his chains being fake, such as Sache, who explained that all of Dev's chains are fake, as well as the credit card chains that he made for his crew. So it's pretty much confirmed that Punchmade Dev is a grade A douchebag, but what does he have to say? Well, Dev tries to legitimize his wrongdoings by saying that people will get their money back or claiming that the banks are scamming you anyways, which is a weak response. But if his morals are not transparent to you, listen to the stories he tells in an interview. He gives a detailed story of how he scammed a girl at his school who had Down syndrome.
So there was this one cheerleader, I won't say her name, but she had so I already knew I could take advantage of her.
He manipulated her, took money from her accounts, posted to her social media with racist content, and got her kicked out of the school. It's crazy that kids look up to this guy. He even has a song called Special Needs Kid that talks about scamming and stealing prescriptions from people with special needs. So you're probably thinking, how is all of this legal? Why is this man still a free man walking? If all of his scams or stunts were real, it's surprising that he never got caught up with the law, right? He's been on camera countless times giving in-depth detail on how to scam and has tons of witness stories. So with all of this evidence against him, why hasn't he been charged with these crimes? Well, don't lose all hope yet. Punchmade Dev actually got one of his tutorials taken down by YouTube, but YouTube said it was requested to be taken down by outside sources, aka the feds. So they are watching him, and they only do that to people they plan to throw the book on. So Dev, if you're watching this, watch out. Overall, regardless if he's lying or not, he shows sociopathic tendencies and is genuinely kind of twisted. He has no sympathy for his victims or any victims of theft and scams at all. And he's been exposed for almost everything in his career at this point, which is pretty crazy to me. So finally, one thing you'll see with all three of these rappers is they've all gone through multiple personas and phases to get where they wanted to be. They had to experiment until they found an image that best worked for them. It might not be who they genuinely are, but it's what worked. These rappers understand that they need to draw attention and keep the audience entertained. Emotional engagement is such a major piece in marketing, and people might not even enjoy the music, but they stay drawn in by the antics. Some can only find success by faking it until they make it. There's a great comedy movie named CB4 with Chris Rock as the main character. The movie is about rappers needing to fake it until they make it, and it's definitely a great watch if you're interested in rappers fabricating their image. Anyways, let me know what you think about all this down below. Rappers are known for their insane rises and falls, but these days it seems like there's a new rapper that pops up every week. And some of the most explosive of these rappers are meme rappers. Meme rappers are rappers that blow up because of their memes, not because their music is good. And they tend to fall faster than anyone. Over the past 5 years or so, so, in the internet era of rap, many meme rappers have risen to the top of the internet and made some serious waves in rap, only to fall off. But why does this always happen, and why were they not able to enjoy long careers? Well, that's what we'll be answering today. My name is Rashad Bashir, and this is Meme Rappers Who Fell Off. The first meme rapper who fell off is none other than Ugly God. Back in 2017, everybody loved Ugly God and his music. He was funny, his music was catchy, and overall, he was just a cool guy. But let's take it back to where it all started. Ugly God grew up in Houston, Texas, and always had a passion for music, beginning to rap in middle school. His first song to give him some traction was Meet, which went semi-viral and put him on the map. But that didn't blow him up. In 2017, he dropped Water. Water wasn't just a meme song. It was huge and catapulted him to internet fame, and in the process, made him a household name in rap. At the time, meme rap was really new, so people really thought Ugly God could go the full 8 yards and go mainstream off of Water. On top of that, Ugly God was exceptional at marketing himself. He used to put lizards on his nose, and it would make fans go crazy. That year, Ugly God was featured on the XXXTentacion freshman list, and in October, he signed a deal with Asylum Records for close to $1 million. He was going crazy, performing at huge festivals, selling out shows, and getting features from other big rappers, just living his best life. And at his peak, he even moved in with Rice Gum, FaZe Banks, Alyssa Violet, and the infamous Clout Gang in their clout house. So it's safe to say things were going pretty good for Ugly God. But in rap and in entertainment in general, there's a saying that you're only as good as your last piece of work. And Ugly God would only be able to ride the success of Water through 2017. After that, he had to come out with another hit, or he would begin to decline. So like anyone, Ugly God began cooking up his next move. He decided to drop a diss track called F Ugly God and tried a number of tactics to get another hit, followed by his debut album. In the middle of the year, Ugly God dropped The Booty Tape, landing number 27 on Billboard and had a Wiz Khalifa feature. But despite the mild success, it wasn't the type of success he had received with Water. A huge blunder of his with The Booty Tape was fumbling a Ski Mask and XXXTentacion feature. This would have been a huge moment for him.
Ski Mask, the Slump God, was supposed to be on The Booty Tape.
Yeah.
What happened with that?
I guess label issues, clearing issues. Him and X were on the song, and
The Booty Tape had no hits, and these features would have guaranteed a hit, even a classic. But Ugly God got into beef with X.
What exactly happened with you and XXXTentacion? Because I mean, I'm looking. We did an article about you.
Me, bro. Everybody tell me you finna summon a demon. I don't believe you can, but if you can, do.
We got into about some shit, and then you know, he was a real emotional kid, but me and him really just kind of went back and forth, and I was just like kind of picking at him.
So he never dropped the version with Ski, and X didn't record his verse. And to add to that, nothing else Ugly God tried work either. So the question popped up, would Ugly God ever overcome Water, or would he remain a one-hit wonder? But The Booty Tape flopping wasn't the end of the world. Anyone could come back from a minor flop after having such a major hit like Ugly God did. However, to the surprise of everyone, Ugly God didn't try to make a comeback. Instead, he decided to go on hiatus. The following year, in 2018, Ugly God stepped back into the shadows. Prior to that, he was super active on the internet, constantly checking in with fans, dropping music, doing interviews, but all of a sudden, he became very reserved. The only time he was seen was his feature on Lil Gotti's album, and fans weren't sure why. On the XXL list, Ugly God was featured alongside artists like Playboi Carti, XXXTentacion, PNB Rock, and A Boogie, artists that would all go on to become massively successful in the coming years. So why did Ugly God's career turn out any different? Well, one of the main reasons why Ugly God fell off so fast was because he was really young and didn't know how to handle all the fame.
My fan base was growing so like steadily and organically. And then like just looking at my numbers, which I fucking hate going by numbers, but sometimes it matters, and like going by numbers and like as far as my followers and like my analytics and stuff, as soon as XXL happened, that shot the fuck up.
I bet.
And it was I feel like I didn't get my core fan base where I wanted it to before, you know, that.
So to him, he felt like he was growing too fast, too soon, which stunted his career. And all this stress would cause Ugly God to fall into depression. It turned out Ugly God was clinically depressed. It was a combination of fame coming at him too fast and personal issues in his life, and he'd speak on it himself saying, I was super depressed for a whole year and no one even noticed, but it's okay. I shouldn't expect y'all to care about my personal life. I'm here just to be a good friend and deliver good music to y'all. Love y'all. The worst part was Ugly God felt like he couldn't come out and speak about his depression because at the time it was a trend to be depressed, or seen as one.
Okay, because you talked about in the past year you were going through some depression and so forth. Okay, and you also talked about how depression and mental illness has sort of become a catchphrase and something that everyone sort of likes to use.
So it's got kind of corny. So when I was going through shit, which is super personal, but when I was going through it was around the same time becoming depressed and like just being fake depression, like that shit is actually like an aesthetic and like a wave now for it to not even be depressed, and then they acting depressed and shit all on Instagram when they're really not.
So he didn't want to be seen as a fake clout chaser, so he bottled it up and dealt with it like a man. Another big issue with Ugly God's music early on, and something that negatively affected his career, was being labeled as a mumble rapper on top of the meme rap label, which made it hard for the average rap fan to take him and his music seriously. And when Ugly God realized this, he had the equivalent of a midlife crisis for a meme rapper. And in an interview, he said, "While my joke around songs are fun to make and turn up to, I'm creating no substance or mark." So he realized none of his music had any meaning and felt like he needed to step it up, which created high expectations for himself, which he couldn't satisfy, and resulted in him not dropping music because he didn't feel it was up to par for his new standards. A very vicious cycle. To add to the trouble of that year, Ugly God had put up all the songs that didn't make it to the album in a folder and uploaded it to Dropbox. He then accidentally, I don't even know how you do this, emailed it to a fan who said if he didn't pay him, he would leak 100+ songs, which Ugly God was not going to pay for. And what would you know? Most of them leaked. And to top the year off, his Instagram was taken down after he posted conspiracies on his page. But the worst part was Bumps and Bruises. His highly anticipated tape just kept getting delayed, and when it finally dropped, it no longer was highly anticipated. The hype had disappeared. In the album were songs like Hello with Lil Pump and Lost in the Sauce, which were cool, but not new or meaningful like he expressed he'd like his music to be. And he didn't get very much exposure either. It peaked at number 46 on Billboard and sold 14,000 in the first week, which is okay, but a flop for his size. And afterwards, he went radio silent. And with the memes taken away from his musicality, fans were not happy. To them, he was just a basic SoundCloud rapper now, with nothing special to add to the table. And to me, this was Ugly God's biggest mistake, because he failed to understand that his humor and memeability was actually what made him him, and what fans loved so much. When he got rid of that, his music became dull, and there was nothing special about it. After Bumps and Bruises flopped, Ugly God took it hard. This time, he ghosted everyone on social media, only tweeting twice and making one Instagram post in the years afterward. The most attention he got was something he didn't even want attention for. It was when he got arrested after an altercation in front of a hospital. He never addressed it, and afterwards, people just forgot very quickly. But in 2021, he had picked up his internet presence once again. By then, his sound had evolved too, and he was no longer the meme rapper rapping about the childish things he was rapping about before. He was making an attempt to be more mature. Furthermore, Ugly God had also made it clear he was not trying to be in the spotlight. His YouTube bio wrote, "Been too busy enjoying myself because I never had shit." He also explained that he wanted to live his life privately, by himself, and keeping to himself. Later that year, he also revealed he had a child, and that child was his #1 priority. And the only reason he was still doing music was because providing for that child was just as important. In that interview, he said that he was playing basketball, fishing, spending time with his kids, and just living life. And even though he's lost hundreds of thousands of followers, he was fine with that. But at the end of 2021, Ugly God had had it with the falling off allegations and decided he'd show everyone that he was still making money and doing more than fine. So he posted this screenshot saying, "Haven't even dropped a single track on any streaming platform since August 2019. My supporters really have my back." 25 million streams on Spotify is roughly $100,000 if you calculate it. And if you count Apple Music, YouTube, and other platforms in streaming, it was clear his income was still in the hundreds of thousands, so good for him. This explains why Ugly God said it didn't matter if he dropped new music or not.
Shit, nigga, you ain't dropping a minute.
Imagine I don't drop music for a whole nother year, bro. That hurt nobody, bro. Come on, bro. I know you want me to win this, but nah, I'm just joking.
Because he was no longer popular. His new music couldn't compete numbers wise with his old music. So even if he dropped some new music, his old music would still outstream it. A very weird but fortunate scenario to be in. Later that year in 2021, he made an excuse for why he didn't drop, pointing fingers.
Shit just like high school, you feel me, bro? Be around, you know, who the coolest niggas, who the hottest, who around, who all in the scene and shit. Y'all know that's just not me.
Which is the opposite of hate the game, not the player. It was the player, or rapper in this case, Ugly God, hating the game, which he had to abide to, like everyone else. In 2023, Ugly God randomly dropped a 2-track EP. One of the songs even featured Lil Yachty, but Yachty and his label took it down. After the incident, Ugly God was furious and took to Twitter saying, "Yachty's song got took down." But y'all know how this industry stuff goes. I'm not blaming him for actually reporting it myself, but it wasn't an automatic takedown, and it indeed got reported directly from the label. I'm independent. So this was Ugly God saying that Yachty's record label took it down because Ugly God was independent. On top of all of that, he had gotten into legal trouble as well. which was the reason he dropped on SoundCloud and not other streaming platforms. It came out that Ugly God's name, Ugly God, was copyrighted by his old manager, so he didn't own the rights to his own name, and it was being held hostage by his ex-manager, which is why he was forced to drop the 2-pack on SoundCloud, which was then taken down by Lil Yachty. So Ugly God was pretty frustrated. And since then, fans have been saying he's been falling off, writing things like, anyone know what happened to Ugly God? And getting responses like, he fell off. This was a stark contrast from the articles that were being written on Ugly God in the years prior, like how Ugly God took over the internet. So it was clear the narrative had changed and Ugly God was nowhere near as close as big as he once was. But none of this was actually the end of Ugly God's career. The real nail in the coffin, no pun intended, was when Ugly God was responsible for someone else's life.
So rapper Ugly God is being officially accused of and his best friend's father. In the police report, he is listed as an official suspect. Man, what the I haven't heard this man's name in years, and this is the first thing I see. I wanted him to drop music, not a body.
On June 29, 2023, police reports came out saying somebody went to heaven in Orange Grove, Mississippi. The man was 50 years old. Police responded to the call with the victim slumped in his car and arrested the suspect without any issues. But a little later, news began circulating that Ugly God was responsible for it, and the victim was his best friend's dad. The alleged police report even named Ugly God's government name. People were shocked, as prior to this, it seemed like Ugly God was cool with his best friend's dad. There were pictures of them together for years and years, and apparently Ugly God's mom was living with his best friend's dad and wife for 2 years. So the whole situation was very confusing. After the situation went down, Ugly God claimed it was self-defense and the victim had threatened his mother. But according to the witnesses, Ugly God and his friends lured the victim, his best friend's dad, back to his house saying his son was in danger, apparently bragging about it. And as the victim was riding away, completely blindsided him by the attack. Afterwards, Ugly God got on live to say he was mad no one had his back.
To come on here and for nobody to defend me was like, and then feeling like everything.
Made a tweet saying, a lot can happen in a year, hashtag don't believe the hype. Posted up with a bankroll. And then, in classic Ugly God fashion, disappeared. But the evidence was pretty clear. To most fans, this was the first time they heard Ugly God since Water, so to them, it was a wild crash out story. And it's safe to say that today, Ugly God's chance of making a comeback is very, very slim. He threw away his rap career over some pretty serious charges, and while he did have a chance, never really grabbed the opportunity. And today, Ugly God is just a one-hit wonder. The thing is, once you go viral for memes, you have to stay that way to maintain your success. Ugly God wasn't an exception. He no longer was that high school kid. He was a grown man, and wasn't able to continue the meme persona. So he fell off. The next meme rapper who fell off is none other than the 2021 sensation Mario Judah. Back in 2020, Mario Judah took the internet by storm through his viral snippets and just the crazy way he acted. But what set Mario Judah apart was Mario had talent. He was someone who put in the 10,000 hours and seemed like he was willing to put in the effort to market himself too. Today, Mario Judah has lost hundreds of thousands of followers and his only activity is random songs he's forced to post by his label streaming. But at one point, Mario was the most viral artist pop out of a specific corner of internet rap in a long time, and someone who fans were genuinely excited for and waiting for to drop. So if he had everything in the palm of his hands, what happened and how did he fall off? Well, let's take it back to October of 2020, when Mario had the internet in a chokehold. Twitter and TikTok had taken his music to the next level, and he was even charting on streaming services. But that didn't happen overnight. Mario Judah originally started out as a producer from Atlanta, and didn't even want to become a rapper.
Making beats, being a producer only. And that's all I ever really wanted to do, was just be that.
Only starting to rap months before everything took off. In the summer of 2020, Mario Judah dropped his song Die Very Rough on SoundCloud. A videographer found the song and shot a video for the song to help Mario out. That videographer was J-Law, the same guy who discovered Lil Skies. J-Law eventually let Mario sleep in his office and they inked a management deal. J-Law would earn 25% of Mario Judah's earnings. But Mario literally only had a couple hundred followers, so it wasn't a really bad contract, considering J-Law gave him a career and a real shot. And to their surprise, just a couple of weeks later, a tweet tweeting Mario Judah's music went viral. The The memes went crazy, and so did the views on the Die Very Rough music video, getting hundreds of thousands of views daily. And Mario Judah seemed to be making a name for himself. During this time, he began getting label offers.
First actual money offer was 50 grand. They wanted Die Very Rough, and I think it was like 3 other songs. Honestly, we kind of laughed at it and was like, nah, that's not enough. But looking back,
the second deal was a bit more interesting. The label offered Mario $300,000, $100,000 advance, $100K marketing budget, and $100K for a Ski Mask feature and a Cole Bennett video, along with a Rolling Loud performance.
it was from one of the many branches at Atlantic, because there's tons of them. It was 100 grand, promised that Cole Bennett would shoot a video and Ski Mask the Slump God would get on the Die Very Rough remix.
J-Law later learned they lied about many details of the contract, and the deal was very aggressive, retaining most of Mario's music and forcing Mario to drop 2 EPs, about 10 to 15 songs. So after taxes and J-Law's 25%, Mario would barely make 40K. So his manager told Mario, hey, let's not take the deal, I'm sure something better will come up. And Mario agreed. However, the next day, Mario was nowhere to be found. And ever since then, Mario and his ex-manager J-Law have never spoke. What happened? It turned out Mario was desperate. He flew to LA that night and signed that deal. So he secretly left and never spoke a word to J-Law. But you see, Mario never got a Cole Bennett video or a Ski Mask feature. He did get a hangout with DJ Scheme though, and perform at Rolling Loud. Mario's interview with Drewski went ultra viral, and he was just so out of pocket and funny. Even Drewski was like, what's wrong with this guy? But the clip catapulted Mario to another level of fame, or level of clout, I should say. Lil Uzi began tweeting him, and for a second, it looked like Mario had actually made the right choice, as although the contract was horrible, it may have been worth it because of all the publicity he was getting. Mario was a master at marketing, and pretty soon, he would become a household name in rap. At the time, Playboi Carti was on the verge of dropping his long-awaited album, Whole Lotta Red. So like any sane Carti fan, Mario Judah started threatening Playboi Carti, saying if Carti didn't drop Whole Lotta Red, Mario would do it himself.
Playboi Carti! Where's Whole Lotta Red, bro? We want Whole Lotta Red! If it's not here and delivered to the world before December 6th, I will drop it myself. Drop it now!
And started previewing his own Whole Lotta Red songs, which was just Mario rapping on Whole Lotta Red beats. But here's the kicker. A lot of those songs were self-produced by Mario and engineered by Mario. Mario actually had talent. And when he dropped his Playboi Carti type songs, fans were actually like, yo, the song being a clone aside, this dude's actually pretty good. So the Carti fanbase began treating Mario like he was their messiah and leading the fight against Carti to drop music. He was getting so much attention, fans began speculating that Carti's label hired him to promote their music. But later, people from Carti's camp began dissing Mario. Ken Carson tweeted, F Mario Judah, and Carti's hairstylist said, stop glazing. In fact, something very unfortunate which Mario didn't foresee is that Carti was signed to the same label Mario was signed to. And after Carti's album went #1, he was definitely a much bigger priority over Mario. So to them, it was a very easy decision to shelve him over Carti, who may have had his management speak to those at Atlantic to have Mario silenced or shelved because that's just how Carti operates, which was not great for Mario. But Mario did stick to his word and drop his own Whole Lotta Red. But once Carti dropped his album, Mario's album aged horribly, and fans began viewing Mario's album as cheap and just another antic. And the majority of his top songs are from that knockoff Whole Lotta Red album. So he didn't focus on his own music, but chose the meme route instead. To me, this is where his downfall began, as the joke of Whole Lotta Red took over Mario Judah's brand.
I'm dropping Whole Lotta Red Deluxe for you. And so then the joke, it took over his whole brand. So when he pitched himself for the freshman, one of the top accolades that he had was Big Yeah and Whole Lotta Red. And the fact that somebody else's album is at the top accolades of your career, that's when you know you done f***ed up.
But at the time, no one realized this, and Mario, he still had more in the tank. He decided to pull up on his cheating ex-girlfriend on Instagram Live.
And she took my f***ing heart, and you know what the f*** she did with it? She f***ing tore it! Oh, stop the car, bro, stop the car. Hell nah, bro, you f***ing serious? This bitch right here, what the fuck? Are you f***ing serious?
Everyone thought this was real, but later he admitted it was fake.
Actually happened. I take things to a different level, and I figured, you know what? I'm gonna act out a situation, point of view, and so that it could hit everybody and they could think that everything is real and that everything is happening, so that everybody can be sad about it and be like, oh my God, what's going on? And then hit them with the message being, you don't cheat. Because things like this can happen.
But again, what?
And it was all a marketing gimmick to promote his new song, I Can't Love You, a rock rap song. But the song didn't even go viral. And after March of 2021, Mario Judah disappeared for a couple of months. But later that year, a song of Mario's leaked called I Miss the Rage, a play on Trippie Redd's snippet Miss the Rage. And at the time, fans thought it was a collab with him and Trippie Redd, especially after he tweeted I'm Mr. Rage and Good Morning Ragers. It really seemed like it would drop, and Trippie Redd even posted a video of him listening to Mario's song. But eventually, the real version dropped, and it was with, hey, Playboi Carti, becoming probably one of the most memorable rap records in the past couple of years. Trippie Redd had also said that Mario wasn't on the song, but everyone just ignored him.
Man, what the f? Hey, Mario Judah is not on Mr. Rage. Stop saying.
And if you go to the Mario Judah version, the comments are overwhelmingly positive. People actually like the song, so it sucks that we didn't see much from him afterwards. That was in May of 2021, and since then, he's completely faded out of relevance. He hasn't posted or said anything or done anything other than dropping a music video with no promotion. He might have been able to reignite his career, but Mario was about to see the ugly side of the music industry. In a Discord call, Mario explained his new management sucked.
I had this manager that was man, I ain't even gonna get into that, bro.
Not his old manager, J Law. This was his new manager, who his old manager tried to protect him from. His new manager was allegedly messing Mario's career up and tried to control him. Mario's old manager was Lil Sky's videographer, and for many others. He had industry experience, but wasn't industry, and most importantly, had Mario's best intentions at heart. A perfect combination.
That's what I think, and he, since he got out of my situation so easily, I think that maybe he thought he could do it again, and he signed something and then kind of realized it wasn't exactly what he wanted.
Mario's newer people, they didn't care about him. It was their way or no way. And from Mario's hiatus, it was clear which route he had taken. After that, Mario dropped an NFT project, and people didn't even blame him for the scam. It was just clear he was very broke and needed money. There were supposed to be perks, but nothing ever popped up. And in the Discord call, he didn't really have an answer.
Saying, y'all, I gotta talk to y'all about that soon, man. It ain't really what it seems right now.
And to the way he was speaking in the call, it was clear he had lost the sparkle in his eye that he had when he first came into the industry.
You know, we about to record our side with it. We just found somebody who we finna record, finna get a hit made, you know what I mean? Table, you know what I'm saying? Finna record right here, outside. You see that? First, do it. Found my man. I don't even know him, bro.
What's crazy is it only took like a year for Mario to get thrown out and sent back to the road. Other artists have had label issues. Megan Thee Stallion spoke about label issues, Lil Uzi did, but they spoke out against it and tried to do something, and they were much bigger. Mario didn't even try and went a year without posting, and when he did, he posted a tweet that seemed to be reassuring himself, which basically just showed that he was not in a great mental state. In September of 2023, Mario Judah made a post with some crazy hair. It reminds me of The Weeknd back during Kissland, and told everyone they needed to get baptized and was just showing everyone his faith. He returned with a very weird video of him with overgrown dreads, facial hair, and a menacing stare. That's it. And fans just thought he lost it. It was like we blinked and Mario Judah was gone, which led to fans asking, what the F happened to Mario Judah? There were even articles being written about his disappearance. Which brings us to today, where most of the fans just look back on his stint as one of the funniest 15 seconds of fame in the music industry, which is a shame because of how much work Mario Judah put in.
I used to make beats on the side of the street, bro. I recorded homeless people on the side of the street. Like anybody who walked next to me, you was gonna record on the side of the street with me, and I was gonna make the beat for it. I just really wanted it bad, so it's a blessing I'm here.
Time went on, I started gaining a lot of weight because I wouldn't go outside and get any exercise. That's how much I was sitting down, being productive, making beats. So when people make like jokes or whatever like that, I laugh at it, and I'm kind of like glad that they say that because they don't know why I got this big or I got this fat, because I was sitting down every day making beats, working myself, but not going outside.
He really sacrificed everything. So what happened? I think this fan on Reddit said it best. Mario Judah had incredible potential with his career before he disappeared. I'm not joking. He had fantastic vocal range and even sounds like a completely different person in some of his songs. I know everybody thinks he's cringe after seeing the Die Very Rough music video, but they're disregarding all of his other work. He also fits into his genre of music perfectly. His voice just has that aggressive tone to it, amplifying this hybrid of horrorcore and hip hop. He's hardly active on Spotify now, only collaborating with a few small artists occasionally. Had he pursued his independent career further, he could have 100% blown up. To me, what's really sad bad about artists like Mario Judah and Ugly God is in today's day and age, breaking artists in the industry is extremely hard. It's actually the hardest thing to do. And artists like Ugly God and Mario Judah did it themselves and had fans gravitate towards their personalities organically. So it sucks that even after breaking into the industry, they were still spit out. The last rapper on this list is Kid Buu. If you were a fan of SoundCloud rap back in the day, this guy was everywhere. Not everywhere, but he was around. And it wasn't because he was a good rapper. He was just one of the most bizarre rappers around. He would say the craziest stuff and was just a really weird guy. And behind it all, he had somewhat of a push. But today, he is non-existent and no longer goes by Kid Buu, completely fallen off. At his peak, he was getting millions of views. So what happened? How did this interesting character go from garnering millions of views, disappear so fast? Hailing from New Jersey, Kid Buu was born in 1988. So he was very old, which he attempted to keep a secret. In 2006, when he was 17 years old, Kid Buu had a kid, and in 2008 was arrested when he did something super messed up to his girlfriend, or baby mama I should say at the time, in front of their child. He was charged with multiple charges, and it's unknown how he spent his 20s, reportedly selling toys and making a bunch of money after his 2-year jail stint. However, he wanted to erase his past and make people think he was younger than he was. So he cut off his childhood friends, deleted his social media, and moved to Toronto, allegedly to dodge child support. However, his first persona wasn't Kid Buu. It was Humongous the God. Yeah, really good name. His strategy was to emulate rappers who were already successful, and he tried to copy Travis Scott, Tory Lanez, and even managed to get a Migos feature before they were as big as they are today, even getting them to appear in the music video, which was probably like $50,000. He just tried everything hoping for something to work, and didn't have an original bone in his body. For example, he used to pay to go on radio shows, and at release parties he would host himself. He paid models to dance around him and paid extras because he had no fans, which honestly just makes me feel bad for him. At that point, he realized what he was doing wasn't working and completely changed his image, as well as his name, to what he's most famously known for, or as Kid Buu. He took a more thoughtful and tasteful image this time, colorful hair, face tattoos, nail polish, and that whole streetwear rapper aesthetic that was really popular in 2017 with like dreads and stuff. And just like Lil Pump, he would do lame stunts on Instagram as well. At first, he started buying followers all the way up to 100,000, but in 2018, he actually began gaining an organic following. His silly gimmicks began catching on, and people began getting infatuated with the whole Kid Buu character of his. He released multiple songs on WRLD that did pretty well, some even getting millions of views. But Kid Buu's real big break was when he was on Vlad TV and was interviewed. He basically said he was a second generation clone and that he escaped from a cloning facility. He made up an intricate story saying his chest tattoos were actually symbols from the cloning facility he was held hostage in, and the whole thing was really cringe.
I was cloned by Clonate in Canada. My model number is 0112568 if anyone wants to see the registration in Clonate.
Okay. So then you ended up in...
Since before escaping, I read that the mother was Puerto Rican and I guess the father's surrogate, you could say, was a sperm.
But despite how cringe it was, the stunt was huge and got him so much exposure, and today it's what people really know him for, sitting at 3 million views. And just like his peers in the clout rap scene, he had plenty of stunts. He used an editing trick to make it look like he was with his clone. He paid Black China to be his girlfriend. He attempted to beef with Trippie Redd and just got roasted, which I'll get into later. But despite all of the clout chasing activities, for a while, things were going pretty well for him. He modeled for OVO, hung out with Trippie Redd, collabed with Ski Mask, and Smoked Perp. But Kid Buu's weird behavior did finally catch up to him. He started behaving weirdly, going back to his old ways, doing things like putting a tracker under Adam 22's car because he wouldn't give him an interview and more. So after all these shenanigans, people eventually started catching on and stopped taking him seriously. He began getting clowned on and just became a joke. Even Rice Gum clowned on him. All these weird details started coming out, and his past would slowly get uncovered. The first big expose came from his girlfriend at the time, who made a huge expose talking about how he was abusive, controlling, manipulative, and lied to her, saying he was 10 years younger than he was, and about the fact that he had a child. The funniest thing was, she said that he made no money from his music, and he just injected money into it to make it seem like he was living a certain lifestyle.
It looked like he put a lot of money into, but the music itself wasn't good. I mean, it was honestly terrible, and that was one of the things that kind of held me back. I was like, ugh, I have to support this guy's music and I don't even like it. And I'm not even just saying that because he's my ex now. Didn't like it at the time.
It turned out he got a nose job and was a 30-year-old, and in his past career even paid DJ Khaled to do a whole project with him. After that, Buu thought beefing with other rappers would revive his career. Spoiler alert, it didn't, and just dug him into a deeper hole. He tried beefing with Nav by re-uploading audio on a 2-year-old track with a copy of one of Nav's songs, and then claimed that Nav copied him. Nav never even addressed it, but his best friend Lil Uzi had his back. Apparently, Kid Buu wanted to get into a party, so Uzi invited everyone that was with Kid Buu and told him the only condition was that they had to ditch Kid Buu, which is pretty funny. When Kid Buu asked him why on Twitter, Uzi explained it was for stealing Nav's song. It didn't stop there. Although Trippie Redd and Kid Buu were originally friends, Buu and him fell out after Trippie Redd wouldn't make a song with him, which if you ever listen to a Kid Buu song, if you haven't, just keep it that way. You know why. They fell out because Trippie Redd allegedly stole a song from Kid Buu. According to Kid Buu, he showed Trippie Redd a song of his, and then Trippie Redd liked it so much, he told Buu, yo, wait, and I'll put a verse on it. He then remade the song and dropped it, allegedly. Trippie Redd told a different story and said that the beat was made in 2018 and Kid Buu really wanted to be on the song, but Trippie didn't let him because
it was made in 2018. You know what I'm saying? Like, they wanted to be on the song, but I kicked him off the song because he was so damn trash. I DM'd the address.
Don't even get no clown no attention, bro. Don't get no
Hey,
clown
look.
niggas no
Hey, look.
attention.
I ain't giving him no attention. This is the last time I'm gonna ever speak on this.
Juice WRLD even chimed in and told Trippie not to give him any attention. He had a lot more L's too. Buu tried to get a Cole Bennett video. In Toronto, he got his chain stolen, and he tried to make the XXL list but didn't make the cut. It was just embarrassment after embarrassment and L after L. And ever since then, Kid Buu has been trying every trick in the book, but nothing's been working. In 2020, Kid Buu was caught copying Playboi Carti pictures completely, down to the pose and outfit, which I don't know what he was thinking, like it's very easy to catch that. In 2021, Kid Buu was caught faking RIAA certifications, lying that multiple songs of his went platinum. The Photoshop was horrendous as well. It was just unbelievable. Currently, he's trying to fake being a part of Carti's label, releasing his Pink Planet album, where he completely rips off Lil Uzi, and self-releasing it under Opium Records. And I could just keep listing the L's, but I'm gonna stop there. And finally, in 2023, Kid Buu admitted he lied about the clone stuff. Yeah, no one was shocked, buddy. Today, Kid Buu still posts on his YouTube, but he's fallen off the face of the planet and posts vlogs trying to show he's an active father, which I guess is cool. To me, it seems like Kid Buu had some sort of trauma, as he was 19 when he went to jail for a couple of years, and they say you stay the same age of your trauma. It seems like he did something, which I'm really curious about, to get all the money he did to fund his music career, sacrificing his youth on top of the jail stint he had. So he was trying to relive his youth by becoming a rapper, getting a nose job, hanging out with girls 10 years younger than him, and lying about his age, of course. So yeah, kind of unfortunate, but he had it coming. It's mostly just funny though. Overall, I see this as just one big lesson. In anything, if you start off as a joke, you're gonna stay a joke and end as a joke. That doesn't apply to just meme rappers either. It's very rare that someone can transition from a meme to having a serious career, and if they do, they have to drop the meme aesthetic completely. Take Pink Guy and Filthy Frank for example. When Filthy Frank / Pink Guy became Joji, he had to get rid of that persona for good, to the point where Ski Mask the Slum God didn't even realize that Joji was Pink Guy or Filthy Frank when he met in person. Others like Lil Pump and SmokePurrp, who weren't meme rappers but used a lot of gimmicks, also fell off. But at the end of the day, my advice would be to stay away from this type of stuff as much as possible and as far as possible. Of course, making a joke or being lighthearted and funny is cool, but it's best not to make your actual work, your craft, a joke, if that makes sense, because that's just how people are going to treat it. Success brings a lot of things to an artist: fame, money, woman, and of course a diehard fan base. And maintaining a healthy relationship with fans is one of the most important parts of a successful career. However, at the same time, not being able to can be just as destructive. And over the past years, we've seen many artists treat their fans horribly, making it seem like they hate them, and seen their fan bases turn on them as well. I'm Rashad Fashir, and this is Rappers Who Hate Their Fans. The first artist who undeniably hates their fans, or has shown she has in the past multiple times, is Doja Cat. Over the past decade, she's had countless hits and has remained in the spotlight as well as the charts almost constantly, making her undoubtedly one of the most successful female acts in the industry. But for years now, she's had a confused fan base who, due to her erratic behavior, weren't sure if she liked them or hated them. In fact, it only ramped up in recent years, and it's starting to sway a lot towards the idea that she hates them. So let's get into it. But before we talk about her horrendous relationship with fans, how did she even get any to begin with, right? Well, Doja Cat was signed to a major label far before she was mainstream, catching the attention of RCA Records in 2014 and being signed in the same year. She dropped multiple songs, getting a bit of buzz, but nothing really happened. However, in 2018, everything changed for her, and with the release of Moo, She skyrocketed in popularity and had her first taste at mainstream success and had her big break as an artist. Of course, with this newfound success, Doja found herself with a lot more fans than she had before. And although this was great for her career, it didn't take long for fans to begin to cause trouble. And some of them wouldn't even remain as fans for long. You see, when artists blow up, gaining new fans is just one part of the equation. The other part of the equation is this. After people become fans, they usually scramble to find everything they can about the artist to get to know them better. For Doja Cat, this didn't really turn out that well, as not too long after her new stardom with Moo, the public dug up some pretty wild tweets that she posted back in 2015. The post was a tweet Doja Cat had directed towards Tyler the Creator and Earl Sweatshirt, calling them both the F slur. Of course, this was posted when Doja Cat was practically a nobody, so she probably didn't think anything of it. But as a rising artist, it wasn't a good look. Fans were outraged, commenting things like, WTF is this? And overall just questioning if Doja Cat was a good person or not. And after a ton of hate, Doja gave a response, but it wasn't exactly what you'd think she'd say to respond to criticism. She tweeted, I called a couple people when I was in high school in 2015. Does this mean I don't deserve your support? I've said roughly 15,000 times in my life. 15,000 is crazy, by the way. Does saying mean you hate gay people? Do I hate gay people? I don't think I hate gay people. Gay is okay. It doesn't take a genius to know that this would not sit well with fans. I have no idea what she was thinking. And it made them even more upset. They were shocked that Doja would even continue to use the word and kind of mock the situation, thinking she wasn't paying respect to the people she hurt. So it was pretty clear she didn't give up. And her response foreshadowed how she would treat her fans in the future. Eventually, more and more hate started to flood her socials, so she did apologize and put out another statement with a bit more of an understanding attitude, saying, I apologize for the derogatory terms I've used in the past. No one should be discriminated for their race, religion, or sexual orientation. I love you and I hope to make more great music with and for you in the future. Thank you. She then deleted the tweet later that day. So yeah, not a great look. But fortunately for her, fans were generally indifferent about her second response, and as she was still very new to the landscape, as she grew bigger, people just progressively forgot about it. So she was given a second chance. However, little did everyone know, this would only be the beginning of the complicated relationship Doja Cat has with the public and her fans. And if you think this was bad, wait till you see the rest, because she just got more and more out of pocket. Luckily for Doja, she stayed out of controversy for years after that. And the next time Doja Cat would get into a feud would be years later in 2020. It all began in May of 2020 when fans uncovered some pretty crazy stuff, digging up a live chat of her in a racist chat room where she was a participant, trolling online with them with what fans considered to be, or scratch that, some pretty racist and inappropriate stuff that I can't even speak about or show to you. But the general idea is that she'd be teasing for the chat room and saying racial remarks with them. When this was uncovered, it would seriously tarnish her reputation, as this was during another period where Doja Cat was blowing up, this time for her song Say So, which went viral on TikTok, so she was having another huge influx of fans. This time she was much more mainstream, and her racist past was a huge stain on her reputation. But before she could address any of this, fans uncovered another bombshell of an allegation. And to be honest, it's not much of an allegation. It's stone cold proof. In the same month they found the livestream, Doja's fans uncovered a 2015 SoundCloud release from Doja titled Didn't Do Nothing, with more racist content. The saying didn't do nothing is a saying that online groups make to mock the victims of police brutality, directly translating to the victims who didn't do nothing. So you can imagine how outraged certain fans were at this point, especially for someone like Doja Cat, who actually appealed to a very liberal audience. This was not a good look. But it didn't stop there. That same month, yeah, I'm not kidding, her fans went 3 for 3. They found another racist act from Doja in the past. Fans had rediscovered a music video for one of her songs, So High, an early successful song in her career, where she was called out for sexualizing and appropriating Hindu culture. After one allegation, I'm not gonna lie, people just brush it off. After 2 allegations, people start raising their eyebrows. But after 3 solid pieces of evidence come out, and not so much as a peep out of Doja Cat, fans were like, I think she might be racist, or at least just a bad person. But eventually, Doja did finally address these allegations all at once. First, she addressed the racist chat room allegations, saying, I've used public chat rooms to socialize since I was a child. I shouldn't have been on some of those chat room sites, but I personally have never been involved in any racist conversations. I'm sorry to everyone I offended. I'm a black woman. Half of my family is from South Africa, and I'm proud of where I come from. So basically, she denied any form of racist behavior and then said, hey, I'm half black myself. How could I be racist, right? And whether or not she is, I'll leave it up to you as a viewer. But she also addressed the disrespectful song that resurfaced, saying, as for the old song that's resurfaced, it was in no way tied to anything outside of my own personal experience. It was written in response to people who've used that term to hurt me. I made an attempt to flip its meaning, but recognized that it was a bad decision to use that term in my music. I understand my influence and impact, and I'm taking this all very seriously. I love you all, and I'm sorry for upsetting or hurting any of you. That's not my character, and I'm determined to show that to everyone moving forward. Thank you. This was pretty fair, to be honest, but by now she had multiple controversies and fans just weren't buying her response, so they weren't really gonna give her the benefit of the doubt and continued to give her hate. She didn't like this, of course, so she then took to Instagram Live to try and clear her name once more and attempt to control the damage that had been done to her career. First, she explained that she was a human being and nobody's perfect.
For me, if you're young, all of my young fans, you know, people who look up to me, you know, my behavior isn't something that always needs to be followed. I'm not perfect.
This was her saying, hey, don't look at me, I never claimed I was a role model, dodging the responsibility that comes with fame. And then she stood up for herself, saying,
also, I need to stand up for myself. Instead of making a video about that's diplomatically and politically correct.
And to be honest, she had some pretty good points, as after all, nobody is perfect and you shouldn't look up to celebrities as a role model. But it didn't matter. If I've learned anything from posting these types of videos, fans on the internet thrive off of negativity, they love it. And rather than take some time to think inwards and give Doja Cat's apology a fair shake, they said nah, and just went crazy. Her apology had the opposite effect of what she intended. Instead of fans being more understanding, they decided to launch a hate campaign. The hashtag Doja Cat is over party trend started to thrive online, and Doja Cat couldn't catch a break for a while. Remember, this was in 2020, and cancellation attempts held more weight, where you couldn't really get away with much without armies of counts coming after you. It was probably the toughest point in Doja Cat's career regarding controversies, with even celebrities calling her out. At the end of it, millions of eyes had laid their eyes on the controversial history of hers, and this was kind of like a canon event, or some type of event that just changed everything for Doja, because her demeanor after this completely changed, and it went from loving your fans to kind of liking your fans to, in my opinion, resenting your fans because of all the hate you got, which you'll see later. Before that, Doja Cat said that she just wanted to make her fans happy, but this would change everything. She realized that no matter what she did, she couldn't please her fans, so she ditched her apologetic attitude and kind of just began her villain era, as the girls like to say. So after her cancellation, Doja didn't care anymore, and since then, there have been countless incidents where she began beefing with fans, which includes making fun of a fan's weight early in her career. The fan made a simple joke and said her hair looks like a pineapple, so Doja Cat popped off. She called her Humpty Dumpty, and then she said and called her and continued to body shame and just roast her. To some fans, this was just funny, but it was a little extra considering that the fan had just compared Doja's hairstyle to a pineapple. There are even more instances of her beefing with her own fans. After a fan said they didn't like one of her interviews, here's what she had to say.
First of all, shut up. Shut up. Did I ask you? No, I didn't. Nobody asked. Is it something that you think that I'd want to hear? Probably not. You're doing that to be antagonistic. And congratulations, you're annoying.
And then she literally said she doesn't like most of her fans.
I don't with most of y'all. I really don't. But if you are interested in buying a speaker on JBL, that's originally illustrated by me, decode the message at the bottom and visit the website.
So at the time, Doja was also being shamed for a new bald head look, shaved eyebrows, and crazy makeup non-stop by fans. So she snapped on them, specifically one during an Instagram live.
People who are coming in here and saying like, oh, your hair, what's wrong with your makeup? You look like a clown, blah, 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 blah. Talk about their lack of eyebrow hair and their acne, comments about shit. You are absolutely disgusting. You're embarrassing. Like, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should be embarrassed at the way that you speak to and treat people.
She has even more, like way more incidents dissing and beefing with her fans that are much more disrespectful, but I'll leave it here. However, I can't lie, part of me respects how she stands up for herself, and she can be pretty funny, but fans definitely didn't think it was, and it just made her more and more unlikable, to the point where at this point of her career, it was almost a known fact that Doja Cat isn't a likable person, just a good musician. And you'd think after all of that, Doja would learn, but no. She got into not one, but multiple controversies following all of this. The first happened last year in 2022. That year, Doja was set to perform at a concert in Paraguay, but unfortunately the event was cancelled due to unsafe weather conditions. Understandably, fans were upset that they weren't able to see her perform, and like every other show that was cancelled, they expected her to give a statement or announcement to reschedule, or at least something regarding a refund. However, afterwards, Doja Cat went radio silent, not even telling them if they would be getting a refund. But right after, the hotel Doja Cat was staying at leaked, and a lot of fans showed up to Doja's hotel. Not her room, but just outside of the hotel, which countless fan bases do to celebrities. This isn't actually anything out of the ordinary. Countless fan bases do this to celebrities. For example, when the same thing happened to MGK in South America, he actually delivered a free show outside of his hotel for them to show that he was thankful. Obviously, they didn't expect that, but Doja Cat refused to acknowledge them and didn't even show her face to them. Once again, fans were enraged, and this would start yet another feud between Doja and her fans, this time on Twitter. Doja would reply to the upset fans' tweets saying that she abandoned them, saying, "I'm not sorry. I'm not taking pictures with anyone else after this tour. It's gone and I don't give a fuck anymore. I fucking quit. I can't wait to fucking disappear and I don't need you to believe in me anymore. Everything is dead to me. Music is dead and I'm a fucking fool forever thinking I was made for this and this is a fucking nightmare. Unfollow me." This was extremely ungrateful and fans were mad. But to be honest, if they had just shown up unwarranted, Doja's response would have been fine. After all, the show was cancelled due to some pretty reasonable circumstances. Horrible weather, so she couldn't perform. And she didn't really owe them anything. However, before she went on her crazy rant, she tweeted this. "There was a storm in Paraguay, the show got cancelled. When I left the next morning, there wasn't one person outside waiting for me." Doja Cat quickly deleted this tweet, and to fans, they thought she meant that Doja meant that no one was waiting there for her, when there were. What she meant was the weather was so bad that she left alone. So it was a miscommunication. But instead of being understanding, Doja Cat spazzed on her fans, like I showed earlier, and to be honest, that's on her. This must have struck a chord with her because afterwards, she decided to mock her fans once more, this time unprompted and just for fun. She tried to make them feel finessed for streaming her albums, which is a really weird thing to do. At the time, her most successful albums were Planet Her and Hot Pink, with numerous hit songs on both, and Planet Her sold 100,000 units first week. But randomly in 2023, she tweeted saying, "Planet Her and Hot Pink were cash grabs and y'all fell for it. Now I can go disappear somewhere and touch grass with my loved ones on an island while y'all weep for mediocre pop." This is probably one of the worst things you can say to your fanbase, pretty much insulting them for their taste in music and making Doja Cat rich through ingenuine art that she supposedly released as a ploy. So fans were understandably mad, and once again it sparked outrage. She didn't care and continued to make fun of them. A few days later, a fan tweeted at her and said, "Everyone is mad you are calling your fans dumb." She replied, "Are they not? Nice one." That was bad, and what fans didn't realize is this was the beginning of a huge breakdown by Doja Cat, where she go off on fans and just explain she outright hated them. But before we talk about that, here's some context. When Doja Cat was early in her career, she still had the core fan base that fueled the beginning of her career and decided to give her audience the name Kittens, similar to how Nicki Minaj has the fan base named Barbs. But in July of 2023, she essentially self-destructed her own fan base, and it was completely her fault. It began when a fan page of Doja's tweeted at her asking her to say that she loves her fans. Doja responded 2 minutes later with, "I don't though, cause I don't even know y'all." Then another fan chimed in and explained that Doja should be grateful for her fans because they were the reason for her success. And we don't know you, but we have supported you through thick and thin. Mind you, you'd be nothing without us. You'd be working at a grocery store making songs on GarageBand, Miss High School Dropout. Instead of understanding where they were coming from and apologizing, Doja decided to double down, saying, "Nobody forced you. I don't know why you're talking to me like you're my mother. You sound like a crazy person." Of course, looking up to someone like this is unhealthy, but you can't expect more from fans on the internet, which is what most artists understand and just acknowledge. Doja did the opposite and turned on the fan base that she named, writing, "My fans don't name themselves. If you call yourself Kitten or Kittens, that means you need to get off your phone and get a job and help your parents with the house." A fan clapped back saying, "Only using the name you gave your fans." And I'm not gonna lie, what happened right after was pretty funny. Doja Cat explained that she was an alcoholic when she gave her fans that name and said she doesn't even know what it means. By the way, I did mention that this was all between Doja Cat and her biggest fan pages, right? So these were literally her biggest fans who took time out of their day to promote and support her, which even if that is a jobless activity, you still gotta appreciate. So one of her fan pages named The Kittens Web tweeted, "What should I change my name to since you don't like the term kitten?" Doja said, "Just delete the entire account and rethink everything. It's never too late." So if it wasn't obvious before, her relationship with fans is definitely beyond dislike, it's hate. She literally hates them. And you're probably wondering what happened after all of this. Well, after having so many back and forths with her own fan pages, Doja lost an insane amount of fans and followers. Around 500,000 were lost in just a few months. To most artists, this would be devastating, but to Doja, she loved it. and addressed it on her Instagram story, saying, "Seeing all these people unfollow me makes me feel like I've defeated a large beast that's been holding me down for so long, and it feels like I can reconnect with the people who really matter and love me for who I am, and not for who I was. I feel free." But she did lose a lot of her serious fans who didn't want to support a douche. But there is one last controversy where Doja Cat beefs with her fans, and it's probably the worst yet. It's Doja Cat's recent relationship with the internet live streamer Jay Cyrus. Remember how I said live streaming would be a common theme for her throughout her entire career? The controversial streamer has had many women speak up with allegations against him. About 20 women spoke about abuse that went on in the workplace, misconduct, and even allegations of him. So it's safe to say people did not like him, and for good reason, of course. But Doja didn't care. On social media, countless fans bombarded her with comments about Jay Cyrus. One fan commented, "Girl, everyone's unstanding you. Even if you paint yourself gold, it won't make things better." Doja Cat responded in all caps and made it clear she did not care at all, saying, "I want you all to read this comment and take it as a message. I don't give a what you think about my personal life. I never have and never will give up what you think about me or my personal life. Goodbye and good riddance. Miserable, haha." She then began blocking and reporting the fans that would question her morals for dating a well-known actor. That all brings us to today, where it looks like it's all over. Of course, her relationship with her fans is more than fractured. It's actually really bad. And all that remains are the ones that are okay with her behavior, so she doesn't really have to worry about people getting mad. However, she did address the situation entirely in a recent interview, and in it, she outright lies. First by saying she never said she hates her fans.
I want to kind of set straight is that you'll never see a direct quote of me saying I hate my fans.
Okay.
Not once. But it's a really big misquoted thing where everybody is saying she hates her fans. Never said that.
She claimed it was a meme.
I do like to play with that as a meme. It's definitely something. And I know that like people who get it, and I'm fine with that. I don't need to like have to explain my sense of humor or explain comedy to anyone. If people don't see the joke, then they just don't see the joke. And it's not my responsibility to have them understand.
Of course, this is a lie. If you've watched this video, she's kind of went through it multiple times. But I feel like everyone has to feel at least a little bad for Doja Cat. Life as one of the biggest names in the entertainment industry can get pretty rough and toxic. And she's spoken about her problems with fame countless times. And this video really sums it up. A fan explained she used to like Doja Cat's music, but she treats her fans horribly. So she stopped liking her.
I used to like your music, but you treat your fans like shit.
Doja then explained it wasn't her responsibility.
You act like I have some responsibility to be like babying people and treating people like stupid, but they're not stupid. That's why I yell at them.
And that the fans are hypocrites.
Somebody coming in here being like, "You're bald. That's my fan? You're so misguided." You act like I'm saying my fans are, it's like you're hearing me say that out of my mouth when I never did. There's a lot of people I don't like who I listen to their music. If I knew them, I probably wouldn't like them.
And explained why she hated them.
I'm not your friend. I make music and you like it. And if you don't, cool, great. I don't give a. I'm not doing it so that you like me. I'm doing it because it's fun.
Pretty fair, to be honest. So that's all really for Doja Cat, who obviously has tons of instances where she's not only beefed with her fans, but just said that she hates them. However, she is unapologetically herself and doesn't care enough to please everybody just to be perceived in a better light by the public eye, which is commendable. And neither does this next artist. The next artist on the list who allegedly hates their fans is none other than Frank Ocean. An amazing case of an artist starving their fans. But once again, how did he get fans as well? Because he has a pretty diehard fan base too. Frank Ocean originally blew up with his group Odd Future alongside acts like Tyler the Creator, and then became one of the largest R&B acts as a solo artist. However, since dropping his album Blonde in 2016 and a couple of singles afterward, Frank has been MIA for 7 years, and it doesn't look like there's anything coming anytime soon. With not only a lack of music, but also a lack of appearances, making fans question, does this guy even like us? Or at the very least care about us? And many even think he hates them. And after you've seen what he's done, it's not hard to see why they think so. For years after his hiatus, nothing really happened. He just wasn't around, completely out of the public eye, and went MIA on all socials, meaning fans didn't really know what he was up to, but they did kind of respect it. But in late 2019, at Tyler the Creator's yearly Camp Vlog Nah, there was a surprise performance that was pretty much confirmed to be Frank Ocean. So his fans were really excited because appearances by him are very rare. However, when the show commenced and it was his turn to come on, he was a no-show, and Drake, the largest rapper in the world, took his spot. His fans super pissed off, booed off Drake, which is crazy. It just shows that his fans are so passionate that even when the biggest rapper in the world came to the stage, they didn't care. This is wild, but it would only be the first of many instances where Frank would enrage his fanbase. But this wasn't really Frank's fault. He never outright said he was going to be there, and it was on them for having the expectation that he would show up. And honestly, kind of rude to boo Drake off of the stage. So I feel like everyone can give Frank a pass for this. It's more just his fans being very passionate. But the next thing, not really. The next time Frank upset his fans had to do with one of his merch drops in 2019. Frank released a merch drop with vinyls, exclusive songs, clothing, accessories, and because there was exclusive music promised, everything sold out really quickly. Almost immediately, actually. Fans were really excited for the exclusive music since they hadn't gotten any real music from him in years at this point. On the website, it said that everything was going to be shipped within 8 to 12 weeks, which was already long, but for Frank Ocean, it was okay. Except fans had to wait a lot longer than 3 months. 3 months would pass, and not only was the merch not shipped, there weren't any updates on it either. So fans were really mad. Understandably. And Frank didn't make any statement on it. He just stayed mysterious. Then one day, a fan on Reddit even explained that Frank's merch drop went against the FTC's regulations, and the site actually broke 3 laws regarding distribution and communication with customers, which was very bad business. And this just made fans even more mad. So an entire year after the original release date of the merch, Frank's team released an official statement. Due to the events of this year, Frank will no longer be releasing the song that you purchased on vinyl. We will be refunding your purchase of this item, and any additional items in your order will be shipping next week. This meant that almost no one would get what they wanted, the vinyls, and some fans would get other items like accessories. This was a horrible look for him, and to fans it was a WTF moment. Why would an artist announce a merch drop only to never actually fulfill it? And to them, they were kind of shocked because in the past, there wasn't really any type of behavior like this. They were surprised because this horrible behavior just began racking up randomly. Back in 2016, on Frank's song Future of Free, he showed gratitude towards his fanbase, mentioning how he's been making a lot of money, but is so grateful that he should be paying them instead, saying, "They paying me, mama, I should be paying them, I should be paying y'all, honest to God." But actions speak a lot louder than words, and Frank's actions showed that he didn't give a f about his fans, to where he thought he didn't like them. And overall, it just left a bad taste in fans' mouths. But that taste would turn horrible when Frank announced the release of his luxury line Homer in 2021. Homer was supposed to be a luxury jewelry brand with very expensive items ranging from a few $100s to thousands of dollars, completely out of the price range for his average fan. To them, this was just him using the clout he got from them to launch a brand that none of the people who put money in his pockets and supported him could afford, which once again made fans very upset and think, does this guy even care about us? Mind you, he hadn't dropped music in years. Instead, he was dropping perfumes for hundreds of dollars and other luxury goods. And of course, what would you know? This time, everything shipped perfectly. But all of a sudden, in 2022, it looked like Frank was going to make the whole situation right and finally appease his fans. He decided to drop another merch capsule in 2022, and fans fell for it once again. The merch drop had a poster, some t-shirts, and vinyls, which were all really overpriced, but it didn't matter. The drop sold out instantly, and fans were excited they were finally going to be able to get their hands on some merchandise and vinyls. But it didn't turn out how they expected. The wait time for the items turned out to be very long. Countless fans' orders came damaged, and the majority of Frank's fans got emails from Frank's team saying, "We regret to inform you that your order with Blonded has insufficient inventory to fulfill your order. We've gone ahead and issued a refund for the item. You should receive the refund to your original form of payment within 5 to 7 business days." So they had sold way more merch than they had, and most of Frank's fans didn't get any merch. This just made them even more mad, especially because Frank still didn't address the situation to his fans directly, no reassurance or anything. And to them, it was clear he didn't care about them one bit. These were all just cash grabs, and some of them had failed, which seemed to have become a running theme in Frank's career. But then, in 2022, Frank Ocean announced he was going to be playing a show, and fans gave him one last chance, and to them, this was their last hope. However, this situation somehow became worse than all the previous controversies combined, and that was his horrendous Coachella performance in 2023. Frank was originally set to perform at the 2020 Coachella, but of course, that wasn't going to happen. Then in 2022, it was announced that he'd be holding off his performance until 2023 and was supposed to headline both weekends of the festival. The fans were like, wow, we're about to eat. 2 weekends and we haven't seen this guy in 6 years. So the whole time, fans were really hyped to see him, as it was his first show since 2017, but this excitement wouldn't last. And very quickly, things started going horribly. All due to Frank, by the way, not anything external. First, Frank did something really unnecessary. Coachella had announced that the show would be live streamed for everyone to watch on YouTube for free, but just before the show started, they canceled the live stream. And it was later revealed that the cancellation of the live stream was actually a personal demand, not request, from Frank, which makes you think. But anyways, afterward, Frank arrived to the stage an hour late. Then the show was pretty lackluster. The entire performance was supposed to have a lot of stage direction and props, with a lot of money involved, and even ice skaters, but it was canned by Frank at the last minute. So instead, the show is him slowly dancing and mostly lip syncing to his songs, even interrupting the show for a DJ to play house and EDM remixes on his songs for a good amount too. He then came back, performed a few more songs, but then abruptly ended the show an hour early after being an hour late. So by this point, fans were beyond upset. They had been waiting and standing in the heat for hours, waiting for their favorite artist to perform, just to be let down. And this time, he kind of got what he deserved. The disaster of a concert went super viral and everyone started to chime in, and it got so much backlash and hate that Frank canceled his second concert for Coachella the next weekend and left fans even more confused. Because wouldn't most people want to make things right? Like at this point, a lot of them really thought he hated them and it was just too much. And to me, it was kind of like the final nail in the coffin. But he told fans that he injured his ankle, even though it was clear he was lying, and the medical reason allowed him to pocket a big check. Afterwards, the public found out that Frank made $4 million from his abysmal performance at Coachella, and I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to book him again for even more money because of how passionate his fan base is. So to fans, it was clear that he didn't perform for them because he liked them or he wanted to, entertain his fans. He did it because it was an easy cash grab, just like everything else he had done since the last time he dropped music. Okay, so does Frank Ocean actually hate his fans? I actually don't think so. I just think he is so nonchalant and just feels like they aren't entitled to anything, which he is kind of right. And he believes that all to the point where he'll act however he wants, and he's clearly motivated by other factors himself. And another artist who's also very motivated only by himself is Playboi Carti, the final artist on this list who allegedly hates their fans, none other than the King Vamp himself, Playboi Carti. We all know that Playboi Carti has one of the craziest and most passionate fan bases of all time, especially with his recent Opium movement. He's bigger than ever, and it seems like he will grow for years to come. Carti fans, however, don't seem to get the same effort put back into them or get shown any love. Their relationship with Carti is pretty messy and seems to be a love-hate relationship. His fans are constantly discussing his release dates and waiting for any potential music to drop, but for Carti, that's a very rare occasion, so they're quite literally constantly waiting. On top of that, he's a notorious liar when it comes to dropping music, which constantly gets on fans' nerves, and to a lot of fans, he's just a horrible person. But enough with the yapping, here's why fans think he hates them and how they eventually began hating him. The first reason fans think he hates them is because he uses lying to them as a marketing strategy. Let me explain. He does this to keep his audience tied to his mysterious persona, making him extremely unpredictable when it comes to releasing his music, and he has a ridiculous history of doing this to the point where fans couldn't believe a thing he says. Here are a couple examples. Back in 2019, Playboi Carti said he was going to drop his album in the next 60 days. It didn't drop for 100 days. Then, once again, months later, Carti took to Instagram and made the post 48 hours locked in. So fans thought, yo, he's dropping music, and went ballistic. It had been 2 years since an album dropped, and 48 hours from when the post was made would have been a Friday, which is when new music drops. So fans thought Whole Lotta Red, his highly anticipated album, was about to drop. Once again, it would be 2 years till Carti would drop. This would have been cool maybe if it was a 1 or 2 time thing, but Carti did this exact thing multiple times, claiming he would drop music or strongly alluding to it because he knew fans would get excited. Then nothing would drop. The worst part was fans knew he was mysterious and would stay that way, so they couldn't expect an explanation. So fans undeniably hate him for this, and they think he hates them too. However, unfortunately for fans, this is all part of Carti's marketing strategy, as I said earlier, and it works. So it's not going to stop anytime soon. But on the bright side, they at least get some music, right? Nope. Other than Carti's own releases, he doesn't let any of his music with other artists see the light of day, and he's done this countless times. He does this by not clearing features for other artists' albums, meaning the other artist and his fans want a feature of his to drop on an album, but Carti will step in and say, nah. The first notable time he did this was when he took a feature off of Young Lean's album after he flew Lean out to work with him, which is kind of weird, but Young Lean is underground, so it's understandable, right? What isn't understandable is how he took himself off of multiple mainstream artists' albums. In just 2023 alone, he's taking himself off multiple A-list artist albums. For example, in 2023, he declined to be on Lil Uzi's Pink Tape. Later that year, he took his feature off of Trippie Redd's Mansion Music. And once again, in the same year, Kid Cudi tweeted that Carti didn't clear his feature on his album either. A couple months later, Offset previewed his song with Playboi Carti for his album Set It Off. And fans were hyped because they thought if the artist is previewing a song for his next album, it's gonna be on the album, right? And it looked like Carti was on board too. But when the album dropped, the song wasn't there. And Offset later explained that Carti refused to clear the song and didn't know why. You could tell he was disappointed too.
Why didn't Playboi Carti clear the song for the album? That's a rumor online. Is that true?
Yeah, it's true. Shout out to my boy, man. See, because I don't get into my music. And sometimes people be going through their own, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to bro, though, man. He should have cleared that smash, though. I ain't gonna cap. But be like that. I don't get mad at folks for like that, because sometimes people be going through their own.
Mm-hmm.
Or they might not. Won't, I don't know.
It's not completely clear why he did it, but fans were very disappointed to say the least, calling Carti some not so nice names. But you see, Carti doesn't just lie about when his music is gonna drop or what is gonna drop, he also lies about his tour dates as well. In 2022, after years, Carti had announced that he would be touring the world in a tour called the Antagonist Tour with his label. So of course, fans were hyped because they would be able to see their favorite artist from wherever they lived in the world. But after multiple billboards, announcements, and even ticket sales commencing, Carti's Antagonist Tour, originally slated to begin in September of 2023, was rescheduled to the following year. Worst of all, this happened right before it was set to kick off. And if you're confused, he canceled it. He canceled the tour. This had fans shocked and bewildered, as some people had taken time off of their jobs to attend these shows and booked Airbnbs and hotels, as it had been advertised for a while. It was actually a lot more than a storm of Reddit posts and tweets. Fans were genuinely outraged, thinking, why would he do this to them? They'd struggle to get refunds. Ironically, the canceling of Carti's tour was because of low ticket sales, which happened only because he lied and treated his fans so badly and didn't drop enough music to satisfy fans. So if he had treated his fans a bit better, he wouldn't have been in this mess to begin with. And it turns out Carti has quite the history of peculiar behavior towards fans at shows. The next reason people think Carti hates his fans is also related to this tour. The same tour had ridiculously high prices for general admission tickets. Carti thought he would be able to get away with this because of his cult fan base, but even they were confused why he was making them pay so much, saying things like, I saw Travis and Uzi for about 100 each. Why is Carti charging 210 for general admission? Carti also has a history of just being disrespectful to the audience of his show. He's seen numerous times shading the crowd, venue, or performance in general, which definitely leaves a bad taste in fans' mouths. For example, once he told everybody to leave the concert abruptly.
Everybody is get the fuck out of here and go the fuck home. This shit is over with. I love you. This shit.
The final reason fans believe Carti hates them is due to him lying and ripping them off for merch, and this one was pretty messed up. In 2021, Carti announced what fans thought was new music and a tour, Narcissist. He had made a series of cryptic posts with the Narcissist caption 9/3/21, and announced the Narcissist tour, but when the day he posted about so much, September 13th, 2021 rolled around, there was no project, just clothes on a website. But hey, at least he was giving the fans something, right? No. The Narcissist merch drop was a horrible drop for fans, and once you see the items, you'll understand why. There was a $5,000 motorcycle helmet, and many fans just thought the designs were weak. One fan even tweeted, college tuition or Carti merch. To fans, it was a lazy cash grab, and to them, it showed that Carti did not care at all about them. But of course, many fans still bought the merch. However, after the immense backlash, Carti tweeted, the website is hacked, the ref folder was posted live, never approved any clothing, etc. Meaning, Carti didn't even mean to drop clothes. The whole thing was just a sham. And after his announcement, fans were even more upset because they had just spent money on something that doesn't even exist. Imagine that. And it was a lot of money. Like, imagine the people that bought one of those helmets. But at the end of the day, Carti does get away with a lot of stuff purely because his fans worship the ground he walks on. So overall, Carti may not hate his fans, but he definitely acts like he does. To me, it's more like his fans love him like crazy, and because of that, he knows he can get away with things that normally would be seen as hate. But recently, he hasn't been able to as much and has been getting called out for it. And fortunately for Carti fans, he's dropping music right now after 3 years. Alright, so overall, having such a passionate fan base can be a beautiful thing, but only if it's reciprocated by the artist, because if not, it can just become really ugly or weird. Like you see it with these other artists, it's not a requirement or anything for an artist to appease their fans and grant all of their wishes, but at the very least, it's just good practice to be kind, respectful, and show your fans that you value them, because they are the reason you're successful, right? But that's my 2 cents. Personally, I don't really care about how artists behave because I'm not invested, I just like to enjoy their music. Dynamic duos in rap are nothing new. Drake and Lil Wayne, Young Thug and Gunna, Sway Lee and Slim Jimmy, all these duos have reached massive success in rap and put out hits for many years. But what happens just as often are the duos that were once partners in crime that fall apart, going from dynamic duos to what ifs, leading to the question, why does this happen? My name is Rashad Bashir, and today we'll be talking about rappers who went from best friends to enemies. The first duo who went from best friends to enemies is none other than A$AP Rocky and SpaceGhostPurrp. Today, pretty much no mainstream rap fan knows who SpaceGhostPurrp is, but a decade ago, him and A$AP Rocky were a dynamic duo who inspired each other and changed rap, inspiring rappers like XXXTentacion and many more. For a while, it looked like they were going to do it side by side. However, before we talk about them falling out, how did they meet and even become that close in the first place? It's 2011 and SpaceGhostPurrp was the leader of Raider Clan and had just released one of the most influential rap projects of the decade, Blackland Radio 666. He was truly ahead of his time and was making waves out of Florida. He ended up influencing many artists, but there was one rapper in particular who really liked Purrp's music, A$AP Rocky. Rocky was a huge fan and had discovered Purrp through Tumblr. He would start dressing like Purrp and incorporating Purrp's style in his music, wearing all black clothes, gold grills, and using trippy samples in his music. So Rocky, a huge fan of Purrp, reached out and told Purrp to come out to New York, and Purrp thought, why not? And headed to New York. They hit it off, becoming great friends, and during their short time together, Purrp and Rocky had incredible joint performances, freestyles on YouTube, and just music together. Quickly, they became like family. Purrp would call Rocky his twin, and they would even call their hip-hop duo Twins, and were supposed to drop a collab project together.
It's my twin, Space Ghost Carti.
Situation, that's the name of our duo group, like Nas Barkley. We wanted aliases, so that's why we use different names. The name of us is Twin, and it stands for Too Wild, Ignorant.
Purrp was even
that mama every day. She took me in her crib when I was at her crib. Oh, wow. She was feeding me. She was making sure I was good.
And in an interview with Complex, Rocky said that they would share dinner plates. Rocky even told Purrp that he changed his life, and Purrp appreciated the love. And things were only going well for this duo. In October of 2011, Purrp and Rocky performed together at a club called Santos. Drake was in the crowd, and he was trying to sign Purrp and Raider Clan to OVO, as well as Rocky. At the end of the month, Rocky dropped Live Love ASAP, with SGP featured on 2 tracks. It became a huge mixtape for rap, and it launched Rocky into stardom, and landed him a massive $3 million record deal. Purrp, he would see more mainstream success as well, making 2 appearances on Juicy J's mixtape, and even produced for other mainstream rappers like Wiz Khalifa. So things were looking very promising for both Purrp and Rocky's careers. But it didn't take long for tensions to arise. It all started when Rocky's group, A$AP Mob, started to feel like SGP and Raider Clan were riding their popularity, and Purrp's group started to feel like A$AP Mob was biting their style. SGP was also feeling pressure to sign to Rocky's label, and eventually declined it, which made things even more tense. Then, out of the blue, Purrp and someone from Rocky's group began beefing, and Rocky even dissed Purrp's group, Raider Clan, in one of his songs, Yao Ming, claiming that Purrp had gotten his style from him when it was the other way around, saying, "Them Raiders be like haters, think where you got your style from. You guys as old as my little man." And in April of 2012, Rocky's group, A$AP Mob, played an unreleased SpaceGhostPurrp song at Coachella. Purrp was furious. But soon after, they took to Twitter, and all of a sudden the beef was squashed. So things were good, right? Unfortunately, they would only remain on good terms for a short while, and a very small event would rekindle the beef. Months earlier, at one of Rocky's and Purp's shows, a heckler was in the crowd, and SGP, along with a few members of Rocky's group, decided to give the fan the beats. This event didn't really mean anything at the time, but months later, that fan that Purp gave the beats to decided to press charges, and Purp was in Miami, visiting his family. Members of ASAP Mob accused Purp of running from the police, despite him being unbeknownst to the charges, and when he found out, he told them he turned himself in.
He was trying to sue us. It was like, you gotta turn yourself in to the police. I turned myself in, like, for one day, they ain't.
Yeah. But Rocky told him otherwise.
So I told Rocky, I said, I'm gonna turn myself in. He's like, nah, twin, don't do that. Don't do that.
Members of ASAP Mob still decided to call him out.
Talking about he had from the police and shit. Police? I'm out here with my family, bro. What you mean? Like, I called his phone. I said, fool, how the f am I on the police? When I told you I was gonna turn myself in. I went back up there to finish that. Right. I turned myself in. Like, that shit ain't nothing.
Members of ASAP Mob still decided to call him out. To him, it was clear.
Some was in his ear. I wasn't there. Some was in his ear saying, I'm hiding from the police.
So the beef wasn't that serious until now. Most of it was just through the internet, and there wasn't any serious bad blood. Just tensions between SGP and his group and Rocky and his group. But unfortunately, things got real when a member of ASAP Mob jumped someone from Purp's group at a party in New York. And Purp claimed this meant war. He felt betrayed after everything he did for them, claiming he only wanted the best for everyone in both groups. He tried to resolve the beef over the phone with Rocky, but Rocky told him to off, and afterwards, Purp posted a video claiming he had severed ties with Rocky and the mob. Rocky responded to SGP in a red carpet interview at BET, where he said,
SpaceGhostPurrp, man, what's going on with that, B?
F him, straight up, you know what I'm saying? He's trying to lie to people, pumping that we took styles from him, and I mean, if you really look at it, the proof is in the pudding. He's corny, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, stick to making beats, that's all I gotta say.
And for some reason, even Soulja Boy was dissing SGP. But the beef with ASAP Mob was far from over. A few months later, ASAP Rocky performed at Miami with Schoolboy Q, Purp's hometown. Purp and his group were banned from the show, but they showed up outside anyways. Schoolboy Q saw them outside and called the police, while Rocky stayed inside his tour bus. But one of the members of ASAP Mob had a bit more courage. He was practically unknown at the time and bravely jumped the fence to face Raider Clan. He was immediately given a brutal case of the beats, and you could even hear shots. The police eventually showed up and handcuffed Purp, but he was allowed to walk free, and the member that was jumped went on to be ASAP Bari. From there on out, ASAP Rocky and the mob became stars in rap, and the beef with Purp became pretty one-sided, with ASAP Rocky going without mentioning his name for years. And when he finally did, it was out of pity. After that, everything went downhill for SGP. He stepped into the shadows and has remained in the underground for the last decade. His popularity has taken a nosedive, and multiple rappers from his group, like Denzel Curry and Xavier Wolf, were starting to get much bigger than him and eventually had much more successful careers than he ever did. So was Rocky in the wrong? Well, years later, Rocky claimed that
I can never talk about this because I'm blowing up, and if I talk about it, I'm put more light on this.
And that all people had to do was look at Purp's own crew.
None of his with him in the crew because they realized that he was manipulating them and, you know what I'm saying, doing all this shit, like.
And said later,
you lived with us for 6 months, bro, like, don't make it seem like, you know what I'm saying?
So is Purp or Rocky in the wrong? Honestly, they're both at fault, but Rocky is a bit more in the wrong. Purp is known for his self-destructive behaviors, but Rocky really didn't need to do him like the way he did. But overall, to me, SGP and ASAP Rocky's career as a duo is one of the biggest what-ifs in rap in the past 10 years, and their breakup is pretty sad, and to this day, they're still enemies, or at least Purp sees it that way. The next rapper duo to go from friends to enemies are Osama and D Dot. Hailing from the Sugar Hill neighborhood in New York, both D Dot and Osama grew around music, and they even appeared in some pretty famous drill rappers' music videos, and had family that had made it in rap. So eventually, after seeing those around them make it pretty big in the drill scene, they both decided to try their hand at rapping. But they weren't alone. They actually had their late best friend, the late Naughty Osama. Naughty was Didi's brother, and who they released their first big songs with. Together, their first hit was 2 Act. Today, it sits at 13 million views, and it skyrocketed them to fame in the drill scene as only teenagers, and set the stage for all 3 of them to enjoy some pretty big careers. A couple months later, Didi and Naughty dropped Ops, an even bigger hit, sitting at a whopping 20 million views today. D Dot wasn't alone either. The year prior, D Dot and Naughty dropped a single called Evil Twins, which also did really well. However, tragically, the plans for a music video for Evil Twins were interrupted by Naughty Osama's untimely passing. On July 11th of 2022, Naughty Osama was cornered in a subway station and forced to meet his fate. It became breaking news, and overnight, Diddy, Osama, and D Dot were everywhere. It ended up serving as a canon event in their lives and brought them closer, especially Diddy, who had lost his blood brother. And to show you how close they had gotten, Diddy described him and D Dot's relationship as literal brothers and his heart. But out of all the pain, there were a lot of eyeballs on Diddy and D Dot. Their old songs with Naughty began blowing up, and every song they dropped began to get hundreds of thousands and even millions of views. And in October of 2022, they linked up with Drake. So it looked like they were going up together. But of course, nothing good lasts forever. You see, after Naughty passed, it was a really unfortunate situation, and it affected both Diddy and D Dot. But Diddy Osama was the one that got most of the clout, and his career took off. Before that, the sad reality was D Dot and Diddy Osama weren't really being talked about, but afterwards, Naughty's situation became huge news, and they were buzzing names. Diddy became a star overnight, getting tons of followers, but more importantly, attention on himself and his music. D Dot got some, but he was left in the shadows compared to Osama. They always got into little arguments, like any friends do, but after Diddy blew up, tensions arose quickly. Osama was becoming really popular, and in public, even though they seemed to be cool, it looked like Diddy had blown up and left D Dot in the hood. And it looked like D Dot had seemed to have lost respect for Diddy. But their beef really began and got heated over a video game, GTA. And I'm not joking. Diddy Osama used to help D Dot when they play GTA, and they'd have fun like normal teenagers. But after tensions began rising between the two, they randomly got into it in GTA while they were both live streaming.
Look for D Dot, chat. Oh yeah, he here. My son definitely here.
Diddy tried to link up with D Dot, but D Dot pretended to not know him and began taking shots at Diddy.
What's the word? What's the word? Oh, why are you talking like that? Nah, but who that? Why are you talking like that?
You on the wrong block.
You sure?
You sure I'm on the wrong block?
I'm definitely sure. Why are you talking like that?
They then began going back and forth, and D Dot took out Diddy in the game.
Take his knock.
So Diddy explained to his fans, who were accusing him of switching up and leaving D Dot in the hood, that he wasn't the one who was tweaking like everyone thought.
Yeah, it's not me. I don't know. I be chilling, y'all talking about I'm changing, y'all talking about me this, me that.
But Diddy was manipulating his fans. The reason D Dot did that was because a while ago, Diddy Osama's friends Hoodstar Dottie and Diddy were bullying D Dot and throwing him under the bus while playing GTA. Diddy's friend will also disrespect D Dot's father, calling him a rat, spending more than 20 years in jail, and D Dot got really mad. And when Diddy didn't take his side, that's where the beef really started. They also destroyed him in GTA. And remember, everyone was on Diddy's side because he was the popular one who had blown up. Anyways, later, Diddy explained he was gonna get back once again and up the score.
I thought it was gonna be like, no. I bet.
So they began repping rival gangs that were real, but in GTA. Diddy and his friend then found D Dot and finished him.
Right.
D Dot got super mad and then explained he wasn't repping Naughty Gang, his fallen friend, any longer in GTA, and Diddy and the others took it all as disrespect.
It's not Naughty Gang no more. I took Naughty Gang out to stop trolling. If you want to be Naughty Gang, go over there, bro. Word of my dick, I'm gonna start right now, bro. Yo, Word too naughty, so, bro.
His friends tried to speak some sense into him, but D Dot didn't care. He was too mad.
Stop. Alright, bro. Stop saying word too naughty on a game, bro, over a game. Stop saying word too naughty over a game, bro. Gangster, bro.
And by that point, their beef had really solidified, and they started to hate each other. Ben started making edits of them too, like there were romantic partners breaking up, all of that. So after this, they both began sneak dissing each other. For example, in Diddy Osama's song Hard Life, Diddy made a couple of sneak disses saying, "But they don't love me, I know that they hate me, all this fake love, man, it's driving me crazy." Trying to compare me to a guy that hated on me because it was really Lil Naughty and me in these streets. And in the music video, D Dot also said F Diddy, taking shots at Diddy as well. But they didn't just stick to sneak disses. Pretty soon, they took to social media. It all began when it was announced that D Dot was gonna play a set at Rolling Loud in Chicago. But D Dot wasn't booked by them. D Dot got jealous that D Dot got booked for Rolling Loud and he wasn't invited. So when Rolling Loud posted pictures saying D Dot Osama was supposed to perform, in the comments, D Dot posted a laughing emoji, which was valid because what would D Dot do when D Dot's verses in their songs came up? And at this point, they just decided they were going to take to Instagram and let the public see their arguments. D Dot Osama's sister went on Instagram and said D Dot was jealous and mad and that D Dot should wait his turn. And she explained that D Dot was disrespecting Naughty.
Your man's not supposed to be your man's brother and you're being funny. Because you're talking about funny little boy.
Somebody got nails.
D Dot then posted a picture saying, "This is between me and my brother. He knows what's up." But D Dot responded by posting a video of someone saying, "You're not my bro." Yeah, awkward. So basically, they started beefing. D Dot dissed him, and then D Dot tried to resolve it, and D Dot was like, "Nah, you made your bed." And at that point, their families began getting involved. D Dot's mom went on Instagram Live. I don't know how she pulled 1,000 viewers, but she went off on D Dot's sister, telling her to stay out of it. But all of a sudden, D Dot said there wasn't really beef, and they were grown men now.
We didn't really have beef. We was just like what's up? We just ain't, feel me? We just, some saying, well, we had beef, so me and my son out here like
Fake beef. So on March 25th, D Dot finally apologized after everything, and they became cool again. Taking to Instagram, he wrote a candid message, at least for a drill rapper. "I'm sorry, my heart. I've been letting the fame get to my head. Man, I just love your soul. I've never hurt you, that's on my soul. We in this stuff together. I love you, gangster. Yeah, sometimes we fall out, but everybody does that. Man, just know that I love you, brother." So they made up and dropped music together. Alright, but in all seriousness, these two genuinely went through a lot of hardship very early in their life, so they definitely deserve every bit of success they've gotten. Whatever your opinion on their music is, I'm glad they're cool now. They have their whole lives ahead of them, and it looks like they're gonna be here for a while. The final rappers who went from best friends to enemies are none other than XXXTentacion and Ski Mask. While they were around, they became one of the largest and most iconic duos in rap in the past 10 years. XXXTentacion even became one of the most influential artists of the decade himself. But what a lot of fans forget is during the end, they had gotten into a massive falling out and went from best friends to enemies. So let's get into it. But before we talk about how they became enemies, how close were the two and how did they even meet? Ski Mask and X originally met in 2013 when they both found themselves in a juvenile detention center in Florida. When they first met each other, they were both delinquents, literally, and were doing whatever, but they realized they couldn't do what they were doing forever, and the rest was history. As best friends, they began making waves in underground rap and then the mainstream, putting Florida on the map, dropping countless SoundCloud classics that would eventually become huge songs when the two went mainstream. But of course, as they grew, X became the bigger out of the two, and not by a little, much bigger. Dropping music that would go gold and platinum and began to reach wild levels of success. And although that probably created some tension between the two, it wasn't where the rift in their relationship began. It was the accusations of abuse against X that made things awkward between them. Following a series of controversies, including the news of X being dropped from Capitol Records, removed off of all official Spotify playlists, and placed on house arrest, Ski Mask distanced himself from X, and it became clear that the two were no longer on good terms. So it was X's behavior which Ski Mask didn't approve of, and like many others around X at the time, distanced himself from him. At the time, X said he's not making music because he was going through a dark time, but after his falling out with Ski, he took to Instagram to say,
"Announcement. If you want me to make music, tell Ski Mask to be my friend again. Tell Ski Mask to be my friend again and I will make music. Tell him to be my friend again."
So X was definitely in the wrong for using his fans to pressure Ski like this. At this point, X was huge and his fans would do whatever he told them. Furthermore, X went on Instagram Live and explained that the people in the industry referring to Ski were taking advantage of him.
An artist and you're trying to work with anyone in the industry, understand that you cannot trust anyone. People that you trust, people that are your friends, people that are close to you, the people you do business with will always try and f you over. Trust no one. Do not trust anyone. Today was a real f***ed up day for me because people I trusted with my home, people I trusted with my life had shown me today that they can't be trusted.
The thing was, Ski wasn't just some fake rapper X had collabed with in the industry, they were like brothers. So rightfully, Ski was not happy at all. So he sent his own message back, pretty maturely, explaining why he had to do what he did.
I'll always love that alien looking name XXX. But I have to distance myself because it's like nobody would see me as an individual rapper if I don't. On top of that, that's crazy as hell.
So other than X's behavior, Ski had other reasons for separating himself from X, because he thought no one would ever see him as his own individual rapper, knowing he could never really flourish as a sidekick because X was just that mainstream. And he was right, because today, that's what a lot of people see him as. Ski had also left X's group members only multiple times and for good in 2017 for the same reason, because he didn't want to be seen as someone who was only successful because of X, like fans thought of everyone else in the group. But after a while, fans accused Ski Mask of overreacting, so he shed some more details on the situation, saying, "This is a person who has before threatened my family, told me I was supposed to be on some crazy shit. So no, I didn't just separate myself for no reason." So X had designated him for which, if we're being honest, is nothing out of the ordinary from Florida. X went back to Instagram, this time live streaming, to speak on the situation with Ski even more, explaining,
"I want to be myself, and if that means I have to be ugly to look like myself, then I'll be ugly. And honestly, I'd rather be ugly and attract the real people and attract the real people around me than be what everyone wants me to look like and be around a bunch of fake guys that only want to be around me for some clout."
That he was trying to keep away fake people taking a shot at Ski.
Tired of being used. I get used all the time. If you haven't even noticed, I don't even want to be on the internet as much because of how negative and draining it is.
And finally, reflected on his falling out with Ski.
Friends to help ground you and keep your mind straight. Yes, I mean, for a while, it was only me and my best friend, and was Ski, and I don't have that, and I don't really have anybody around me I consider to ground me, to be honest. Slump said he would be your friend. I doubt it. I doubt he said that. You can get over this little bump in the road. I hope so. I hope that it's not permanent. But the way he's been feeling has not been feeling good.
He also specifically addressed the situation with Ski and called him ungrateful.
It was just, I guess, a lack of appreciation on his end, not because of me, I guess just.
And said it was business dealings that got in the way of their friendship.
From a business perspective, but he put a business perspective before a personal relationship, and I've been with him as a friend and as a brother for a very long time, so. I mean, it's just on some like other, to be honest. It's not even on some like.
X believed he was fully innocent and that he was taking advantage of Ski, completely dodging what Ski had brought up. A bit earlier, Ski had taken to Instagram to address the beef, and he said he was only successful because of himself.
Hey, listen, ain't nobody write my lyrics for me, bro. Nobody write my lyrics. Nobody forces anybody to like the lyrics that I write. So nobody made me. I made my self. You did that?
And may have even been referring to X's accusation that Ski tried to bring business into their relationship by saying,
"He's in that world. Y'all say what's up to my entertainment lawyer. He one of the best out here."
But after all of that was said and done, X took to Instagram to say, and fans thought finally the beef might be over. But just when fans thought it was over, the script was flipped, and X turned on Ski. Regardless of X's behavior to others, he was always there for Ski, standing up for him whenever, even when Ski was in the wrong, and there are countless examples of this. So when Ski distanced himself from X, he felt betrayed. In December of that year, Ski Mask reached out to X and told him he wanted to make music again, and to many fans' dismay, X wasn't having it. He took to Instagram publicly and went on a tirade. My response to the request for the song by Ski is no. I'm going to destroy all of these rappers. None of them are friends to me. They don't give a fuck about me, they just want my energy. Looks like they want my life anyway. So sad that I don't ever use my real power against them. I hold back so much, even with all the weight I have on my shoulders. These lames couldn't keep up if they tried. I will make you regret this decision. This is your final warning. This response was super over the top, and he was making the whole situation out like him and Ski were characters in an anime. So Ski Mask fired back and explained he was just talking about music, not being friends again.
Man, I wasn't saying anything about friendship, man. I was talking about making a song, bro.
So once again, this came as a shock to fans, who thought the beef would be over very soon. But it seemed like their friendship was heading south, and they had grown apart. But just when everyone thought things were bad, randomly on May 13th of 2018, XXXTentacion and Ski Mask reunited at a show in Rolling Loud. And to fans, it looked like things were good again.
Hey! Yo, with the do-rag on. Yo, bro. I love you, bro.
I love you too, fam.
I love you, bro. Play that.
But behind the scenes, things were very different. It turned out X didn't believe him and Ski's interaction was genuine, or at least Ski's part, because, and I'm not joking, during a live stream where X was playing League of Legends, he revealed that during his and Ski's interaction at Rolling Loud, Ski's part was fake and wasn't genuine.
That whole interaction was fake as yeah. Well, my part was real, but his was fake.
But things were still heading in a good direction because they were on amicable terms and they definitely would have become friends again. Except, as we all know, in June, just a month after their reunion, XXXTentacion would be gone forever. So their relationship was never truly patched. Afterwards, Ski was distraught, crying on Instagram Live, and he realized that he was in the wrong. So Ski admitted he wasn't thinking right, shouldn't have acted that way, and forgave X. But even though Ski said he wasn't in the wrong, if we're being honest, X had just as much blame as Ski did, but only Ski was alive. So he's the only one who had to live with it. So to set the record straight, I don't really think they were beefing or were on bad terms, to be honest, at the end. They were just in a rut in the relationship, but they definitely did hate each other or were enemies, quote unquote, for a while. Conspiracy theories are one of the most interesting rabbit holes on the internet, from mysterious devil worshipping to getting cloned. One thing that's certain is that rap fans spare no detail to imagination when it comes to these, and they love them. And it got so wild that Drake had to show up to XXXTentacion's trial because of a fan-made conspiracy that was found on the internet. And recently, they've just been getting crazier and crazier. My name is Rashad Fashir, and today, we're gonna dive into the craziest rap conspiracies, starting off with Juice WRLD and how his old label allegedly took him out. The first rapper who fans have made conspiracy theories about is none other than Juice WRLD, and most of the conspiracy theories are around Juice WRLD's sudden and unexpected passing in 2019. The most popular being that Juice WRLD's label purposely got him killed. When it originally happened, a lot of facts were hidden and it was clear the whole story wasn't told as there was an ongoing legal situation. So fans were already suspicious, and when Juice WRLD's girlfriend explained that the details were not being revealed, the theory that Juice WRLD's label conspired to get rid of him became pretty popular and supported by quite a bit of evidence.
I've been quiet for the past year and a half. Everything like that, which I cannot speak upon at this moment, but I will.
But why would Juice WRLD's label, who he had made millions of dollars for, want to get rid of him, right? Well, there are a couple of reasons. The first is that Juice WRLD was reportedly thinking of leaving his label. See, Juice WRLD's contract was notorious for how bad it was, and his label also served as his management, taking another whopping 50% of his earnings. But Juice's contract with his label and Lil Bibby, the man he signed to, was coming to an end. And afterward, Juice presumably would have signed a much more fair deal directly to a label, as Lil Bibby's label, Grade A, would no longer be able to afford re-signing an artist as big as Juice WRLD had gotten. Or Lil Bibby's cut would have been significantly reduced as Juice WRLD no longer needed him as much. So if Juice WRLD had left Grade A, which it looked like he was, or at least was going to, Lil Bibby would be making much less money. But if something were to happen to Juice WRLD, under contract, they could do whatever they want with the rest of his music, and his family would most likely re-sign with the label, which is what they did. But why would they do this, right? Did they really care about money that much? According to multiple sources, yes. Juice WRLD's best friend Max and his girlfriend said that Juice WRLD got into multiple arguments with his label manager and Lil Bibby because they would force him to record on beats he didn't like just to profit the label. Lil Bibby's new artist, the Kid Leroy, also left Lil Bibby because he was taking too much of a cut of his earnings as well. So fans began speculating that since nearly all of Lil Bibby's net worth came from Juice WRLD's music and the record label would try to cut him out, he had a problem, which he decided to solve. Furthermore, after Juice WRLD, a clause that every artist contract in the music industry has kicked in, which says until an artist recoups all the money owed to a label, all the earnings would go to the label before the family. In this case, the label was Lil Bibby. So according to fans, Juice WRLD's management and label, Grade A, set him up the night of his passing. And I'm not gonna lie, there's some pretty solid evidence. First, there's a deleted tweet by Juice WRLD's girlfriend saying the medical reports released by his label were incorrect, inferring that there was some sort of cover-up by Juice's label, saying it's a catch-22. It's not correct medically. Firsthand in my arms. The police report is trash. What she was saying was Juice WRLD's last moments on Earth were in her arms, and she knew what had happened. And the police report was incorrect. And what she admitted confirmed fans' suspicions that there was a hinted cover-up by Juice's label. But the real incriminating evidence came from a video that was leaked of her speaking on the situation. She explained that she'd been keeping what happened that night to Juice WRLD to herself because she was afraid.
I've been quiet for the past year and a half. into myself, took myself away from everyone because
and that people knew what was going to happen to Juice.
I knew what was going to happen. If people knew what happened the day before Jared passed and the day that Jared passed and everything like that, which
and that if she spoke about it publicly, keep in mind this was a private video she sent a fan page, she would be in danger.
I cannot speak upon at this moment, but I will. I just have to make sure that I am safe. So please, one, don't show anyone this, but two, know that you guys have my full support because.
But here's what really is interesting and incriminating. She said that while Juice WRLD was alive, she told him repeatedly that Juice WRLD was becoming a liability to his label once he had recorded thousands of songs and he wouldn't be needed any longer, encouraging him to leave.
Literally sit on his lap every day and be like, don't go record. They don't need us. They don't need you anymore. We made so many songs that we're a liability being here.
And the night Juice WRLD passed, he was also targeted and was supposed to go out with them.
They didn't think I was gonna make it through this year. There's been plenty of times literally they've tried and tried their hardest to make sure I wasn't gonna be here, and I pushed and kept going because of this reason only.
And she would have to make sure she's safe before she spoke on the full situation. She also said that the label was very greedy.
It's always been about money, and Jared made enough money to not have this issue.
So she made some serious accusations against Grade A, gave a justification, and she was the closest person to Juice while he was alive. Fans also found out that Juice WRLD might have suspected his label was after him. In his song Sometimes he says, "I know they want me so I'm taking meds until I fall on the floor. I don't know who to call anymore." And fans on the internet explained that Juice WRLD was alluding to the label wanting him gone. Another reason why fans were skeptical about Grade A is it was already proven that they had lied. The story just didn't add up. Juice WRLD supposedly took a bunch of substances to hide the incriminating evidence on the plane, but there were pounds underneath the plane, so they would be caught regardless. And there definitely would have been someone on the plane that would become the fall guy, as Juice WRLD had more than a couple of groupies. And according to the police report, which everyone swore by, aka the people on Juice's label, they said they saw Juice WRLD take nothing, which of course couldn't be true. But after that, Juice WRLD's girlfriend went ghost on the whole situation, so fans never got the full truth. So after all of this, Lil Baby got Juice WRLD's catalog, one of the largest rap catalogs of the 21st century, worth tens of millions, if not at least a couple $100 million. And to this day, the label is still making a ton of money, millions, and milking Juice WRLD's legacy for everything it's got. Another theory fans have is that Juice WRLD planned his departure, which sounds crazy, but it actually came from Juice WRLD. On April 24th of 2017, Juice WRLD tweeted, "My goal is to get overly famous for a couple of years, then fake my." In Juice WRLD's breakout song, All Girls Are the Same, he says, "I'm a jealous boy, I really feel like John Lennon." The night everything took place, he boarded the private flight around 11 p.m. on December 8th of 2019. John Lennon was on December 8th, 1980 at 11 p.m. Furthermore, on Juice WRLD's song Legends, he says, "We ain't making it past 21. But what really made fans think this was real was when Juice WRLD's close friend Clever supposedly confirmed he was still alive. Clever and Juice WRLD were good friends, and Juice even put Clever on his sophomore album. Fast forward to 2021, and Clever revealed the tracklist for the new album, Crazy, where fans noticed that if you read the first letter of every song name on the tracklist, it says Juice WRLD is still alive. So, do you think this is real? Personally, I just think Juice WRLD's ex-management / label is just really greedy and milking his legacy for every drop, but there's no way they got rid of him. That's just insane. The next rapper, or rappers I should say, that have conspiracy theories floating around their names are Drake and XXXTentacion. And this is probably one of the most popular theories that has been out there on the internet in rap. The theory is that Drake was the one that XXXTentacion, and it got so out of hand at one point that the defense lawyer for X's murderers even managed to get the judge to court order Drake to testify in court for X's case. But if you're unfamiliar with X, you might be wondering, why in the world would Drake X, and how did it get this out of hand? Well, while X was alive, him and Drake had a very public beef. Drake and X's beef began when Drake was previewing his song KMT. And a lot of people noticed Drake's flow sounded eerily similar to X's flow on Look at Me, a smash hit on SoundCloud at the time. And Drake actually spoke about the allegations on a radio show. But what a lot of fans don't know is before that, Drake had not only known about X, but actually had reached out to collaborate. which was revealed by X's former manager, the infamous Adam22, on a podcast.
A week before this happened, Adam told me, he's like, bro, guess who hit up DJ Carnage
Drake
about X? Drake was asked about it in that DJ somebody interview, some interview he just did, and he acted like he never heard the song before.
Wait, Drake did?
Yeah,
Drake
on
Beats
One,
yeah.
And believe it or not, Drake was even asked if he was going to handle X while X was alive, and apparently he said no.
I always say no, and this time he just gave me a shrug, like it's whatever, because he tweaked.
So why would he do it, right? Well, the most shocking piece of evidence comes from X himself, and this is where all the theories likely spawned from. You see, while they were beefing, X made an Instagram post saying, if anyone tries to kill me, it was at Champagne Poppy. That's Drake's Instagram @ I'm snitching right now. And of course, months later, X was killed. But it's a lot more than, oh, they were beefing while X was alive, and then Drake took him out. According to fans, there are tons of sneak disses in Drake's music after X's death, where Drake is directly referring to taking X out, taunting him, and even admitting to the crime. The first sneak diss was supposedly on Travis Scott and Drake's smash hit, where Drake said, my dog would probably do it for the Louis belt. That's just all he know. He don't know nothing else. I tried to show him. Yeah, I tried to show him. Fans explained Drake was saying his goons would and rob someone for a Louis bag. The same thing that happened to X. These lyrics were supposedly Drake describing the crime. But it didn't end there. Drake would address the beef more and more, allegedly, of course. In Drake's album with 21 Savage, he made the most clever diss on X ever. In his song On BS, he said, damn, maybe I should do a 20, maybe I should break that 20. Do a 10, maybe I should break that 10. Do a 5, then if it gets live, do a 5 again. But a fan noticed that if you break a 20, you get 2 10s. Add 2 5s, you get another 10. 10, 10, 10 is XXX in Roman numerals. The lyrics are followed by Drake saying if he held his tongue on that live, he'd be alive again.
OVO, everybody in OVO, sup? Drake, mom, I want some tapioca pudding.
And when you bring it all together, it's pretty crazy. It's basically Drake saying that if X hadn't dissed him on Instagram Live, he still might have been alive. Of course, did Drake actually add the subliminal messaging to his lyrics consciously? I don't know. But when it came to the actual rumors, Drake never really addressed it on records. He was asked about biting X's flow, and he acknowledged he knew who X was, but when it came to the theories, he never really spoke on it. However, very recently, Drake addressed it pretty directly, according to fans at least, on his song 8 AM in Charlotte, where he lays it out in the clear, referencing the theories. On the song, Drake says, conspiracy theories start floating around like the Kennedy guy, referencing how everybody has a theory on Kennedy's same way they have theories on him. But the real nail in the coffin for this theory was another song on the album called Daylight, where he rapped, I wasn't there when they caught the body. The police think I bought the body. Internet swear that I bought the body. Take more than that, I go pop somebody. So low-key, I'm happy they got somebody. To fans of X, this was Drake admitting he was responsible for X and glad they caught someone else. And in the beginning of 2023, Drake was ordered to appear in court by the judge in X's murder case. According to the defense lawyer, X's suspects were even allegedly in Drake's God Plan music video, and X's mom said that she was worried about X the day he passed because of his feud with Drake. Drake failed to show up for the first deposition, and afterwards the judge excused him. So is this theory real? Definitely not in my opinion, because Drake is so big and has so many fans that there are tons of conspiracies surrounding him at all times. For example, another popular one is that Drake has been using AI to make his music and hasn't been making music himself for years.
AI music generator. It's been out for a long time. You know how the Drake song is getting sued? There's a theory. He's been using it? He's been using it, bro. What? Been using it, bro. When the tech finally dropped, that's probably when he dropped it, just to test it out. A single out of nowhere like that? And a beat like that? Interesting, huh?
As a rapper that big, at that point, you're mentioning about retirement, you have all this money. What are you gonna do? Work smarter.
Exactly.
And there are plenty about X too. For example, some fans believe that X is still alive to this day. After X passed, a lot of fans thought he was still alive, for real. For example, on the popular show The Breakfast Club, a fan phoned in and claimed that X was still alive, and all the news was just about a scene he had shot for his music video, and that he had proof.
I was hearing you guys talking about the XXXTentacion situation. So I was on Facebook this morning, and basically the whole scenario with the whole fact that he's not even true. He shot that scene for a music video.
Oh, God.
That's what he was saying on Facebook Live.
So he's not.
He is not.
Oh, God.
And despite the host trying to explain the truth, the fan wouldn't budge.
Why you the only person that know this, sir?
Why are the police reporting that he is? They took him to the hospital.
He is not. He was on Facebook Live last night saying that he had shot that scene for a music video.
Oh, God. Tony.
But you see, this isn't just one fan. It was many others on the internet who also claimed that X was alive. And an outraged Charlemagne said,
The disregard for other people's lives via social media is not normal. And the fact that people don't even know what's real and fake anymore is troubling. My people, that's sad when people have zero clue what reality is anymore. We have reached a dangerous place in our society, and that's why people pull out you sparingly and correctly, but this has become our life so much that we aren't even able to recognize reality from fantasy and fact from fiction. People are allowed to go on their devices and be whoever they want and say whatever they want, and there are rarely any consequences to the recklessness that so many of us display via social media. We have normalized so many things that shouldn't be normal. Clue what reality is anymore. We have reached a dangerous place in our society, and that's why people pull out their phones to record these tragic situations.
So yeah, a lot of these theories are crazy and delusional. The final rapper on this list is Yeat, and he has a ton. But the most interesting conspiracy theory is the theory that Yeat is a devil worshipper, and he sold his soul to the devil for the riches and fame. Rappers being called devil worshippers is nothing new, the most famous recent example being Lil Uzi.
Have you heard about this conspiracy theory that's going on online right now? That basically people think that Lil Uzi Vert spells out to Lucifer?
Yeah, I be seeing that.
What do you think about that?
I don't know. I go to church every Sunday.
Yeat's devil references began when he dropped his album I'm So Me in 2019. And this time, the album cover depicted Yeat playing chess with the devil. The devil is coming out on top, and Yeat is struggling to fight his demons. And on the side, you see a large pile of money, implying if the devil wins, he has to sell his soul. But it's more than just imagery. A couple years later, fans found something much more interesting. In the same album, the 12th track is called Roxy, and the 13th track is Intro to 2022. And what would you know? In the beginning of 2022, Yeat sold out the Roxy Theater in LA, and it was even shut down because of how many people showed up, which fans claim was the doing of the devil. But where fans really got the idea that he was a devil worshipper was when he admitted to it, allegedly, on a smash hit, Money So Big. On Money So Big, he said, "About to tell you how I'm doing this. I got the devil on my phone. He told me keep doing this. Yeah, devil taught me how to get rich." A pretty clear implication. And as of right now, this also happens to be his most streamed song. And there's even more. Take a look at this picture. You probably noticed Yeat flexing a lot of cash, but pay attention to his arm. That's a sigil tattooed on his arm. Sigils are an inscribed or painted symbol considered to have magical power, and each sigil has a different desired outcome. The closest sigil to Yeat's is this one, the Naki sigil, meant to bring you wealth and earthly desires. You can also customize sigils, which is what Yeat had done, meaning he had added his own secret twist to it. And fans thought, if you use an occult magical symbol and have it tatted on you, you might believe in devil worship. But being a devil worshipper wasn't the only explanation fans came up with for Yeat's massive success and come up. Other fans believed he was a celebrity dealer, and that's how he got all his connections.
How the f has Yeat done what he's done?
I actually have a theory. He probably sold to some famous people or some shit, because how do you get a photo with Drake when no one knows who you are? But you never know. I feel like,
and that Yeat somehow used those connections from being a dealer to finesse a music career.
How he got famous thing with Yeat or something, I don't know. There was in an interview and he was like, yeah, I didn't know what kind of music I wanted to make. And then I went to Atlanta and these producers were like, make this. And I was like, dope. You know,
how it happened?
Christ. I mean, on some level, bro, it's
the lamest.
You know,
I know he just had a cover story with Complex.
I don't know Yeat. I'm just saying.
There's another theory where fans believe that Yeat carefully wove in a Juice WRLD tribute. At the end of Yeat's verse in his song Double, he raps, "Hold up, 777, park that back up like I'm double heaven. Hold up, triple deuces, 777, 777, and triple deuces, 222. If you add 777 and 222 together, that equals 999, which is Juice WRLD's number." And then he ends it with, "All juices and speak to heaven." But whether or not Yeat actually meant this is kind of up to a debate. The last interesting conspiracy theory about Yeat is that he's an alien. It started when a fan noticed that in one of his snippets, you could hear Yeat saying, "I'm from outer space," saying, "Does anybody hear it or is it just me?" And a lot of fans agreed with him. Yeat is a little weird, but after this, some of those fans began to think he was an alien. And there's more to this as well. In an interview, Yeat had previously said that he had met aliens, and prior to that, he had posted a story saying, "When I was young, I seen an alien and they told me what to do. That's all I remember for real." And later on, he confirmed this, saying, "That was real. It was real." I won't go into much detail because I'm not sure if they want me to talk about this right now. The aliens, I mean. I will say one thing though. Everything before that feels fake. Sometimes I think I'm not even from here because I have dreams about other planets. So fans were like, yeah, he's an alien. So are any of these actually real? Honestly, I don't believe a single one. To me, they're all pretty crazy and far-fetched, but I do see how people fall into these rabbit holes. When you take all the evidence and put it together, sometimes it can look pretty feasible. But when you zoom out and take a step back, you're like, yo, this is crazy. The issue is these people don't do that. One look at Playboi Carti and you wouldn't really think he's the type to be in any legal trouble, have jarring allegations, or anything problematic in general. He's often seen in makeup, he paints his nails, and walks runway shows. However, he's far from what most people think of him as. In fact, he's been in more legal trouble and street beef than your average street rapper. And some of the members of his label have even crazier allegations. I'm Rashad Fashir, and this is the shocking allegations of Playboi Carti's Opium. But before we talk about the label's allegations, who are they? Opium is a label founded by Playboi Carti sometime in 2020 to increase his influence and by introducing some young rappers who fit his sound to the industry, including artists such as Ken Carson, Destroy Lonely, and Homicide Gang. Since then, Ken Carson has gone on to have over 1 billion streams, and the other artists are well on their way themselves. However, they each have some pretty crazy allegations that are pretty worrying, so let's get into it. Starting with the rapper who founded Opium, Playboi Carti himself. Although Carti looks like a pretty chill guy, he actually seems to be a wolf in sheep's clothing, as he has a history with violence and some pretty crazy street connections. Starting off with his history and allegations of violence, especially in relationships, dating all the way back to his teenage years. Back then, he was dating the now famous model Ruby Rose, who he knew since high school. According to Ruby, Playboi Carti would routinely just unload the clip of his gun off of her balcony.
Okay. And he was living with me, so I don't like when people because people always assume that
yeah, he would go to your house.
He would come to my house, and I lived in the hood in Pittsburgh, and people would shoot all the time, and he would shoot off my balcony. But then one time,
and one day after they got into a fight and Ruby took his phone,
we got in a little argument because I hid his phones before his flight, and it just was we were outside. He it wasn't directly at me. It was just more
He said they were just young.
I mean,
Can we just touch on that one thing?
No, but me and him were crazy. So we were young, crazy. I lived in the hood. He would always shoot his gun off my balcony. And one time,
Wait.
And I guess this is an alright excuse if he had done something like this once. However, it just got worse, and pretty soon he'd get into a number of legal situations regarding this type of behavior. In July of 2017, Carti was arrested for domestic battery after he was seen in a shoving match with a woman and grabbing her by the backpack and forcing her into an Uber at the Los Angeles International Airport. He was almost immediately arrested and was released on a $20,000 bond the next day. The next month, the charges were dropped for unknown reasons. In 2018, he did it again. That February, in Scotland, he was charged with trashing a tour bus and giving the driver the beats. However, Carti's tour managers maintained that Carti was acting in self-defense, but a witness had a different story, saying, "I saw things being thrown around the tour bus, and then a man ran across and punched the driver in the face, cutting him and knocking his glasses off," he explained. It was the accused Carti who had been standing with the group, but as the two guys tried to restrain him, he wriggled past them, ran across, and punched the driver, who stumbled back. The driver did not do anything to him and did not retaliate. I guess they were correct, because in January, Carti was convicted and ordered to pay $1,030 for assault and another $386 for reportedly damaging one of the driver's windows. But these didn't really make crazy headlines, as Carti's mugshots were never released and his PR team did a very good job with keeping it hush and on the low. However, they wouldn't be able to save him from the embarrassment from his next run-in with the law. In the middle of 2020, a mugshot got released of Carti, and fans were like, "What?" as no one had heard from him online in a while. What ensued was a really random and had fans very confused. It turned out Playboi Carti was riding in his Lambo, rapper stuff, and was pulled over by the cops for having an expired tag. Once pulled over, the cops then decided to search the car and found a couple of things. They found 3 water guns, 12 bags of funny grass, some Tic Tacs of different kinds, and some orange juice that sick adults take. Basically, a whole lot of substances and weapons, all inside of Carti's car. He was then promptly arrested, booked in county jail, and released the next day after posting bond. Bro was locked up for 5 minutes. Of course, fans were confused how he was found with all that stuff and got released the next day. It turned out his friend Jalen Tucker, who was riding the car with them, stepped up and took the charge. And later, it was revealed that that wasn't some random friend. It was Opium Baby, aka the co-founder of Carti's label Opium. After this, fans were really concerned about what was found in the car, and not for his safety, but his health. A lot of fans thought Carti was one of those rappers who rapped about substance use and other things, but didn't actually do it. So they were surprised when they found out he was really about that life. He looked healthy. They should have known better though. To them, he didn't look like he was the type to be strung out. One fan wrote, "I'm a huge fan of Carti and have been for years. I don't know what happened. You can see it in his face. The dude's 23 and looks about 30 in his mugshot, where it looks like it's aged him by years. It's kind of worrying." So clearly, they were very concerned. But the worst was yet to come. In 2022, when Playboi Carti was arrested for something pretty horrific. However, fans didn't find out till months later, in February of 2023, when TMZ obtained a police report and a mugshot of the situation.
Playboi Carti alleged to have assaulted girlfriend over paternity test. Lawyer says he's been falsely accused.
Playboi Carti was arrested back in December. This was his mugshot. He was arrested for allegedly choking out a girl that was supposedly pregnant.
Here's what happened. The allegations are that Playboi Carti physically harmed and choked his pregnant girlfriend, same girl he was with when he was allegedly caught cheating on his ex-girlfriend, Iggy Azalea. And here are the actual charges: aggravated assault, hindering a person making an emergency phone call, and according to the police report, here's how it all went down. Carti's girl told the police she arrived at his property on December 20th, 2022 at 4 p.m. to speak with him about the baby she was 4 months pregnant with at the time. She then said she was dating Playboi Carti for 2 years and even lived at the property for less than a year, but was recently kicked out the home. Nice one, Carti. She then explained that while having a verbal argument with the suspect, aka Carti, he attacked her. She stated that the suspect grabbed her by the throat and pushed her into the bushes, and said there were 2 males that worked for the suspect that stood there and watched. Then one of his employees jumped into the fight to break them up because the suspect was holding her by the neck. The victim stated she couldn't breathe. Then, once free, she tried to get in the car and was attacked again by Playboi Carti, who attempted to pull her out of the car while covering her mouth. Yikes. Once she was able to exit the gates of Carti's property, she pressed the Mercedes-Benz SOS dispatch button in her vehicle and had them call police. However, before police arrived, Carti and the 2 men on the scene left in a black SUV. The police report then explained that they asked the victim, aka Carti's girl, multiple times for the suspect's information, but she was kept anonymous by her. She stated that she did not want to give the name of the suspect due to the fact that it might hit the media and damage his career, which is just sad, but I guess he had a real one, kind of, I don't know. And there's still more. While making the report, the police stated that there were visible bruises on the victim's neck and in the middle of her back. 9 days later, the police had identified Carti and arrested him. He was released the next day on a $100,000 bond. What made this even more believable is 11 days before this all happened, the woman Carti was dating took to her IG story to write, "Abusers be like, how dare you ruin my reputation by telling people the things I did and said." So this was 100% about Carti, basically saying that he was forcing her to not speak up about this abuse for the sake of his reputation, and I'm not gonna lie, his fans wouldn't really care. However, his attorney Brian Steele made the announcement afterwards he was innocent. Mr. Carter was falsely accused. This case will be dismissed without any prosecution or litigation, but it likely just meant that his girlfriend, who we've already been over, cares about Carti's public image, was persuaded into not taking legal action, which is smart as they were having a child together, who would be delivered 5 months later. And even though he wasn't convicted, a pattern was starting to emerge, and it wasn't looking good for him at all.
Woman who accused the guy of domestic abuse is gonna stay with the guy, and this is gonna turn into nothing. So I agree that it's gonna turn into nothing. It's not a good look for Playboi Carti though, because there has been other cases where he's been accused with Playboi Carti, Ruby Rose Airport.
After the news was reported, Carti's ex took to Twitter to confirm that Carti had involved himself in this type of behavior previously. She said, "Been there, done that, warned you." Imagine having a pregnant girlfriend and pretending they don't exist until it comes out you like to abuse them too. Basically saying that the same happened to her, which just made the allegations even stronger. However, 99% of fans didn't really care. They were just saying the mugshot was looking cool, making it their profile picture, and we're just grateful to be getting any type of news from him, which is kind of messed up, but it's normal for the Carti community, who looks at him like a god. And this isn't anything new. Carti has a history of being a horrible partner. For example, he skipped his son's planned birthday to play the PlayStation with Lil Uzi Vert.
See his son be born. He went to Philly to play the PlayStation with Lil Uzi. He thought that was more important than seeing his son be born. Imagine spending time playing PlayStation with your friend instead of seeing your first son be born.
The year prior, his then pregnant fiance had gifted him a Lambo.
Christmas! Loser. You dork.
Afterwards, after allegedly promising to make up the absence, he then canceled a family trip to celebrate the release of his album Whole Lotta Red instead.
This really what you're gonna do? You're gonna not be there for Christmas for your son. That's it. You're about to leave us stranded in LA with not and go off, have a little party, have your album party.
But hey, if he hadn't done that, we wouldn't have had the picture for this thumbnail for the YouTube video, right? And Carti is actually yet to sign the birth certificate of his first child. However, what was equally messed up to some fans is how Carti tried to cover it all up. And he did, successfully, for months, in a kind of genius way. Remember that this news came out months later? Right when it did happen, Carti had randomly started teasing new music only for nothing to ever drop or have any plans of dropping. He wrote, "I love all my supporters, it's time." Time for what, jail? So looking back, fans were like, oh, that's why he posted that stuff, to draw attention away from the charges that were about to surface. But of course, his team was able to keep it under wraps. But this time, not all fans ignored Carti's allegations. Many were shocked at Carti's behavior, but also kind of impressed at how he avoided everything so well. One fan asked, how the hell did Carti not get cancelled? Another fan wrote, bro really got arrested and right after getting released on bond was like, it's time bro. Time for what? Time for the next victim? But that's actually the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Carti's allegations. The next are his alleged gang ties. As I said earlier, most fans picture Carti as flamboyant and sassy, but it turns out Carti is more than the superstar rapper side he shows to the internet and the world. He's also allegedly in the streets.
I got 2 different lives, and when I'm not being king, vamp, and not this other shit, I'm in the streets for real.
At the time, no one really believed him until fans looked deeper and found out, wait, he may not be lying, and found out that Carti may be involved in a dangerous street beef between 2 Atlanta gangs, which he has even alluded to in his music. The gang war he's allegedly between is between 2 Atlanta gangs, the Backstreet Homicide and the Front Street Henchmen, and he didn't exactly ease the tension by signing a couple members of Homicide to his label either, but we'll go over that later. Homicide gang are Carti's boys. For example, before he signed them to his label, Carti has been seen commenting on their Instagram posts, saying 3 different members, and even repped them hard in Whole Lotta Red, with iconic lyrics such as Free Problem Child, etc., and naming one of the songs after a member, Bino. And he has countless pictures and photos with them as well. So they're really good friends. But you're probably wondering how and why Carti has beef with the henchmen, right? Carti's good friends with a member of Homicide, Lil One DTE. They have pictures together, Carti's in his comments, etc. And they even have a song together named, wait for it, Homicide. But Lil One DTE's dad is a man named Big Bank, who's big in Atlanta. And stay with me here because it'll all tie together. The ops of Playboi Carti are called Front Street Henchmen, and they're one of the most hated gangs in Atlanta, beefing with everyone in the city, such as Young Thug's YSL, and also pressed Trippie Redd when he was in Atlanta. But the henchman's most known rapper is Ola Runt, who was pretty hot as an upcoming rapper and has a pretty dangerous history, multiple charges such as a high-speed chase with the police and more. If you don't believe that he is, he's currently locked up due to the FBI's Operation Phoenix, an operation that's sole purpose was to lock up the city's most dangerous criminals. So it looked like Carti and his label have smoke with one of the most dangerous rappers and gangs in Atlanta. But what's interesting is they weren't always beefing. They actually are all from the same place in Atlanta and grew up around each other. They had the same friends. For example, Ola Runt has pics with a lot of Carti's old good friends, and there are old screenshots of Ola shouting Carti out. So what happened? Remember Carti's friend Lil One DTE's father, Big Bank? He used to be one of Ola Runt's biggest supporters, constantly shouting him out, but Ola allegedly betrayed him by not signing to him, which meant that he was now against Carti and Homicide as well. And that's where the street beef began, with Carti right in the middle of it all. A lot of disses went back and forth between Carti's Homicide gang and henchmen would live up to their potential. They dissed Carti multiple times in songs, as well as for his fashion sense, but things really got serious when a Homicide affiliate and Carti's very, very close friend Sosa passed away. They were like brothers, and he could be seen everywhere with Carti, in the studio, playing basketball, FaceTiming. Sosa wore his chain. But in June of 2020, Sosa was taken out, and Carti was mourning him, even changing his name on Twitter to RIP Sosa, still shouting him out to this day.
Thinking about my brother, you know, I lost my brother recently. His name was Sosa, and I really lost him so much.
However, on the other side, the henchmen, they were celebrating, dropping songs as if they were victory laps and saying things like they were smoking Sosa. But just like Carti, at one point, the henchmen were friends with Sosa, even Ola, which just shows you how weird all of this beef is. Carti held back a lot due to his mysterious persona that he had to upkeep. No matter what was going on in his personal life, must be tough. But in Whole Lotta Red, Carti addressed it all in multiple songs. In Stop Breathing, he said, I got mob ties, I'm on demon time, I've been with Lil Demon and Lil Bino, out. He also references Sosa, saying, "Ever since my brother died, I've been thinking about homicide, and let the Front Street henchmen know that he's on their block, on the way to Front Street, who say we ain't outside." And he was ready to get back. Spoken on the henchmen, got a guy fried. Just kidding, he already did. Allegedly. Carti said, "I got guys in chain gang on my side. I had someone Ola for a pie," meaning that he had people in jail messing with him that were willing to take out Ola for Carti. However, from jail, Ola Runt said this: "His songs don't bring back dead people." And the biggest free member of Homicide, Benji Bluebills, who Carti recently dissed in his song You're the Moon, and actually makes really good music by the way, remixed Stop Breathing, where he claimed Ola never got shanked, and that really pissed Carti off because later audio would leak of Carti saying he could knock Benji off if he wanted to, if you catch my drift.
Me, bro, don't be making up no shit like that. It's from Atlanta, bro. What happens if I get knocked off, bro? Hey, come on, bro. Y'all can't be playing like that, bro. Get knocked off for real.
Benji fired back, explaining he wasn't scared, by DMing a fan claiming none of Homicide care about Carti, he's a joke in the streets and a clown, and that Homicide gang was extorting Carti and making him look like a fool in the streets. He then said Homicide brainwashed Carti and now all Carti's homies were next, after Sosa. Then, another one of Carti's friends, R5, passed from an overdose and they started dissing him too. But of course, does this have any validity? Like, is Playboi Carti's gang that he's affiliated with, Homicide, a real one? According to Atlanta's law enforcement, they are, and a very dangerous one that they plan on making an example out of. The district attorney confirmed that they were working on building cases for multiple rapper-led gangs. Later, someone from the DA's office confirmed that Homicide is one of several street gangs on a road to racketeering charges, and fans were drawing a lot of similarities to Young Thug's YSL case. But other than that, there are a couple of more carefree allegations. After A Whole Lotta Red came out, a fan pressed him for not being like that.
You go ahead. What you gonna?
You pulling out the phone for, gang?
Cause you reaching.
Saying I
You
don't know
reaching.
you, gang. I don't know you.
Yo, now you wanna talk? What you mean? Put the pistol down. Put the pistol down and fight me. Put the pistol down and fight me. Don't worry about who I am. You're not built like that. Boy, you're not built like that.
It's cool.
You're not built like that.
What you feel like? Ain't no putting it up. Ain't no pulling it up.
Go ahead, record me.
I can't show the rest, but it looked and sounded like Carti sent him to the other side of Atlanta. He also has some pretty random ones. Back in 2017, when Carti was blowing up for Magnolia, many rap fans believed he was homosexual. I'm serious. When Carti said they thought I was gay, he wasn't lying. So the hip-hop historian, DJ Academics, took it upon himself to settle the case once and for all. Is Playboi Carti gay?
I gotta get into this rumor that Playboi Carti is gay. Is that homosexual or not? I mean, in New York, I still Millie Rock. But if he's not hiding it in his sock and he's probably hiding it around his...
Yeah, let me clarify this.
His ex-girlfriend then explained she knew he was straight because Carti would regularly cheat on her with other women.
Let me clarify this. So I had he would always tell me like who Carti would cheat on me with. And like, cause that would be, and then he would always be like...
Wait, stop right there.
Okay, good to know. Thanks for clearing it up. So it was settled, Carti was a straight, heterosexual male. But hey.
So it's not true that Playboi Carti was hiding it in his cock?
As far as I know, yeah, actually no. It's not as far as I know. He's not. To my knowledge, no.
Playboi Carti is not homosexual. He's completely straight. You were having with him, you never saw
heard it
him.
here first.
This video isn't called The Shocking Allegations of Playboi Carti. It's called The Shocking Allegations of Playboi Carti's label, Opium. The next rapper on Carti's label with some pretty crazy allegations is none other than Homicide Gang. And if you didn't know, Homicide Gang were never rappers. They just met Carti at a studio, showed him their first song, and he signed them. And when I say Homicide Gang, I don't mean the whole gang. I mean a duo that consists of two rappers, Dino and Michi. And the allegations are toward one of them, Dino. In February of 2023, Homicide Bino was accused of bringing a girl backstage who wasn't 18. How did it happen? It started with Reddit, yes Reddit, when a fan exposed them for allegedly fishing for girls who weren't of age at shows. The fan wrote, "I was at the show in Indianapolis last night up front. Homicide, Osama, and the other dude, I don't even know his name, took two 15-year-old girls backstage and even tried to go backstage with them. Obviously, she said no, but that's weird. The girls were obviously not 18 as well. It's not like they looked old. He then showed proof through Snapchat and DMs, and the proof was looking pretty solid. Another fan also said that there were other members of Homicide Gang going around finding younger fans. Now, I talked to another fan after the show about how affiliates of Bino and Michi, people like Osama, were trying to get girls who weren't 18 backstage, probably gonna pull through friends. So there was that, which is true, but now we have the Bino allegations with him and a year-old. This was suspicious, but me and many friends were like, hey, you know, he probably didn't know her age, we don't know what happened, and gave him the benefit of the doubt, especially since no one had heard his response yet. However, soon allegations and more importantly a ton of proof began surfacing. There were multiple DMs of Homicide Gang swiping up on teenage girls' Instagram stories. For example, a DM surfaced of Bino DMing a fan saying, I need you to come back after the show and show me some. Only you. The fan wasn't 18. After that, more fans started coming forward with similar stories, explaining they had heard of him doing it too. One fan explained that at the Houston show, Bino was trying to get girls that weren't 18 to come backstage as well as through the people working for the merch. Another fan exposed him because he was getting annoyed that Bino kept trying to take his girl who wasn't 18 as well. And there's some more. However, I do want to preface that these are allegations and Bino is 100% innocent as of now. It's just there were so many cases like this, and because of that, I feel like it's fair game to report on it. So as you can see, there was a string of allegations and it didn't look like they were innocent. But of course, Homicide Gang still had time to say their side of the story and clear things up. And you know, you'd expect a rapper to say something along the lines of, hey, in the light of the recent allegations, we'd like to say we would never engage in this type of behavior, yada yada yada, etc. Right? Nope. Instead, Bino decided to post this to his story. All y'all want to play these games, and about 20 laughing emojis, explaining to him it was a joke, which, innocent or guilty, is a horrible response and just such a bad look, especially when you provide like no evidence. So as expected, the fans' response wasn't very positive. One fan said, he's gonna be laughing in jail and big yikes, they might be donezo. To me, it's a sticky situation because yes, there isn't really proof that they said they were underage in the DMs. However, it happened so many times, it's crazy. At some point, you just gotta take accountability. However, I do want to say in their defense, just because someone DMs someone doesn't mean they know their age.
Knew what age they were until after the fact. Now, if they followed through with it, yes, rappers gotta be careful. They gotta bring IDs and be like, yo, you can't do anything with us or even chill with us unless you're of a certain age. But if it's just like a DM, like, yo, like sometimes you can't tell how old someone is.
But it looked like Homicide was creating a history with this, and as a rapper, you gotta ID girls, right?
If you get famous, anybody out there, please make sure you ID women when they're back in the green room and whatnot. Like, you don't want to get any allegations like, you know, some rappers we're not gonna say, but it happens a lot.
And also, to make it clear, no charges were pressed and they are innocent of making this video. Furthermore, Homicide Gang's violent behavior has also ended up biting Carti in the back. After their allegations I just spoke about, they were pulled from the Destroy Lonely tour and all other shows. And recently, it came out that Carti's tour had not started because Live Nation, the company that's sponsoring Carti's tour, is in a lawsuit against them after they got into an altercation with another rapper named Summers. But there's one more allegation that was raised toward their label, Opium, and it's against Carti's protege, Ken Carson, who was charged with some pretty serious stuff by a woman.
Person in general, so that's something to caveat this whole thing, has an allegation of some sorts from a woman or just something in their past. To get into it, Ken Carson is alleged, just like his main.
He also got into it with the Atlanta police at a Lil Uzi concert after he was mistaken for a fan and they tried to remove him. However, regarding his domestic charge, he was unfortunately wrongfully accused, which is messed up and no one really deserves that. In 2022, a year after the false charges were pressed, Ken was proven innocent and never spoke on it.
Titled Battery Domestic Violence. Notice that the bond is $0, so just because someone got charged with a crime does not necessarily mean that they did it. Basically, the legal system is you get charged and then you go to court or you have like a negotiation with the cops, whatever, and they have to prove that you actually did it. So anybody could get charged. I could get charged for.
So overall, these allegations are pretty shocking, mostly Carti's and Bino's. And just one last time, I do want to say they are all allegations. This video is strictly for education and entertainment purposes. You know, Carti or none of these people have been convicted of anything, and neither is Bino. They do have a lot of charges though, and Ken Carson has been proven innocent. I just think that the juxtaposition of the way Carti portrays himself online and in the media compared to the severity of these allegations is pretty crazy, but that's just my 2 cents. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. My name is Rashad Bashir. Thanks for watching. Bye.